I come to you now from the deepest recesses of space. Hello. Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Unfortunately, I don't have the new telescope images of the deepest, darkest part of our galaxy. For the oldest pictures, I think, taken, if you've been around on like Twitter or the internet at all, really, NASA recently started showing off some of the pictures that their new deep space telescope has been able to capture, and it is absolutely fascinating. So far, I see no evidence of the Tyranids, so we can all rest a little bit easy. How is everyone doing this Sunday? Not melting, I hope, if you're in the UK. All anyone's been talking about is the heat. Not the heat death of the universe, but the heat that is affecting our shores. Thank you very much for the member join there on Aided Foot. 3531, that's your designation. Thank you very much. I super appreciate that. Welcome to the advocate tier of the Discoursaires. We travel through space and or the ocean, looking for, I don't know, copyright infringements to partake in. Because we are indeed the most evil of creatures. You could make us in a miniatures agnostic war game. You know, one like War Surge, where you get to create your own units, and we would probably have pretty poor stats, to be honest. I mean, that's what I sometimes think. Like, if I had stats in a mini war game, they wouldn't be very high. How is everyone keeping today? Has Games Workshop raised their prices again? Asked Overboard. Yes, I mean, they have, actually, since the last video, funnily enough. I mean, I didn't even do a video on it, but they have, yeah. So they raised it on Shades, right? Because they re-released the Shades, and the Shades have less within their bottles, but they're still the same price, which is a price rise, really. It's a price rise. You're getting less product for more money. So there you go. It's a price rise. Unfortunately, they have. Which is kind of the funny thing, because you can kind of take the piss and be like, oh, what did Games Workshop do now? And there's usually an answer, is the thing. It's like, oh, well, they did X, Y, or Z, you know? But hi there, everybody. I hope you're all keeping well. Hello there, Mitchell. Greetings, owners of the luxury toy soldiers. Now, I've got a bone to pick with you now. This is not a luxury, my friend. This is but a hobby. There's nothing luxurious about miniature figures at all. I mean, they cost like a couple of pence a pop to create a sprue of them. I mean, they're pretty fucking cheap. Cheaper in video games to make, more than likely. They're cheaper than cards. You can make a Magic the Gathering card, it'd be more expensive to make than a miniature. So I don't think it's that luxurious, to be honest. I mean, if they're the same cost of playing cards. No one runs around saying, poker, very solitaire. Extremely luxurious hobby. Extremely luxurious. Don't know about that. It's luxurious in the sense you need a lot of time, I suppose. It's kind of like the way women would have long fingernails, or men would have long hair back in ye olden days, because it sort of showed that you had been out of the sun, that you didn't need your hands for manual labor in some way. Same with that, I think it was tan, so it was very attractive to be pale back in the medieval times, because it showed that you could be inside all the time. You didn't have to go out in the field and work like a peasant. And that's what we are, I suppose. The larger our figure collection, we're like, I don't need to do anything but sit around hobbying all day. I guess that's luxurious. That aspect is luxurious. So never ever judge somebody for playing with unpainted miniatures. They might just not have the time. Or in my case, not have the discipline and or skill. Yes, Andre, I do. Well, I don't have water today, unfortunately. I've got some cream soda instead. We're going a little bit crazy today. Buy miniatures 100% no luxury. It's drugs, says Leech. I totally agree. I've never felt more like a junkie than buying miniatures. I've been, the other night, I was, had a cold sweat. My hands were getting clammy as I browsed online for some Song of Ice and Fire miniatures. This mad thought came into my head that all of a sudden, nothing mattered to me more in the world than owning a Baratheon starter army. And I had a really hard time not to resist. A really hard time. Completely. Hey there, Sugar Candy Miniatures. Hey there. If you guys haven't checked them out, Sugar Candy Miniatures does some really awesome content. I collab with them for the, if you all saw my awful clown. I did a clown gobbo. I think it was one of these bad boys. It was, one of these Squig Hopper boys. I did one of these in terrible contrast colors, and it turned out pretty badly, I'll be honest. But I got to join a lot of other content creators in doing so, and it was a lot of fun. It was really fun collabing with them. So check out Sugar Candy Miniatures for sure. A fellow Klein. A fellow Klein. More plastic crack, says Zombie. 100%, dude. Like, there's a reason why we coin all these terms. Because there is something serious behind it. Like, there is something extremely addictive about the dopamine rush that we get when we consume products, right? And I think that miniatures are really good. I was actually talking to a friend the other day. I was in a local game store the other day, which I don't often get to do anymore because I'm so busy all the time. But I was actually in a local game store, and I was surrounded by boxes of miniatures, and I was like, I just want to own them all. Like, I just want them all. Like, it's not fair. They have gotten too good at advertising models. They've gotten way too good. They're just, oh, I want to own them. You see the pictures, you know, and you see the models on the front of the box, and they're completely painted. They look incredible, and you're like, oh, that could be me. And then you buy them, and you take home like this box. You open it up, and it's just all these sprues, and you're like, oh no, what have I done? I don't have the time for this. It's very dangerous. Yes, Sugar Candy Miniatures, we are indeed all clients. Hey there, Phil. Live show. Whoop whoop. Yes, indeed. Matt says, cream soda drinkers unite. Definitely. Hello there, Scython. Good evening. Fight by my side, you have my sword. Well, you have my bow as well. On the Twitch stream, we've been talking about the new Lord of the Rings sequel that I've invented, and it's absolutely awful, and it will ruin the franchise, and that's because that's how we're going to treat it. We're going to treat it like a franchise, and we're going to get Legolas back, because Orlando Bloom will just come back for any movie, apparently. He just doesn't give a fuck, and we'll just CGI Aragorn, and we'll call it a day. It's going to be great. Hey there, Blackjack Legacy. How's it going? This video topic inspired a little bit by your own video. This is like parasitic relationship going on right now. You know, I put out a video, you're like, oh, I've made a video based on what your video. Now I'm like, I'm doing a fucking live stream on your video, motherfucker. I'm gonna monetize. Oh, I swore. Oops. I'm gonna monetize your video on my video. Ha ha. It's like Inception. It's like Inception of these bad boys. How's everyone going? Is the audio okay? This is the first time I have audio. I have actual like music on in the background. I've got this like lo-fi vibe going on. I'm not sure if that's the vibe I want, but that's where we got. So that was just completely, that was free on Spotify Stream Beats. So I was like, that'll do, because I decided to do it like 1 minute before the stream went live. I was like, you know what I'm gonna do this time? I'm gonna have actual music on in the background. That's what I'm gonna do. Klavik says it's something primal, totemical, want to own it and pile it high. Exactly, right? There's some people out there who call it the pile opportunity. It's not pile opportunity, it's pile shame. Come on. It's just spending issues, guys. Like, we need to like reconfigure our conceptions of this. This is not like sort of like, woohoo, I've just acquired loads of like little bits and bobs. No, it's a problem. Like, we have given in some way to this primal urge, you know? We have consumed like gluttonous creatures. We had to let ourselves go, you know? It's very dangerous. Can confirm, Sugar Candy 10 out of 10 fun. Oh yeah, 100%, definitely. Audio sounds good. Thanks a lot, Sugar Candy Miniatures. So yeah, so today I just wanted to talk about the relationship that the Games Workshop has with. To be honest, I mean the title's a little bit of a misnomer. So really, what I want to talk about is the relationship that the hobby itself has with the brand of Games Workshop, with the brand of Warhammer, what it means for the hobby, how content creators sort of feed into this relationship, because we have these sort of external factors that we need to take into account, and just talk with you guys about like what you think about it, because it's a very complicated question, and it hits home, I think, for a lot of content creators. It's why we've seen like a bunch of content creators create videos. Blackjack Legacy, of course, but MS Paints as well created a video there the other day talking about this, and essentially it's the fact that the hobby, the miniature wargaming hobby, the term miniature wargaming hobby, has kind of been superseded. It's been superseded by the term Warhammer hobby, and that Warhammer has really become synonymous with the greater hobby of miniature wargaming. And it's sort of a bizarre situation that we find ourselves in, because in a lot of ways it's almost as if we were referring to Call of Duty. I don't know what fucking number they're on now. 12, right? They're on like Call of Duty 12. If we referred to that still as a Doom clone, it'd be like very weird, right? You'd be like, come on, dude. Like, there's more Call of Duties now. There's more Call of Duties than there are Dooms. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So it's a very weird situation we find ourselves. But for content creators, we have these sort of these considerations. There's this thing called SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is obviously a ton of fun. I'm not going to go into it too hard here, but basically it means that you want to make your content searchable. And if everybody's looking up the term Warhammer, well, you need your content to reference Warhammer in some way. And that feeds into this discourse that Games Workshop have propagated for years. Like, they've propagated this for like decades. Like, this is not a new phenomenon. Games Workshop have been up to this for years. I have a very secret internal book from Games Workshop that refers to the Warhammer hobby, and that's dated from like 2008, and it's capital W, capital H, and that's it's not new, but the rise of content creators that we've really seen in the last like 5 years, I think, has started to cement this in a way that's quite unique, I would say. So Scython says, did you see Tabletop Minions covered one-page rules? There, he loves the firefight. I did, yeah, Uncle Adam, yeah. I did see that. I did catch that, actually. I thought it was very interesting. I think we both agree on a lot of things with one-page rules, namely how consumer-friendly it is. The actual business model of the game is very good. One of my fears, actually, this is like a really funny fear to have. This is like the opposite fear of the sort of fears I have about Games Workshop. I have a fear that the one-page rules is giving out too much value. Like, I'm not saying stop. I like this, right? I think it's really good for consumers, but the value that they're able to offer, because they have really they've become like a bit of a rallying call, a bit of a flag, I think, for people who are sick to death of Warhammer, but Warhammer too much, right? Like, they're like, I like Warhammer, I have Warhammer miniatures, I want to buy Warhammer miniatures, I want to buy Games Workshop products, but I don't want to play Warhammer, because, like, let's be honest, objectively speaking, it's a pretty poor game, as objective as we can be. Obviously, there's no such thing as objectivity. We all but the product of our perceptions, but right, so they're saying things like, oh geez, like this game kind of blows, like there's too much, it's too hard to get into, it's too inaccessible, what can I do? Well, the answer is, like, play this game that has been explicitly designed to let you play with your miniatures that are Warhammer miniatures, and also is good, and like has like really easy accessible rules, and is free. And they're giving out so much content that other indie companies can't really quite compete. And I think part of this is down to the Patreon model, because they are engaged in the Patreon model, and they're one of the really big pioneers of it, outside of just like standard content creators, right? Like, I mean, obviously I got a Patreon. It's patreon.com/discourse miniatures, and lots of your favorite content creators have Patreons too, and it's there for people to support. But they are one of the first real Patreon like companies that are like, we're gonna use the Patreon model to sell our product. And that's really interesting to me. That's fascinating to me, because it's come from the 3D printing space, where Patreon is really popular over there. But that's mostly because 3D printers, they're usually not like companies, they're usually like lone sculptors or individuals who are crafting, creating things, and putting it out there, similar to a content creator like a YouTuber. So it makes sense that they're using Patreon. But here we have like a company. Now, I know that One Page Rules isn't big. They use a lot of freelancers. Like, they're mostly like one guy, really. But they're big in the sense that they're bringing in lots of money, but they're using that money then to create lots and lots of value for people, and it's becoming this like big, it's kind of self-fulfilling, you know? So how do other content creators, like, how do other businesses compete with this? It's really interesting in my opinion, and it's a really nice conflict to be in, to be like, oh no, like, we're getting too much value, like, how are other companies going to compete by giving more value? Like, that's an awesome space to be in. Awesome space. So I'm a big supporter of One Page Rules. I was really happy to see that Uncle Adam quite likes their products as well. It's funny though, because he really likes Firefight. I haven't played much of Firefight. My thing is, I love skirmish war games, but I haven't played much of Firefight because I've been into, like, as I've spoken on the channel, I've been into Carnivale, been into Lunar. So I haven't really had a chance to like play Firefight that much. I've played mostly Grimdark Future, because the novelty of being able to take out my Warhammer miniatures, like my entire army, you know, like all my Dark Eldar, and put it on a table and actually have fucking fun with them. It's like so novel to me at this stage, where I'm like, wow, okay, let's actually get to use my Warhammer miniatures and not spend all day scratching my head. I'm going a little bit hard. I'm going a little bit hard on 9th edition. To be perfectly honest, like, I do play 9th edition. I don't like have, like, I'm not like opposed to the gameplay of 9th edition. I'm sort of, well, no, actually that's a lie. I'm sort of opposed to the stratagems, to be honest. I've been playing, so earlier on we were talking about whether or not I could resist a Song of Ice and Fire, the miniatures game, and how I was up at 2 a.m. clammy hands looking at it. And I'll put it this way, I've been playing some of Song of Ice and Fire's miniatures game lately. And they have tactics cards, which are basically like better stratagems, really. They're just a better mechanic than stratagems. Hey there, Rising Ape, how's it going? You guys should check out Rising Ape as well, actually. He creates really interesting content. I really like his stuff. I basically nicked some of his video ideas, really, because he did a video on mental health in the hobby and Henry Cavill. And then like a day or two afterwards, mine came out. And I was like, oh no, because I never referenced this video because I wasn't aware of it. But yeah, Rising Ape Minis does some really interesting content. You guys should check him out. Rotherick, thank you so much for the donation. Thank you for the €5 donation. That's really lovely of you. One Page Rules do push other content creators though through collabs and highlights of other patrons. That is really important. It's what I fucking love about One Page Rules. I totally agree with you. Like, they actually push other content creators. I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, that they give every single month, there's like they highlight a content creator, you know. And one of the things is as well is that they have lots of freelancers, and they have those guys like creating sculpts, and they have them drawing concept art and stuff like that for them. And that's really awesome, and they use that opportunity then to actually spotlight a lot of these creators. Compare that to like Games Workshop. Games Workshop don't tell you the name of the author of the book that you're buying, which, by the way, let's be honest, can we all stop saying that it's because of Matt Ward? So for those who don't know, okay, Games Workshop, they do not credit their well, I was going to say writers, but like, they don't credit anybody. They don't credit their sculptors, they don't credit their designers, they don't credit anyone who actually works on their products. Instead, they keep it all anonymous. They say it's a Games Workshop product, and there is this overriding myth, I think, and I think it is a myth, that because Matt Ward was harassed so much for his discussion of, he was very, shall we say, vocally in favor of the Ultramarines, and this inspired this campaign of hate towards him in the community, in the Warhammer community. And this was bad, right? Like, I'm not, don't harass people, obviously, like, that's bad, right? But that happened, and so Games Workshop no longer credit any of their artists, any of their authors, or any of their designers, okay? They don't do that. And so people say, oh, it's because of the Matt Ward thing. But it's not because of the Matt Ward thing at all. I mean, that might have been, I don't even think Games Workshop ever said it's because of that. Because there are ways to mitigate against that don't involve not crediting people. There are pseudonyms, for example. You could go under certain names. Or you could ask the employee. You could ask the sculptor, would you like to be credited for this or remain anonymous? You could actually leave it up to them to make the decision for themselves. But Games Workshop don't do that. They don't do that because there's actually a better, more overriding reason as to not credit your designers and your authors. And it's because they're designers like Rick Priestley, or their writers like Gav Thorpe, or their painters like Duncan Rhodes, for example. They have all become people who, since they shed Games Workshop, right, and they are still pulling in numbers. Like, people will go and they'll like, I love Carnivale, and I know that it was written by Gav Thorpe, and I can say to people, oh, did you like Mordheim? Well, this was written by Gav Thorpe. Or I can say, oh, did you like Warhammer 3rd edition? Well, hey, Bolt Action, Gates of Antares, it was created by Rick Priestley, the creator of Warhammer, right? Games Workshop doesn't want me to be able to talk like that. They want me to say, Games Workshop makes the Games Workshop products, so do the Games Workshop thing. You know, you like the Games Workshop. You like that, yeah? That's all they want me to be able to say. I need to have that picture of the man with the calendar. It's like, 1989. Or 1982, right? Black Tech Lacey says that's why there's so many presenters now. Yeah, no, totally. John on Tabletop. Hey there, John. Says, Duncan got too big for GW to handle. Too much personality. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is why we saw the NDA as well. It's all coming from the same place. This is why we saw the NDA go out last year, right? If we recall those halcyon days when news was breaking of the absolutely oppressive and awful non-disclosure agreement that Games Workshop were trying to get smaller content creators to sign, which essentially said that they couldn't do anything to try and prevent potential customers of Games Workshop from continuing to be customers of Games Workshop, and that they wouldn't take customers away from them. And this was obviously sort of aimed more towards, I think, in response to like Duncan Rhodes, who had built his brand. Like, let's be honest, like, he built his brand off of being a presenter for Warhammer, like presenter for Games Workshop. Like, he did build his personal brand off of that. He was the Warhammer guy. Like, he was the Warhammer painting guy, two thin coats. You know what I mean? Like, he did coin that. And then he built his own personal brand off that, and then he went off and did his own thing. But this isn't unusual in this industry. Like, if you look at anybody who fucking works for Games Workshop for a long enough time, they eventually go freelancer. Like, they eventually leave Games Workshop, and the reason for that is because Games Workshop doesn't pay very well, and it doesn't give you accolades, and actually you don't get like a rock star salary. Like, you can be the best designer in the world, or you can make, you know, the way people love to say, the Games Workshop create the most beautiful sculpts in the world, and therefore that's why their models cost more, because they need to pay their designers, because their designers are like, their sculptors are working so hard to create these beautiful models. Their sculptors don't get paid any more than any other company. That's not where the cost goes. The cost goes on dividends. I was speaking with someone in the industry the other day, and they informed me that the writer behind Horus Heresy was apparently paid minimum wage. I mean, it's not a company that pays an incredible amount of money, but they make plenty of cash, you know what I mean? So if the money isn't going towards the designers or the writers, and then the money isn't going on plastic, because Wargames Atlantic had their post the other day, basically saying that we have decided not to pass on the increasing plastic costs this year to consumers, because it would raise the price per pound from like something like 20p to 30p or something like that. That's the price, but that's the cost, by the way, the price increase that has resulted in all the minis going up by like a couple of quid from Games Workshop. They were like, we're just not going to do that. We're just going to eat that cost because, like, you know, that's the negligible increase. So that's obviously not the reason why the 5 Space Marines cost £35. Like, obviously, it's not the fact that the sprues have gone up from 10p to 20p or 20p to 30p. It's not that. So it's not the designers, it's not the plan, it's the mold that, it does cost, so the molds do cost tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds, for sure. However, one thing you gotta remember about Games Workshop is that they're vertically integrated. What that means is that they control their manufacturing. And also, here's the thing about whenever you control your own manufacturing, everything is a lot cheaper for you because there's no middleman, there's no extra costs. If I'm a third-party sort of company, say I'm like a small indie developer and I'm making like metal miniatures. Say I sculpt metal miniatures by myself, and I'm like, do you know what I want to do? I want to get some plastic models. I want to get some hard plastic models on a sprue. I want to create those versions of my metal miniatures. And I ring around, I ask a couple of companies, maybe I go to like Wargames Atlantic or someone like that, and I go, hey, could you guys make me some of these hard plastic sprues? They're going to quote me a cost that is far more expensive than what Games Workshop pay, because they're trying to make profit off of this, right? Like, otherwise it's not worth their time to do so. Games Workshop are saving a lot more money than any other company, and yet you still have companies like Perry Miniatures, for example, selling miniatures for far cheaper. If you want to look at like a reasonable price for miniatures, by the way, we always get back to this. It always comes back to price with Games Workshop. But if you want to look at a reasonable price for miniatures by somebody who actually controls their manufacturing, look at Wargames Atlantic. Like, Wargames Atlantic don't pay their designers any less. They don't pay any more for any less for plastic, but their models, you're spending like £20 and you're getting like 40 of them. Do you know what I mean? And they're also all multi-pose as well, and I think probably pretty fun to assemble. Sorry, you got me on a little bit of a rant there, guys. Become a brand, create brand loyalty, says Phil. Well, yeah, so this goes into how we talk about the hobby, right? Because we conflate the miniature wargame hobby with the Games Workshop. I mean, I did mention it on my earlier video about how other brands become known as sort of non-premium brands, or it's not Games Workshop, therefore it's this sort of secondary models. I don't need those. I don't need those at all. Param says, I love Wargames Atlantic and North Star miniatures, so good value. North Star miniatures I think are slightly less value, but that's because they're metal miniatures, right? So you're always going to be paying a premium for metal because each individual model costs more to make. But I like North Star miniatures. Like, I have lots of North Star miniature models, and I love Wargames Atlantic as well, because they're creating kits that are the style that I want. I don't want single pose like models, really. I don't care how crisp the details are. Okay, right, guys, you are getting me on a point here where I'm starting to come to the conclusion that I don't think the Games Workshop, okay, this is controversial. This is like the most controversial thing I'll ever say. I think this is like the most controversial thing I'll ever say. Okay, I'm getting ready. Okay, I'm getting ready to say it because I think chat's going to explode the moment I say it. I'm gonna get a lot of hate here. Okay, I don't think the Games Workshop make very good miniatures. Okay, right. Let me explain. Give me a second. So, yes, Games Workshop sculpts are very crisp. Yes, the details on them are very high. Yes, obviously, they are hard plastic. These are all good things, okay? But basically, the Games Workshop miniatures are kind of what you would call, they're very beautiful, they're pretty to look at, but they kind of remind me of like a video game, like where the graphics are really good, but the gameplay is absolute trash. And I would not say that a game that has like the best graphics in the world, but plays like absolute trash would be the best game ever around, right? Like, I'm probably gonna try and look for maybe more of a balance, or even just a game that's got really good gameplay. And to be frank, what I have discovered over the last year is that I have stopped having fun assembling Games Workshop miniatures, and I have stopped having fun playing with them too. Like, the Age of Sigmar miniatures look really good, but God, I dread when I have to put them together. I dread it, because it's no longer fun for me. I love assembly models, and this might be different for you if you don't enjoy assembly models, even at the best of times. I love assembly models. It's like a big part of my hobby. Like, you know what people are like, I'm all about painting miniatures, I don't play miniatures. You know those people? I'm that, but like for assembly. I like getting the little guys, I like putting the gun in their hands, I love turning their head like that so he's looking left instead of right. I love all that. I love thinking, how is this guy going to be looking? Like, what's this guy up to right now? What pose will I put him in? And Games Workshop haven't given me that experience in like about a year, honestly. Like, I don't even know when this started, but there was a time when I started to realize I'm not having fun putting together Games Workshop miniatures anymore. To the extent there, I actually don't buy them anymore. Like, I've stopped buying Games Workshop miniatures. There are lots of beautiful miniatures that I really like the look of coming out of Games Workshop, and I'm like, I'm gonna buy them, and then I stop myself and think, wait a minute, they're just all gonna be this monopose sculpt that ultimately I'm not gonna have fun putting together. They're gonna be really fiddly to play with. Like, do I actually want these? And if the answer is no, like, how can I continue to say that Games Workshop make the best miniatures in the hobby if I don't want to buy the miniatures anymore? So, Heresy Detected, says Mitchell. Here it is. It's 50-50 for me, says Blackbeard. Gareth Jones reacts with a shocked emoji. I think we're all there today. So Games Workshop is like Assassin's Creed, Valhalla of the gaming top. Right, I mean, like, look, I get it. Like, the model details are very crisp. But let's not pretend like other creators don't make very beautiful looking miniatures, or don't have very crisp looking miniatures as well. Like, there are plenty of really good sculpts out there. You look at the miniatures coming out of Infinity. Look at the ones coming out of, from Weird Games, from Malifaux, right? Like, Games Workshop are not unique here in this industry. I think it's a lot of it is just branding. And I think a lot of it is hype, and a lot of it is myth making, for sure. Merc says, Infinity the Game minis make Games Workshop minis look like a blur. Yeah, they're very busy, right? Like, there's sort of there's a subjective element here to this as well. It's not just all kind of crisp details. Subjectively speaking, you know, you have to look at the design of the miniatures, whether or not it's to your taste. Like, a lot of this is going to be a taste thing as well, you know. Sorry, my phone was ringing there. A lot of this is going to be a bit of a taste thing as well. Like, I, for example, don't really like all the straps and all the additional details like Games Workshop models sometimes get bogged down on. Hello there, X0 says, hello, Discourse Miniatures, first time catching a live stream. Love your videos. GW Minis are starting to have more and more static pose, and they have so many bits in them. Yes, so for example, I have been thinking about creating a 4th edition Warhammer 40k army based on the Ordo Hereticus. I'm basically trying to recreate the army I always wanted as a kid, right? Where it was the Witch Hunters from 4th edition, you got the Inquisitor retinue, you got Imperial Guard, you know, Inquisitorial Stormtroopers, and you've got the Sisters of Battle, and you have like retinues and things like that, right? And what I was going to do was, I was going to add in Imperial Guard to the army, but use Cawdor models, right? Cawdor models, because they're like, they're like ragtag, sort of we follow the Inquisition kind of guys. They're not necessarily Imperial Guard kind of guys. Sounded like a really fun idea to me. And I was thinking, like, what models can I use to represent priests and things like that in this kind of very holy witch hunter, army? And I was looking at some of the Redemptionists for the Cawdor, and the Redemptionists are like 5 models, and they all look different from one another, and they all have incredibly static poses. They're all, I've got a book in my hand raised, or I have a gun like this, and you can't pose them. Like, they are statues. There's no posability. They're not game pieces. They're statues. And it immediately... I didn't buy them because I was like, well, like, I kind of wanted models that could be posed in some ways. And it's really frustrating because I do like Games Workshop products. I do like them. I like a lot of their older stuff now. But it's almost as if they went fully on board with Finecast, but they just made it hard plastic. Like, they just went straight onto resin. It's like, no, you're an army game. Like, the thing that makes you strong is your customizability. But they have fully embraced this, and I think that this is the future. Like, this is the way that all Games Workshop products are going to look. And the reason I think that is because they've started to change the mechanics of their games to fit that. If you look at the Chaos Space Marine Codex, for example, the actual options that some of those models have in there are what's on the sprue, as opposed to just being like things that they could have before. Do you know what I mean? Where you could customize the weapons of every member of the squad. Now it's like, well, the box comes with this, and it comes with this, and it comes with that. Here's your rocket launcher, Space Marine. The guy who holds the rocket launcher, and he always holds the rocket launcher, and he always looks like that. If you've got 5 Chaos Space Marines, they always look the same as that. So that's kind of spooky to me. I don't like the way this is going. I'm getting really concerned. I think it provides an opportunity, though, for other creators. Good luck to them in taking over that. So maybe places like Wargames Atlantic, for example, because their philosophy is completely different. They have that old school philosophy of, we want you, the hobbyist, to be able to like engage with the model, to actually think about the model and build it in certain ways, not just follow the instruction manual and away you go. Rising Ape says, agreed, the worst thing about GW minis is all the detail. The new Beakies are more fun though. The Beakies are, they're sort of like an older school sort of vibe to them, right? Like they leave space open for a lot of freehanding and things like that. Love Cawdor says, no quarrel. I love them too. I love my rat boys. My rat boys with their big pikes. Trying to copy the Custodes. I absolutely adore that. It's so good. Blackjack Legacy says, the volume of stuff they release almost makes folks link that to their quality. There are amazing quality models out there from lots of companies, but not on a weekly release schedule. Certainly, 100%. I totally agree with you. The scale of releases that come out of Games Workshop, I echoed this in my most recent video, that it's getting a bit too much. I think it's honestly getting a bit too much. And now we're hearing, apparently, that Games Workshop are coming up with some specialist games for Horus Heresy as well. So we're going to be getting some additional games, because that's what we needed Games Workshop to be focusing on. More games. More games with more books, with more big boxes. We're going to be getting some Horus Heresy. What are we going to get? A Horus Heresy skirmish game? Is that what we really wanted from Games Workshop? Because I'll tell you what I would prefer. I would prefer if Games Workshop, instead of coming up with more products, instead focus on the products they have and make them good. Instead of coming out with more books and trying to figure out ways to kind of rinse the competitive community for another couple of bucks, what if they instead like looked at their core rules and went, yeah, there's fucking loads of problems here. Like we need to actually sort this out. And I sort of, there's a lot of problems here. It goes down to the core design. I think they have a house style that's problematic, but also I think that they're working to design brace, and I think that they have a big, massive, like, internal sort of calendar, right? Like, they have to have the new Kill Team box out every 3 months, and that means that they just have to have it done then. They just have to have it done. Like, it is not an option not to have that done, which means if the rules aren't ready, if the game isn't balanced, it doesn't matter. You have to get it out, like, ASAP. And that's a terrible way to design a game. Compare that to a game like Relic Blade, for example, where the single creator of that game has basically leisurely, over the last couple of years, put out a strong product and worked on it with the community and just continued to iterate and innovate on the design of that game. But that's not how Games Workshop can do it, because they have these external constraints where they're trying to build towards profit margins, right? They're trying to build towards making in profits. They're sort of on a calendar of the financial year, right? Like, that's the only thing that matters. It's not building a good product. Discourse got her gears grinding since Death to the Grey. I mean, it happens sometimes. As soon as you get me talking, I can't help myself. Happy Hungry Sleepy says, everyone hit the like button. Yes, please, do hit the like button, please, guys. I would really appreciate that. Sushi says, I like Games Workshop's products as a painter. As a game, it's horrible. No, I totally get that. Like, look, I think some people get the impression that I just don't like Warhammer, or that I don't like Games Workshop, and that's not necessarily true. Like, I've collected lots of armies. I have a lot of miniatures. So I had to say that with a bit of a lilt in my voice, because I kind of realized as I was saying it how many miniatures I have. But I mean, I've got armies and armies of miniatures, right? And I've played almost every single game that they have put out. Not all of them, but I've played most of them. I've played Necromunda, I've played Warhammer 40k, I've played Age of Sigmar, I've played Warhammer Fantasy. I have not played Horus Heresy. I think I played one Apocalypse game, and Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great experience, but it's basically 40k, let's be honest. I have played Blood Bowl, but not, like, physically. I played it digitally because the video game was just a lot more accessible, I think. Resident says, the release schedule is what finished me. Switch to Battletech, same rules for the last 30 years. See, now, there's a thing to be said for updating and innovating on a game and coming out with new products, right? Like, I understand that you want to come out with new stuff. Like, if you're a hobbyist, like, in a lot of ways, miniature wargaming is a lifestyle hobby. You can spend a lot of time on it. You can build your entire life around it. Case in point, okay? You can build your entire life around it, and actually, your life will be very, very fulfilling and very messy and full of null oil. But you can do that. And therefore, you're going to want a lot of products to kind of keep you busy. But even, like, I can't stay up on top of it. Like, and I mean, I do this, like, I'm going full time later this year, and I can't keep up with what Games Workshop's putting out. And it's not even just that they're keeping stuff coming out. It's the scale of those releases. Like, they had to have a day just to talk about skirmish games because they genuinely probably just don't have enough time to talk about them otherwise. They just don't have any space to do so. Love one-page rules, says Param. Me too, I really love them too. Blackjack Legacy says, they know the vast majority of their customers never play a game. Their focus is on selling more models, but keep things moving rules-wise to give reasons to bring more models. And that's totally true. Like, I mean, of course, they do know that, right? Like, the vast majority of people who buy Warhammer, firstly, never touch the model, really. They probably get, like, a bunch of sprues, maybe put together a couple of models, and they move on. And then, from those people, you know, a certain percentage go on to paint the model, and then from those people, an even smaller percentage of people go on to actually play. And you can see this. You can see this, like, very easily. Like, if you want to see an example of this in play, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on stream before, but if you want to, like, see the evidence of this, like, to thine eyes, you know what I mean? Like, touch the holes in the palm. If you want to do that yourself, you can go on YouTube, not right now, obviously, stay watching the stream, maybe do it in a new tab. You can go on YouTube, and you can look up, like, your favorite painter. Like, look up a big painter, like Squidmar, for example. You look him up, you look at the views he's getting like hundreds of thousands of views. Okay? Then look up a content creator who covers the gameplay of Warhammer 40k, like Valrak, for example. He's not getting so many views, is he? In fact, he's getting, like, orders of magnitudes less. And that's because there is just far less people who care about the actual gameplay of Warhammer, because far less people play Warhammer, which is not necessarily the healthiest thing for the mini wargaming hobby, I think. Like, certainly, people who paint and stuff like that, I think they're obviously still part of the hobby. There's been times in my life where I haven't had the game in months and months and months, right? And during that time, my only input into the hobby is that of painting. But ultimately, we have to remember that this hobby is about gaming. It is a gaming hobby. There's all of these aspects. There's painting, there's assembly, there's collecting. That's a huge part. People always forget to talk about collecting as in and of itself a distinct thing, I think, because I love collecting. Like, I love collecting the models. I love having the models. I love having them completed. That's mostly the reason why I paint them, honestly, is to have them completed. But really, Games Workshop utilize their games as an excuse, to give you a purpose for collecting them, because I think they know themselves that most people wouldn't just paint them just to paint them, to just derive artistic satisfaction from the act of painting, of art. Most people want to have, like, a reason. They want to have an excuse to paint with them. Or to paint them. Cuba says, you mean Igrax Earthshade? But Noel Doyle's my bad boy. Merc says, kicking Maniac out was a, well, I don't think I'm allowed to say those words, but it's a swear word. I agree with you. Louis says, hello there, Louis. Yo from Australia says, YBFC311. Hello there, YBF. GM says, compare Games Workshop games issues to Saga. One change from V1 to V2 since 1066. Rotherick, thank you so much for the super chat. The only reason to play Heresy is to saying, there's some Horus in this house. Thank you very much. Well, look, people have been really big on Horus Heresy for sure. Like, people seem to be really excited about Horus Heresy. And in a lot of ways, I think there's a lot of people who are dissatisfied with the core gameplay of Warhammer 40k who are now moving on to Horus Heresy, which is kind of weird to me because we all know how it's going to end, right? It's all going to end in tears. Like, we all know this, right? Like, I bet you there are plans being drawn up for supplement book after supplement book after supplement book. In 2 years, it's going to look like Warhammer 9th edition. Like, this is just the reality of the situation. Like, I would love it not to be the case, but I'm almost 100% certain that will be the way. I mean, they're already talking about making specialist games out of Horus Heresy. Specialist games. So, I don't know. I think it's gonna turn out that way. Now that said, I've already given them praise for this, but there's like PDFs that they've released. They did an index as well, which is much preferable. Even if the book is kind of expensive, I think it is much preferable. And the binding, by the way, and the book's really poor as well. It's gonna fall apart in a couple of years, so look out for that. But I think that the fact that they did do those things is pretty good, and it shows a strange level of listening. It really does. So they did the index because I think they realized that the game product itself was going to be aimed at people who had fallen out of love with Warhammer or who were sick of Warhammer from Games Workshop. And so I think I can't help but view it very cynically. I really can't help but view it very cynically. Wargamers have a tendency to become hoarders. Yes, they do, Anthony. Yes, they do. I can speak from experience here that they do indeed intend to be hoarders. When looking for a new house to live in, I had to be like, okay, this will be the room where I keep all the minis. Like the room, you know? I'm gonna put shelves and like shelves in here, and this will be like where all the minis go because there's just too many of them, and so many of them are unpainted. This is kind of the exciting thing. I've started checking out A Song of Ice and Fire's miniatures. I've been playing a lot of that, and I've been really enjoying my time with it. And what I did was I bought the Baratheon starter box. Now, the miniatures themselves come pre-assembled, which is usually like anathema to me because I want to build them myself. Also, they come in colored plastic, which again is like anathema to me. I don't know why, I just kind of rub off colored plastic. Sometimes I think it feels like a little bit board gamey, and I sort of was like a little bit ooh. But what I did with the Song of Ice and Fire is I just gave myself carte blanche. So usually, I will only play a game with painted miniatures. It's the only way I will paint miniatures. Otherwise, I'll just never paint them. But with A Song of Ice and Fire, I decided it's going to be the last days of Rome. We're just going to go for it because I have too many projects on right now. I got like 12 different projects going on right now. I'm looking at like various levels of things that have been painted on my table. I just won't be able to paint them all. So I decided I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to play with unpainted miniatures. I just went wild with abandon. You know, I was like making my horse a senator, things like that. Like it was just madness. It was just madness. And I have just cast off all decency, and it has been so much fun. I've just let myself go. Oh, I've just decided. It's like when you stop a diet or you just go back on the heroin. It feels so liberating. Oh, it's just absolutely excellent. I've been having a lot of fun with it as a result. Because the models are pre-assembled. They are colored plastic. I'm treating them as like I'm playing a board game. It's good. It's good. I feel really good about it. Like, the game doesn't look great on the table, but it uses 2D terrain anyway, so who cares? It's just you're all there for the gameplay. The fucking CIA says it's like Star Wars. If you're on YouTube, whether you love Star Wars or hate it, you need it. Yeah, well, true. I mean, there's obviously... So here's the thing, right? Like, so I think that people have the idea that all I do is I cover Games Workshop and I go, Games Workshop did a bad thing, yada, yada, yada. But that's actually not what I set out to do on this channel. On this channel, I've set out to be an advocate for consumers of the miniature wargaming hobby. And I want to talk about issues that affect consumers in the wargaming hobby. But one of the problems that we have is, as the topic of this video suggests, we have conflated very much the miniature wargaming hobby with Warhammer. And this is real, right? This impacts people. Games Workshop have captured the largest slice of the miniature wargaming pie. If it was a different company, I'd be talking about them. I have to talk about Games Workshop stuff because Games Workshop stuff affects the vast majority of hobbyists, and they set the norms in the actual marketplace as well. I've been talking about people in the industry, people who are more consumer focused, shall we say, and for companies that are more consumer focused, and they are concerned that they too are seeing pressures to basically adopt some of the business models that Games Workshop are starting to pioneer in this hobby. And that terrifies me because I don't think that the business models that Games Workshop are pioneering are very good for consumers. I don't think that releasing your skirmish wargame in massive box sets that come with two gangs and some terrain, and you're like, that's all you can buy for like a load of months. I don't think that's very good at all, because skirmish wargame is meant to be super accessible, and it's like one of the ways that you get people into the hobby. So if Games Workshop are making money this way, then of course other companies are going to do that because they want to grow, and it's super dangerous. It's absolutely so terrifying, because I did witness things like this happen in in the video game industry. I have watched it happen in other industries. You look at the card game market, for example. You look at Magic the Gathering, the sort of shit that they get up to, the booster packs, the constantly going to like a new plane every month or so, and you're coming up with like a ton of new products and stuff like that. Like, we're starting to see the mini wargaming hobby go down, step down this road, and it's terrifying to me. I don't like it at all. I don't want to see that. And so, of course, the majority of my coverage is about Games Workshop. I am a variety streamer. I talk about other games on this channel, but I have to cover Games Workshop because the things that they do have to be covered. And you don't really see a lot of other content creators cover it, right? Like, for example, right now I'm having to, God forbid, like, I'm having to do this and it sucks. And I'm not promising a video on this topic because I'm absolutely having a miserable time. But I'm currently looking into trademark law and copyright infringement, right? Because I'm going to be covering some cease and desist letters that Games Workshop have been sending out to smaller content creators and 3D printers. But like, what other content creators are covering this? You know what I mean? Like, I have to cover this stuff. And yes, it's gonna be, there's a lot of people who are gonna see this video being like, nah, here's another negative video about Games Workshop. And it's like, no, this is really important, actually. Like, this is really important. I need, like, someone has to talk about this. Someone has to shine a light on it. Or for example, today, Warhammer, hashtag Warhammer Paintathon. I hope everybody enjoyed their Paintathon. An excuse to sit in the absolute crippling heat and paint some Warhammer miniatures. Well, one, does hashtag Warhammer Paintathon cover any other miniatures? Could I paint some A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures and throw in my hat in the ring? No? Oh, okay. So you've just dominated the entire Twitter sphere, your Twitch with Warhammer there. And two, I learned some news today that in order to purchase contrast paints, local game stores had to buy $4,000 racks, or £4,000 it was. And I confirmed this with my local game store, who could only get the contrast paints, because they couldn't afford the £4,000 racks, could only get the contrast paints on credit, and then pay it off piecemeal to Games Workshop. And obviously that didn't suit them. They would have much preferred to have just bought a couple of paints and sold them to people at their local store. But Games Workshop want you to take up shelf space. You have to take up shelf space in your store for the contrast paints. They don't want to sell it to you otherwise. And this is Games Workshop abusing their market position. They have a pseudo monopoly in the miniature wargaming hobby. They really do. And it's very dangerous. And ultimately, I guess that's what all of this gets back to. This is what the content creators who are talking about Warhammer and Games Workshop and how they have to do that in order to get any views. This goes back to sort of covering them more often than not. It's because they have a pseudo monopoly. It's not like they're in a cartel and they're working with local governments to like shut down game stores or anything like that. But what it means is that they're using their position to flood game stores to make sure that they are constantly the ones with the vast majority of products on the shelf. And that's super bad. Like, I would much, I don't know about you guys, but I would prefer a variety of products out there. I'd like to have more choice, please. Rising Up says, let's be honest, if you didn't cover GW, you wouldn't get the views you need to be relevant on YouTube. Exactly, Rising Up. I mean, there's a lot of this that is all about building a platform, right? Like, you have to build a platform. As a content creator, as an influencer, as they like to say in the spreadsheets and in the social medias, as an influencer, you're only as big as your follow count, right? Like this is how business works. Like, they only care if you have enough people who are listening to what you say. So you have to cover things that are popular. And like, you know, you kind of also have to kind of follow your passion as well, because otherwise, like, you can't fake that sort of stuff, right? So like, obviously I cover things that are interesting to me, except when it comes to trademark law. Oh my god, it is so fucking boring, guys. It really is, but someone has to fall on this sword. But you have to sort of cover some of this stuff, right? Because you have to build a platform for yourself if you want to actually be heard. And the only way that I can advocate for miniature wargamer hobbyists is if I create content that miniature wargamer hobbyists want to watch, right? That's well dodgy, says Jez. I totally agree. Tenia says, and that's why I can't wait for Army Painter to release the spree prints out of the mega set. Have they not? I thought they had, but if they haven't, then that too is incredibly ridiculous. Like, they should be releasing outside the mega set. Like, I understand that for these creators, right, for Games Workshop, for Army Painter, that they obviously want to sell the more paints than they otherwise would do, right? Like, it's always going to be about trying to sell them more than you would otherwise. It's always trying to sell the most that you can. I get that, but here's the thing. I don't care. To put it bluntly, I look at things from a consumer perspective. Everything I look at, is this good for consumers or is this bad for consumers? That's all I care about. That's what I do. And so I look at this and I go, this is bad for consumers, right? There's complicated questions out there, like Kickstarter, for example, is a really complicated question, I think. Because on the one hand, it's very dangerous for consumers because we're not pre-ordering, we're sort of taking a punt, we're risking our money on products that might not exist. So we're taking a risk as consumers, and that's not good for consumers. Like, these companies should just should accept the risk themselves and put out those products. But there is a fundraising element to these things as well. Like, otherwise these products wouldn't exist. So you kind of have to balance this idea of, okay, there is elements like consumers get kind of tricked into spending more than they otherwise would do by going all in bundles and things like that, as opposed to the fact that there maybe wouldn't be more cool products out there that just wouldn't exist without this. And is this good, is this bad? That's an actual complicated question. But the question of whether or not, should these paints be available in smaller quantities for local game stores who maybe don't have the same turnover or they don't have the same revenue as bigger companies, like that's not a question. The answer is, like, just sell it separately, dude. Like, that's the answer. The speed paints are available as singles already. Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Fucking CIA says, once you get over the hump of mixing GW of other figs and games, their figures aren't that expensive. Well, if you don't buy Games Workshop products, sure, they're not. USA Libertarian says, it is really fun to own a GW shop. For GW. Ada Please says, Fantasy Flight is barely better than GW. I would agree and I would disagree. Like, I do take your point. Like, there are big businesses out there. Notably the ones controlled by, like, Asmodee, for example. Like, definitely they are, but they are more consumer friendly in some ways. Like, they actually take steps. Like, at least whenever they're sort of doing things that I don't agree with, I can kind of see why they're doing it from a usability perspective. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. Well, I'll tell you this much though. At least they goddamn innovate in their games as well. But yeah, I do take your point. Like, Games Workshop aren't alone in this. There are other companies that are doing pretty shady stuff. It's just the impact of that. The impact of that is so far less reaching. Totally. Civilian said, speed paints have been available singly for ages. I thought that as much. I thought that too. Dead Zone has some great looking models, says Ada. Oh, Trent here. Thank you very much for the super chat. I am here for RAR. It has to be like, I have to say it like, RAR. That's the exact vibe that I had on it, right? Yeah, sure, I looked really mad, I guess, in the thumbnail, but I'm all about the RAR. True question, is there just one company that does things that are just good for consumers? So, I mean, I get what you're saying, that businesses, like, by their very nature, are there to create profit, right? But I think there are scales to this. So this is one of my problems with public companies, because public companies, it becomes their overriding mandate to create more. Like, they are obliged. They are obliged to create more profit, which is bad. But if you look at private companies, if you look at companies like maybe like Warlord, or you look at like Wargames Atlantic, or you look at, I mean, if you look at like smaller content creators, maybe look at like One Page Rules, right? Like, they're not just there to make profit, like, because the actual creators there are passionate about the idea of what they do. And that's really important. They aren't there just to actually pay dividends towards shareholders. They're not there to simply have their shares accrue more value. They're there to create good products and make a little bit of money doing so. They want to sustain the idea of making good products. So I do think that there is a massive difference between those two things. I do think there's a huge difference between those two things. John says, I can't handle FFG death by tokens games, sadly. I appreciate that. There is a lot of tokens in those games, and it's definitely a thing about modern game design where a lot of tokens out there. I don't mind tokens myself, like, I quite like tokens, but I appreciate, I do appreciate that it's not to everybody's taste, for sure. USA Libertarian says, people who have made their own contrast paints, water down paint ink, and add a drop of floating purple. They do, but I mean, that's kind of complicated. Like, I get it's not like the most complicated thing in the world, but the vast majority of people, I think, don't want to spend time doing that. Like, most people just want to just add the contrast paint in. Like, definitely, Games Workshop have had a level of myth around contrast paints. They've made it sound like some sort of concoction created by a wizard in some laboratory somewhere. So I take your point that it's not as complicated as they make it sound. It's the exact formulation. But on the other hand, I mean, like we can make Southwest sauce, right, from Subway, but you don't see a lot of people making their own Southwest sauce. Most people just buy it and they get it on their Subway sandwich. Sushi says, Corvus Belly of Infinity Games is amazing. Some of the nicest experience I've had from a consumer perspective. Their support is more knowledgeable about their models than I am, which is very unique, honestly. I mean, like, that usually you don't expect them to know more about their own models than if you're a big fan of their products. I've heard good things about Corvus Belly. A lot of my friends are really big fans of Corvus Belly. I haven't had a ton of experience with them, except for, like, secondhand. But I have heard good things about it. I mean, everybody I know that plays Infinity loves the game, and they've been playing for a while. It's not like they kind of all got into Infinity one summer and then sort of by the end of it were like they were over it. Like they all have all been playing Infinity for a while. I've heard good things about Corvus Belly. Corvus Belly obviously have got this new game coming out. Warcrow, it's called Warcrow. It's like a fantasy game. So that looks kind of interesting. Personally, I'm not like the biggest fan of the designs of the sculpts, but this is like a subjective thing again. I'm not like a fan of the sort of, they look almost like cartoony, kind of high fantasy or high magic kind of characters, very like Warcrafty in design almost, which I like World of Warcraft. Like if you've seen any of my YouTube posts, I've been streaming it a lot recently on twitch.tv/discoursegames, but I'm not, I kind of had my fill as a teenager, so I'm kind of over it a little bit. Except for Rivenstone, actually. Rivenstone does have very interesting sculpts, so I think the price was just a little bit above me. I couldn't afford to go in on the Kickstarter. I couldn't justify that price. Mad Action says Copplestone was North Star now. Part of my problem as well, I guess, for like other companies is that they don't do themselves a lot of favors. A lot of them have very poor websites, and I think this is like a problem endemic to the hobby entirely. Games Workshop have a very good website. Well, it's really bad in some ways. Like, for example, if you stop for a moment and are sitting on the page for like longer than 5 seconds, the actual website kind of craps out on you. You have to like refresh the page. But aside from that, like for whenever it comes to like pictures and things like that, they're very good because you got the spinny. You got the spinny thing where you can look at it 360 degrees. Although I've heard that Mantic Games are apparently adding up those to their website soon, so that's very good as well. Cuba says, I also recommend importing Warhammer from Poland because it's cheaper. I mean, I know I get all my stuff off Element Games. There's an affiliate link in the description below. God, I'm just so good. I'm so good at shilling sometimes. I just order off Element Games. I don't import any models really. In fact, I kind of try to not order from Europe because of like import fees. I'm always worried about custom fees and stuff like that ever since like Brexit. So I try to do that. Although I live in Northern Ireland, which is like right now the gateway between Europe and the UK. So there we go. USA Libertarian says $8 for 12ml half watered down paint. Sure, there are some minor additives. Sure. Zombies Aku says course-based tokens made my eyes go funny. Love the game, but look foolish with my magnifying glass. I haven't actually seen the tokens, or I didn't really note anything special about them. Are they very, very small? You're like, what's going on here? I enjoyed Gamma Wolves, which there was a model line, says Jacob. Well, that's very interesting. I haven't played Gamma Wolves. That's the one by Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games, right? It's kind of funny, actually. So, this is really interesting to me because there's a lot of content creators out there who do talk about Warhammer. They talk about Games Workshop stuff. And a lot of them are coming out with their own miniature games now. A lot of them are coming out with their own miniature games. So there's a little bit of a bubble forming of content creator like miniature games. We have obviously there's Gamma Wolves from Ash Guerrilla Miniature Games. You've got Rain in Hell from Uncle Adam, and he's coming out with a new sci-fi game I think this year as well. There is If Worlds Collide by Narb. There is Idols of Torment from Black Magic Crafts. And I feel like I'm missing a few games, but there's a few other games, right? There's a few other games coming out from content creators, and it feels like that like a lot of them are kind of, there's like a little bit of a bubble forming of like content creator games. And I wonder, like, whenever they come out with their own content, like whenever they come out with their own games, are they gonna like continue to cover Games Workshop stuff like Warhammer as much? Because I think they will, honestly. Like I think they will. And then maybe, because I mean, MS Paints did a video about how Warhammer is killing our channels. He said, and he talks in that about one of his fellow content creators, I think Scenic Games, who basically he did a video on Warhammer but small, about making Warhammer like 6mm or 12mm miniatures and painting them, putting them together, creating like a big army of those guys. And it's Warhammer but small, and it wasn't actually Warhammer, it was Kings of War. But the title was Warhammer but small. But Warhammer came to mean like any miniature in that video. And I find that really interesting because they use Warhammer in order to get people in the door, but really the content is the content. Like, the content wouldn't be different depending on whether or not it was Warhammer or Kings of War. And that's really, really interesting to me. And it's actually kind of funny because it opens up a door to like a little bit of legal problems I think that Games Workshop might have down the road. And it's something that I sort of flirt with a lot in my... I don't know whether or not that like ever actually take this on for real, right? But there is like an argument to be said that if all content creators just start referring to like every single miniature war game as Warhammer, if we all just agree, right? Imagine we all just today decided, Games Workshop, you've won. You beat us, Games Workshop. That's it, you've got it. It's the Warhammer hobby now. It's capital W, capital H. It's the Warhammer hobby, you won. There you go. And if we all decided to do that, and we all started saying, yep, I'm a Warhammer hobbyist. For example, would you like to see my latest Warhammer miniature? Here he is. This is my Warhammer miniature. Do you like him? He's a B1 droid. It's a Warhammer model. Oh, would you like to see my other Warhammer model? It's a Vatican priest. It's a Warhammer model. It's for Warhammer. Right? Bolt action Warhammer. Yeah, it's the Warhammer hobby, boys. We're all in the Warhammer hobby now. And there is a legal concept. There is a legal concept called genericization. This is, you might know about this from Nintendo. In the 90s, Nintendo had an ad campaign saying, please don't call every single games console a Nintendo. Please don't do it. They were desperate because they were worried that if the term Nintendo became synonymous with every single games console, it would become genericized. It would become a generic term. And do you know what cannot be copyrighted, cannot be trademarked? A generic term. And as a company, you can actually lose your copyright or your trademark if it is a generic term. So if we all decide to call every single miniature a Warhammer miniature, then there is an argument that could potentially be made in a courtroom that actually Games Workshop do not own the rights to the term Warhammer, that the term Warhammer is just a generic term for any small figurine that is played with. And we could all be free. It would be like we switch it on them, you know what I mean? Like we give in. And I imagine that if they actually got wind that this was a potentiality, like this could actually happen. Like if everybody actually just started calling it Warhammer minis, we were like, oh yeah, I've got my my Russian Warhammer minis, they'd be like, uh-oh, we gotta like roll this back, guys. We gotta roll this back. We cannot do this. We can't do this. We cannot, because then we're gonna lose like the term Warhammer. And Games Workshop really don't like that. Like if anyone, case in point, Age of Sigmar, Games Workshop don't like the idea of a term they can't control. Spots the Space Marine. Spots the Space Marine. They didn't like that. Neither all Primaris. They didn't like that. They didn't like it just being Space Marine. Oh no. Oh no, you can't. Yeah, reverse Uno. Uno reverse card, says Ada. Exactly. Sometimes I flirt with this idea. I think it's kind of a funny idea. And I'm like, will it? I wonder if that could be the way. If everybody just gave in and was like, okay, you win, Games Workshop. You got me. You got me. Sylvia Bullet says, Sellotape and Hoover. Exactly. It happened to them, right? Now nobody owns the term Hoover. Anybody can use it, right? And look, here's an argument for it. You go on to Twitch. You're looking up streaming. You're not looking up the art category for miniature painting. No, you're on the Warhammer category. I'm painting this guy. I'm painting stormtroopers on Twitch, and I'm in the category Warhammer. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if Star Wars is Warhammer, surely this is a generic term. Let's give them what they want. Let's give them what they want. Let's make it all Warhammer all the way done. I just got my Darth Vader Warhammer mini, says Carlos. Exactly. Exactly. This is like a mad scheme, by the way. I have no idea if this would work, but I think it's a very funny idea. Generic Warhammer, says Paul. Warhammer is incredibly generic. Yep, exactly. It's all Warhammer now. And this would be like the nightmare. I think like Games Workshop lawyers like wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Be like, oh God. Oh, absolute nightmare, you know? It is all Warhammer. But hey, that's just a little thing I sometimes think of. It gives me a chuckle. Scython says, there was a quote from StarCraft which will be heard in the GWHQ. Are you prepared to go all the way with this? And they will realize what they have done if they lose their IP. Waterloo? Warhammer! In time. Exactly, Fran. Exactly. I got my 3D printed Warhammer minis. Well, yeah, right? And this is a company, by the way, that don't forget, that whose only interaction with 3D printing, this new, innovative, incredible aspect of the hobby that is going to completely revolutionize the hobby, and in a lot of ways already has, their only interaction with this is to try and shut down creators who they think are copying their Terminator copies, right? Like, that's it. Like, that's their only interaction with 3D printing, is to try and shut down people. That's it. They're not thinking about ways that they can innovate in the gameplay. They're not thinking about ways they can maybe create new products that could be sold in 3D printing. They're not thinking of ways that maybe they could sell, you know, they could sell STL files even. No, they're thinking of, like, how do we make sure that nobody is getting money off the idea of a Space Marine? How do we make sure this happens? Because if they do that, I'm going to lose my mind. And that's, with that, it's that contemptuous attitude that they have towards the kind of wider hobby that I find, well, I find it contemptible myself, frankly. Genja Steve, super chat at $5.32. Thank you very much. That's £4.50. If they thought they'd lose the copyright to Warhammer, they would just Age of Sigmar it and rename Warhammer to Warhammery and let it ride a shark. Thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate that, Genja. I really do appreciate that. No, they would. Right, they would. And they've done it. Like, they've done it. Like, they did it with, the Imperial Guard are no longer the Imperial Guard, right? The Dark Eldar are no longer the Dark Eldar, they're now the Drukhari. Because Games Workshop were really scared that they wouldn't be able to, like, sue people who write books, I guess, was kind of their main fear. But the funny thing is, so if you look at, like, I don't know if anybody knows about Chapter House. I don't know if this is, like, has passed into legend or not, or most people still know about Chapter House. But back in, like, the 2014, I think it was, Chapter House was a company that were selling, well, you would sort of probably say were very heavily inspired bits and bobs, like 3D print bits, for, like, say, it was mostly bought, I'll say this much, it was mostly bought by people who collect Space Marines, who wanted to buy either models and, like, bits and things like that. And Games Workshop took them to court. Games Workshop took Chapter House to court. Now, what they really did was they sent them a cease and desist letter, and Chapter House were, like, one of the few companies who were like, do you know what, no, we'll take you to court. We'll, like, actually follow you to court. And they went to court, and they argued it over in court. And what happened is that 1/3 of the claims of Games Workshop were just found to be completely erroneous. Like, completely erroneous. Like, you do not get to control X, Y, and Z. And it was devastating for Games Workshop. It was the first time that they'd ever tested their spurious claims in a courtroom, and a judge actually got to look at it, and accidentally, they lost the right to the term Space Marine. Sorry, not the term Space Marine. They lost their what they would call their iconic shoulder pads, for example. They do not own those iconic designs. The idea of a man in armor is not owned by them. Sean with a big donation, thank you very much. There is a reason why D&D has always pointed out there is other RPGs. They're painfully aware of how they could lose their IP. Yes, it's a really important distinction, right? You're very right, Sean. Like, actually, I've never thought of this before, but D&D do. Like, Wizards of the Coast, they refer to it as the world's greatest role-playing game. In their book, right? It's their tagline, the world's greatest role-playing game. Therefore, there are other role-playing games out there. They don't say, this is the role-playing game, you know? But Warhammer does. Like, Games Workshop do. Warhammer is referred to as the miniature war game. The miniature war game. Right? It's not compared to anything else. It's just the miniature war game. That's it. There's no others. It's the Warhammer hobby. It's not the role-playing game hobby. Do you know what I mean? It's not the miniature war game hobby. It's not the wargaming hobby. And it's kind of dangerous. I don't think the Games Workshop have really thought about it that much, to be honest, because we're even more niche than D&D, right? Like, we're even more niche. And plus, Games Workshop have never been, let's just say, I think that their lawyers are more like bulldogs rather than deep thinkers. And I'm not saying that, like, their lawyers are. I'm just saying that I know the type of person who works there, and they're not getting paid very much, and they're basically scouring the internet looking for people that potentially have made models that look vaguely similar to a Games Workshop model, and they're sending an email off being like, stop making this or we'll take you to court, right? I mean, there we go. But I am crafting a video on this about trademark bullying, about Spots the Space Marine, about Chapter House, and about a content creator who recently was ordered to take miniatures down, and I just find that very interesting. I think it's opened the door to a conversation about the actions of Games Workshop, because I think that it's a question that hobbyists should ask themselves: is this something that we want in the hobby, or is it worth it for us to simply have miniatures that maybe do look very vaguely similar to some Warhammer models potentially? Is it maybe okay for those to exist? And maybe that's actually better for everybody. So I think that'll be very interesting as a video. It's just really laborious because there's like a lot of like here's the funny thing, right? I'm looking up like loads of stuff about trademark and copyright law and things like that. I'm not even gonna talk about most of it. I just need to know it so that I'm not like scrutinized too hard and fall down a big massive well or something. The fucking CIA says they were hand sculpted in GW style, not very well. I mean, to be honest, I never purchased any Chapter House stuff. I never saw any Chapter House stuff, but, or I saw Chapter House stuff, but well, not in person, I must say. I never saw it in person. I never bought it or like play with it or anything like that. Have to be litigation proof, says USA Libertarian. Yeah. Dungeon and Dober says the best thing about the Chapter House case was knowing that they got represented pro bono, because basically the entire legal world was tired of GW's litigious nature. Yes, and it was the exact same thing with the author. I can't remember her name, but she does Spots the Space Marine, Games Workshop basically. So she did this book, right? She self-published this sci-fi book called Spots the Space Marine. It's a romance novel in space. Nothing to do with Games Workshop stuff. Games Workshop basically wrote to Amazon, and Amazon took down the book because it was infringing on Games Workshop's copyright term, Space Marine. And this had loads of sci-fi writers like really concerned. This is like back in 2011. They were like really concerned. They were like, dude, the term Space Marine has been around since like 1930. You don't get to own the term Space Marine. And so it was, she, the author of Spots Space Marine, wrote to Amazon, asked them to basically let them have it back up. Amazon refused, because vendors like Amazon, vendors like Patreon, and it remains to be seen about My Mini Factory. I'm not aware about My Mini Factory. They will side with the company. Like if they get a copy, see what YouTube, right? If we recall back to the review of Warhammer Plus that Midwinter Middies put out, these companies will side with, these vendors will side with the big company that's writing the letter to them telling them to take it down. Because the big company takes it down has the money to like potentially sue, right? These other companies, these vendors will always side with them to avoid any problems. And they will say things like, you're gonna have to bring it to the person who has disputed your copyright, you know, who has put in a copyright claim. You're gonna have to go speak to those people. So she did. She wrote to Games Workshop and we're like, can we please resolve this amicably? And Games Workshop were like, no. They're just like, nope. Nope. I'm afraid not. We own Space Marines. And so, she had to like reach out. And luckily, in this instance, the community of sci-fi writers, there's a group called Popat, who are a collection of lawyers who work with copyright. They basically try and protect against trademark bullying and copyright trolling. They put the word out, and lawyers agreed to represent the author pro bono in order to actually fight against them. Because what that author had discovered was that actually to get a lawyer is incredibly expensive. To get a lawyer is incredibly expensive, especially when it comes to like copyright claims. It's just a very expensive piece of law. It's very commercial. It's very complicated. It's a lot of work. And that's what these companies rely on. It's what companies like Games Workshop rely on. They rely on you not being able to actually respond to them in kind. They do not write out to everybody. I'll say this much. There are companies out there that have a little bit more money that Games Workshop do not send cease and desist letters to. They do not do it because they are worried about this stuff actually ever going to court. This is like a punt to them. This is just an attempt to sort of shut things down. And that is copyright trolling, and Games Workshop are guilty of it. They've been guilty of it in the past, and they're still guilty of it today, and that's what I want to talk about. Not today, but I'm gonna talk about it in the video soon. Probably like the next video that I do. It's just gonna be a lot of work. And I've always found it rich about Games Workshop because Games Workshop have obviously taken a lot of design inspiration in their own miniatures, right? Like Games Workshop have taken, I've said design inspiration, like, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't hold up in court. Like you look at the Cadian Troopers. You look at the Cadian Troopers for Games Workshop Imperial Guard. They are identical. They are identical to the mobile infantry of the movie Starship Troopers, and the Games Workshop actually changed the design of the Imperial Guard to match the movie Starship Troopers. If you look at second edition miniatures of the Imperial Guard, they look differently. They were more World War II inspired. The Kadian infantry, if you look at the Kadian ones, they were more World War II inspired. And Katachan were like the main guys back then. So I'm just saying, I always find it pretty ridiculous, honestly. Let's see here. Runcible says probably GW. Ooh. USA Libertarian says guilty until proven innocent. That is generally the case. That is generally the case when it comes to these things, because money talks, right? Money does talk. And it's a big problem. The DMCA requires that the companies do it or else they open themselves up to being sued, says Param. Yeah, exactly. New Game 85 says companies have to actively defend their IP. It's the problem with the way copyright law works. So this is like a really interesting point. Like I take your point that companies do need to actively because they do. Like if their copyright is tested, then they risk losing it if they don't enforce it. However, what I would contend is that Games Workshop are incredibly selective with who they actually enforce it. They already have discretion of when they go out and they try to enforce their IP. And they don't pick people who they think will take them to court. They don't. What they are doing right now is they are trolling. They're actively looking for small creators who are working in like 3D printing, who are sculpting and 3D printing stuff. They're actively trolling for people and comparing models and like trying to see whether or not they think the arguments are sound enough. And it's not even like lawyers really. It's like middle management people who are really making these decisions ultimately as to whether or not to send out the cease and desist stuff. Cuba says they look like Starship Troopers. They do indeed. They do indeed. Sean Vieira says a ton of big name science fiction authors basically told GW they were willing to go to war with them. Maybe they should be suing GW for ripping off their copyright. Yeah, right? Exactly. Exactly. And this stuff sucks for consumers. Like, this isn't good for consumers. Like, it doesn't serve us, the Games Workshop, are able to swing their big hammer around and knock people about. Like, because I want a diverse hobby, and I want as many creators out there making as many products as possible. I want a huge, diverse hobby that has tons of creators in there. I want to be able to... I want beautiful miniatures. I want really cool looking miniatures. And, yeah. Unfortunately, whenever creators get shut down, we lose a little something there. Runcible says, Warhammer Fantasy Battles is pretty much the replica of our own world. German Empire, French Brits, Egyptian Undead. No, it is, right? It is. It's clearly based on, like, Europe, you know. It's clearly based on Europe. Like, it's the Holy Roman Empire. It's the Empire Man, right? Let's see here. The Dutch Telecom has trademark rights on the color Magneto. I was going to say Magneto. Magenta, a color which existed longer than the telephone company, which uses the color in its advertising. So the interesting thing is that often copyright is... So the purpose of... Oh, God. I hate copyright, guys. Why are you making me talk about this? So the purpose of copyright is really to avoid confusion in the market. Right? It's to prevent people from getting confused. That's why you trademark it. So basically, like, if I go in and I'm like, is this a Space Marine from Games Workshop? Or is this a Space Marine from Games Workshop? Or you see it in, like in, you know, like those VHS, I don't know, not VHS, jeez, I'm showing my age there. You know, like those movies, whenever like a new movie comes out, like it's the Iron Man, and then your granny comes home and she's got you like a little gift, and it's this DVD, and it's got Iron Guy on it, and it's like this like fella, and he's like, I'm the Iron Guy, and I'm fighting the orange, and like you're like, oh no, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't the Iron Man movie. This is Iron Guy, some like random movie some dude made in his backyard, and is now selling to grannies who think that this is the latest hit Marvel movie, and. Like, that's what this is all meant to be avoiding. Like, this is what they're trying to avoid. That sort of stuff. And I get that, but I don't think that very many people are getting confused by, like, 3D printers who are making stuff on My Mini Factory and stuff. I am confusing trademark and copyright, Param. I am. $2, thank you very much, though, for the donation. And thank you very much, Riv Dammit, for the £5 donation as well. New GW line, a Lawhammer. I am, Param. I really don't want to talk about this stuff. I'm not, like, prepared to talk about it. We've just gotten onto the topic, unfortunately. Because I've been doing a lot of research recently, but I am confusing the two a lot. I'm constantly getting them mixed up in my head. In the UK, you can't trademark colors, can you? Says Sifaben. I actually have no idea. So, like, I gotta tell you guys, like, trademark and copyright is not my area of expertise, for sure. It's not my area of expertise. I've just been starting to look into it. So, I'm going to do a video on it where I'll be a little bit more coherent. This is just me talking off the cuff. LOL Iron Guy versus David Dickinson. Yeah, for sure. Bob Mood says, I mean, how are they gonna tell me that the God Emperor man isn't just Dune's God Emperor? I don't know how they're gonna tell you that, Bob Moods, because he is. Easy, he's not a worm, says CIA. Yeah, no, 100%. Scython says, Carlos, that would be the equivalent of an ogre taking up a dragon, which slept for 1,000 years in his lair deep in the mountain, in court, claiming that he was in the mountain first. GW against Blizzard. Yeah, they don't exactly write to Blizzard, do they? And go, hey guys, you're kind of riffing on our orcs a little bit there. Hope Live says, GW ignored the Blood Bowl community for years. They came back and used the rules the community carefully cultivated over the years. I mean, sure, but we'd rather them do that, right? Like, we'd rather them actually take advantage of the fan resources there. Although it would be nice if the Games Workshop actually worked with the community and credited the people who made this stuff. And I don't know if they did, but I'm guessing that they did not. I am guessing that they did not credit the creators of those rules, because ultimately Games Workshop don't really care about trademark and copyright and all that sort of intellectual property. Shall we just IP? Shall we just settle it all? They don't actually care about IP. And when it concerns anybody but themselves, right? Like, they only care about how much they can control and how much they can get away with, because they're terrified of losing money if they ever lose access to it. GW ignored, imagine them losing against a small creator in court. The message it would send to the industry to whatever they want, as Diageo. Well, they sort of did, like in Chapter House. So in Chapter House, they lost a lot of claims, but they also succeeded in some of them as well. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it bankrupted Chapter House. So Chapter House died for us all. Confused. We specifically are trying to avoid DW. Yeah, well, trademark equal identity, copyright equal a specific expression of an idea. Thank you very much, Waffles. Rinswell says, my friend once bought flesh... Oh my god! My friend once bought Flash Gordon, thinking it was Flash Gordon. He thought it would be good for the kids. Thankfully, he discovered his mistake before it was too late. Flash Gordon. Oh my god. Lack of Gravitas says 2000 AD, Nemesis, the Warlock, is a xenophobic human empire with Space Marines crusading against the aliens. Warhammer is entirely, like, it's very 2000 AD. 2000 AD. It's like less so these days, but it used to be very 2000 AD. The CIA says Blood Bowl is thriving though, and not just because of 3D printing. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think it's because the game is very accessible, especially for a Games Workshop product. It's the same, like, Necromunda for a while there was a pretty accessible game, but even from the get-go, you could kind of tell that the rules were going in a weird direction. Like, it wasn't ever going to be a very, like, strong game when it comes to the rules. Thank you very much, Parrot, for the donation. Chapter House created a map of where the line is. It is. I mean, it did. It certainly did. It created a really interesting precedent, one that terrified Games Workshop in a lot of ways. I think at some stage I'd like to do a video specifically focused on Chapter House, like on Chapter House. But the research that would be required for it is just very substantial, like incredibly substantial. And like, I started work on a Chapter House video, like, I gotta say, like a couple of months ago, and I haven't made a lot of progress on it because it's just like it's incredibly complicated. It's incredibly hard. It's very laborious as well. You gotta, like, look through, like, the records and stuff. I gotta start reading court cases. I haven't read, like, a court case in a while, and I don't really want to start again. Like, I'll probably just look up some synopses. Although that said, I have looked up at some synopses, and I find some of them in their sort of their analysis a little bit lacking. So I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find any, like, actual specific legal resources as opposed to just kind of like hobby resources for those. Do not worry, Param. By all means, I love super chats. Like, that's can I just say, guys, like, anyone out there who's confused, I fucking adore super chats. I appreciate every single one of them. I really do. So thank you very much. No, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the knowledge as well. Clavic says law is different in different countries. Yep, but companies sure register their own colors as part of the trademark brand. See Ferrari red, Starbucks green. I mean, everything is kind of like layers of defense, right? Like, anything. So a company wants to cast as wide a net as possible. they want to cast as wide a net as possible, right? Because it's ultimately these legal decisions are really a decision of commercial. They're really commercial decisions, because the reason why you're trying to protect your work is because you do not want competitors. You don't want people kind of quote unquote stealing your work. You don't want that. So you want to cast your net as wide as possible to make sure that there is no one out there that could even potentially be making a little bit of money that you could not be making. You know, so a lot of these things might not stand up to scrutiny. A lot of these things might not stand up in court. But that doesn't really quite matter. It's all about just casting a net as wide as possible and intimidating people into not actually going to court. You don't actually want to ever actually argue it. Like, if you argue it in court, then you kind of lost a little bit already. It's throwing your money around. It's how you use your weight, right? It's like how you use your weight. Oh God, I didn't want to talk about this stuff. Here we are now. We are here now. You guys got me. You got me talking. You got me talking on things. Bruce says, you know where copyright work? China. Yeah. Composite says, meanwhile, there's currently an online campaign in Infinity, result of which may influence future lore. Is that a TTS? Is that a tabletop simulator campaign? Because that is interesting. That is really interesting. Tabletop simulator is really cool. This is actually a really good example, I think, of choosing to just simply turn a blind eye to something. There's a lot of mods out there that are for miniature war games that are on Tabletop Simulator. There's the Batman Miniatures game. There's a Tabletop Simulator mod for that. Apparently, I think there might be an Infinity one. There's a Star Wars Legion one, which is very good as well. In fact, you know what? I think Moonstone's got one. Turn Up 28 has a Tabletop Simulator mod, right? I think that most miniature war games now have a Tabletop Simulator mod, and the reason for this makes so much sense. One, most companies aren't afraid of showing their gameplay to people. And I mean that sincerely. Like, most companies are like, I think we've made a good game. Let's get that game in front of as many people as possible. And Tabletop Simulator does that really well, because you don't need to build models, you don't need to paint models, you don't need to spend money on models. You get this free entrance. I mean, you bought Tabletop Simulator, but apart from that, you got this free entrance into the game. You get to test the game. Like, demo games are incredible at trade shows, because you get to play a game and go, is this good or is this bad, without having to spend hundreds of dollars to try it out, right? Tabletop Simulator does that for everybody globally. It's incredible. It's like demo games. And so, you get to do that. Most companies like this. They like people playing their game, because you might enjoy the game. And then you might go out and spread it and go, woo, and spread the game to other people. That's how most of them make their money. They spread through word of mouth. But you don't, you look at the Tabletop Simulator communities for Warhammer, and it's a lot smaller. Games Workshop actively try to shut those things down. I've tried to play Necromunda online, and you had to use all this weird random proxy models. But I play on Star Wars Legion. There's 3D scans of every single model in the game up on that. I think the best one has probably been I tried to play Age of Sigmar as well. That worked okay. It was kind of a little bit janky. The Lord of the Rings miniatures game has a pretty good online kind of community, and it has a good tabletop simulator as well. It has a good tabletop simulator mod. And there's an acknowledgement, I think, from most companies that have these mods that they're not hurting the core game. They're helping the core game. They're attracting people into the game. And many of them just simply either endorse the game, or they simply say something to the effect of, we didn't see this, but that's fine. Just keep going on. We'll never take steps against it. You know what I mean? But Games Workshop isn't like that. Games Workshop are very, they do not want people playing their games unless they can, actively monetize it. MLP Death Dealer 32 says, I missed the other TTS if the Emperor had a text-to-speech service. Yes, no, certainly, I get you there. But I'm talking about Tabletop Simulator. But yeah, no, I get you. That was very beloved. Mitchell says, GW ate my fries. Funnily enough, I had a McDonald's before this stream, and I had a lot of fries, and it was delicious. But I wouldn't give any Games Workshop any of my fries, if I could. And you should sue them, Mitchell, is what you should do. GW stole my trousers, says Hope. That's very sad. Although, are you sure you just didn't throw them out the window? The CIA says, being able to find a game in any scene means a lot. It does mean a lot. It does. It makes sense that so many people play Warhammer, because it's kind of the self-fulfilling prophecy. You often have to build a community in your local area if you don't want to play Warhammer. I have a really big problem in that I want to play every single miniature war game that has ever been invented. And I'm currently engaged on this mad quest to do so. Like, I've got a Carnivale crew that I'm still painting. I've got a Carnivale crew I'm still painting. I've got like a Confederacy army that I'm still painting for the for Star Wars Legion. I got I just bought a bunch of A Song of Ice and Fire models. I got some like Relic Blade stuff on the way. I got like some fantasy stuff for Frostgrave on the way. I got like so many projects on all at once, you know what I mean? And imagine if I was trying to like build a community for every single one of those in my local game store. Like, it would just be a fool's errand. And that's why it makes it tough to like run a variety of games. Hey Jez, thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Jez says, good to have someone sticking up for the gamers and gaming. Also play Rangers of Shadow Deep. It is awesome. Yeah, so I bought Rangers of Shadow Deep. I plan on playing it. So what I'm doing is I'm building a bunch of models, I'm painting them, and I'm going to use them in Frostgrave. But here's the trick for miniature agnostic games. You can use the same miniature for multiple games. So I'm going to do the same thing for Rangers of Shadow Deep. I'm going to choose one of them. I'm going to make them like my ranger, and I'm going to use them. And I've got like a bunch of monster minis and stuff like that. So I'm going to use it on Rangers of Shadow Deep. I'm really excited to play it because it's like it's such a great solo experience. And it means I can sit at home by myself and play miniature war games. And isn't that what everybody wants? Isn't that what everybody wants? But thank you very much for the donation. I really, really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Ada Please says, I have the same problem. Relic Blade for the win, says Waffles Enjoyer. Matt says, but you have the giddy positivity, since you'll have no trouble talking people into playing things Discord. I mean, I did actually, I think I talked somebody yesterday at my local game store into buying into A Song of Ice and Fire by accident. I was just explaining the game. What can I say? Talking about the things I liked, talking about the things I didn't like, telling them about stuff like that, and they were like, and they think they're going to go buy a Night's Watch starter set now. I can't be blamed. I can't be blamed for this. All I wanted to do was make the free folk kneel, okay? I just wanted to teach them the value of kneeling. That's all. So segue, I'm thinking of what I really want is a Joffrey Baratheon, a King Joffrey army that comes with a bunch of Lannisters and a bunch of Boltons as well. I want a bunch of Boltons, I want a bunch of Lannisters, and I'm gonna have a blast. I'm gonna have an absolute blast doing so. GW touched my monkey, says Jazz. That is very inappropriate of GW. Very inappropriate. Rothian says, I am someone who has 2 armies I can play. My issue is there are no stores or groups I can play with, so no online games like TTS. So online games like TTS are my way of engaging with the gameplay. 100%. Like, there's lots of people out there who can only play. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. I think TTS is a net gain for hobby, like for companies. Like, if you buy in and you play games in TTS, you can try different miniatures. You can see how good they are in game. You can play the game. I don't think there is anybody who just plays miniature war games on TTS and doesn't engage somewhat with the hobby inside of things. I guarantee that there are more people who have bought way more models as a result of TTS than people who have not bought models because they're like, I can play it online. It's not the same to play it online. It's not as tactile. You don't get to touch the models and go, ugh. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. And that like really sucks. To be honest, you want to be able to like touch the models and experience them and actually get to enjoy them on the table. Like, in a lot of ways, the miniature wargaming hobby is one of a spectacle, right? It's one of spectacle, and this goes to a little bit towards. It actually goes a little bit towards what we were talking about in my last video covering the Summer Skirmish event, where I spoke about terrain. And I've had a lot of people comment that you can just simply proxy terrain, right? Games Workshop selling terrain doesn't hurt you. It doesn't, like, stop anybody from simply just going, this piece of terrain, it has special rules as per Games Workshop. Games Workshop have given it special rules, but we're just gonna take, like, this... I don't know, like this remote control and say that it's a smokestack and we're gonna like set it on the table. Yeah, sure, you can do that. But on the other hand, I mean, it's kind of a little bit of a slippery slope, isn't it? Because this hobby is all about the spectacle, what's on the table. We aren't moving tokens around. We are moving miniatures, painted miniatures. Immersion is a huge part of this hobby. The aesthetic is so important to this hobby. It's not the same if you're proxying things. It's just not. It's just not. And the fact is that the vast majority of hobbyists buy things that they have rules for. Most people don't proxy stuff. Most people, like, if they want to run Space Marines, they will buy Space Marines and they will play with Space Marines. So it has value. Like, there is something to be said for the nature of the aesthetic of the game. Param, thank you so much for the super chat. Says GW renamed forests to Wild Woods. They did they? Wild Woods. Yeah, I guess forest is too generic a term. And in a lot of ways as well. So this is in a lot of ways this is about SEO. Kind of funnily enough, like we're going we're going full circle. I mentioned SEO in the context of content creators earlier. It's search engine optimization. You want it whenever people put into Google, whatever they put into, you're at the top, right? That's search engine optimization. Content creators do it all the time. It's why they put Warhammer inside their title and not Wargaming, because Warhammer is searched for more often than Wargaming. Warhammer basically has a bigger market of people who will click. And in a lot of ways, Games Workshop want to do that, right? Like if you pick up a box of soldiers, say they are historical soldiers. Say they're like World War II American US infantry. And you type into Google, you're like, oh, what do these guys do? And it's like bolt action, right? And you type into Google, it's the game Bolt Action. Bolt Action, US infantry. Like, you're not guaranteed, like, you probably will, to be honest. But I'm trying to think of other examples. I can't off the top of my head. But you can't, which is good, because they're so generic, that's why I can't think of them. You won't necessarily get, like, the game Bolt Action, US infantry. You might get, like, Bolt Action Rifles Wikipedia page. You might get, like, US infantry, like, Wikipedia page. You might not get it. You might have to go searching, specifically, like, miniatures and things like that, right? But if you type into YouTube, or into Google, Primaris, you're probably going to get Primaris Space Marines. It's a distinct term that is very searchable, and it leads you towards Games Workshop stuff. If you search up Space Marines, it's going to lead you, probably, to be honest, towards Space Marines from Games Workshop. And that's kind of why they also wanted, they were so terrified of other people using the term Space Marine, because they wanted all to lead back to Rome. They wanted all to come back to Games Workshop. For sure, like, for sure. I can't remember what I was talking about there a second ago. My apologies. I'm just going to take a quick sip of the patented, the beautiful, the fantastic cream soda. Absolutely delicious. It has basically replaced water for me. It's got electrolytes, guys. It's got electrolytes. So it's the thing I crave. Okay, let's open up this bad boy. Let's not let it spill everywhere. It'd be kind of embarrassing on stream. I've been warned about hydration. I've been told I should partake in more hydration. I've been streaming a lot on Twitch lately as well, which sort of, what that means is that I have been talking a lot and not drinking enough water. But having a blast though, for those who are curious, my Twitch is twitch.tv/Discourse Games. It's not Discourse Miniatures. It's because on Twitch, I'm plugged in. You know, like, you might normally, like people are like, oh, it's unplugged. Well, on Twitch, I'm plugged because I'm playing video games. At least until the day that I can get, like, a camera doobly-doo pointed down. Which shouldn't be too far away, honestly. It should be, shouldn't be too far. It should be like a month or two, which will be a blast. Which I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to painting on stream. Oh my goodness, imagine that. Primaris Bolt Action, says Waffles. Is that actually cream lemonade? It's cream soda. Matt says, look like GW are doing another stealth price rise. New Kill Team box sets are going to be £40 as opposed to the current price of £35. Excuse me, I had to burp very loudly because I just had a bunch of cream soda. Okay. That is a real bummer, actually, and not a surprise. So one of the first things I was asked when the stream started was, what have Games Workshop done now? Another price rise? And yeah, I guess there's another one. I mentioned another price rise. I mentioned a different one, the one on Shades, but I guess, yeah. There we go, guys. Like, I mean, there it is. And they, more than likely, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna see probably prices increase for the box sets, because, see, the thing is about the box sets is that they're all distinct products. You know, because Games Workshop don't have a standard RRP. They're all distinct products, like the way that Warhammer Underworld is. So each time they come out, they can be like, let's just push the price up a little. Because, I mean, we never established a price in the first place, so we can just keep putting the price up every single time. which just sucks. It just really sucks. Leech, cream soda for the cream soda god. Thank you very much. I appreciate the super chat. Leech. Yes, 100%. Cream soda for the cream soda god, indeed. I absolutely love it. If there was the profession of soda jerker, if that still existed, you were able to be a soda jerker, that's what I would pursue. I'd pursue a career in soda jerking. That would be me. Here we are. GW stole my burps, says Anthony. GW did steal your burps. Rinsable says, I'm only strongly suspicious about Warcry version 2. I bet they pull some dodgy dealings there. Much to my sadness. Well, it kind of sucks, right? Like, it sucks that we have to be, like, constantly on edge. This, ultimately, everything that we've talked about today, the content that has been strung around this title that I have put down of Games Workshop versus content creators versus YouTubers. I mean, I said YouTubers, but really what I meant was content creators. I meant, like, Instagrammers, Twitterers, I don't know, Twitch streamers, like, everybody who makes content around miniature wargaming is in some way has to configure their relationship towards Games Workshop. It is like the fucking sun. You've got to, like, decide where you're gonna do. Are you gonna go just sign the NDA and fly straight into it? Or are you gonna try and, like, orbit it by, like, utilizing the term Warhammer? Or you just gonna go, like, off to Pluto and basically, I mean, to be frank, be kind of irrelevant to the wider hobby and just not cover it whatsoever. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, obviously, content creators like Black Tag Legacy, he doesn't cover Games Workshop at all, and he's making a livable income off of it. He created a very awesome video, actually, very recently. I'm sure most people here have watched it, of his relationship with Games Workshop. But, like, the truth of the matter is that you're not going to get as many views by not covering Warhammer, right? And not talking about Games Workshop at all. It's just, it's the reality of the situation. You gotta, like, configure, like, where are you going to fall on this? It's a decision. I'll say this much, though. I'm really happy that content creators are talking about it as a result of the video that I put out. Like, I'm just gonna claim credit on this one, guys. I'm gonna claim credit on this. I'm really happy the content creators are talking about this, because I find it really interesting, and I think it's a really interesting discussion that we can have, because, as I was saying, we do really need to think about what type of hobby do we want? Like, do we want a hobby that is dominated by a single brand? Like, is that something that we want? Because it's all well and good saying that, oh, this is, you know, that, oh, well, Games Workshop are just the biggest brand. Most people want to play games that are from Games Workshop, yada, yada, yada. Like, that's fine, you know? But this is what Games Workshop wants to do. They want to conflate their products with the hobby as a whole. Like, this is ultimately their overriding goal. And it is the same with Wizards of the Coast. I mean, they do it, so they don't try to, like, they're not running the risk of making the words D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, be generic. I think they are a little bit, but, like, they're not purposely doing that. Like, they're trying not to do that. But it's very similar in the sense that whenever you talk to people about tabletop role-playing games, they'll go, what's a tabletop role-playing game? And then if you say Dungeons and Dragons, they'll go, oh, like it's Stranger Things. You know, like, they'll get it. Like, they'll understand what you're talking about then at that stage. And I suppose for most hobbyists, I guess, it's the case of maybe try stepping outside of the Games Workshop ecosystem even more, even if it's going to be a little bit of a tougher kind of goal. Like, it's going to be tougher for you in terms of finding games and things like that. Because, I mean, so one of the earlier videos I did on the channel, I did it, like, late last year, whenever the boycott, remember that? Remember everybody was saying, like, we gotta boycott Games Workshop. It lasted for, like, a couple of months. But I did a video at the time, and I was quite critical of the boycott because boycotts don't work. It's sad, but boycotts just don't work. They always fall apart unless they're very highly motivated, they've been organized, and there's a lot of consumer will to do so. But that wasn't the case at that time, and it's probably frankly never going to be the case in the mini wargaming hobby that everybody boycotts Warhammer models. It's just not going to ever happen. So the question is consumers, how do we make our voices heard? And whenever Games Workshop do things that we don't like, how do we impact on Games Workshop in a way that forces them to sit up and take note? And it's not necessarily boycott. I think that it's the best way for the long term is to what I advocated in that video, which was to boycott, which is essentially to buy products from other companies. We have to buy products from other companies. Now, I'm not being prescriptive here. I'm not saying that everybody should do so. Because frankly, like, models are a little bit expensive, and getting into new games can be expensive. Like, I get that, and I understand that. And we spent like a lot of time on a single model. Like, it's really hard to dip your toe into a variety of games because we spent like a lot of time like working on models and things like that. That's really tough. But I think that we should at the very least, acknowledge that it is bad for consumers if a single company dominates the hobby. Like, even when we talk about Games Workshop, I think it's best for consumers. At the very least we can do is acknowledge that it's bad for consumers. Even if you like Games Workshop, even if you like their products, even if you like their games, even if you are involved in the competitive scene for Warhammer, even if you are involved in the narrative scene for Warhammer, even if you work for Games Workshop, I think we have to acknowledge that the more that Games Workshop take over the slice of the pie that is mini wargaming, it's worse for us as consumers at the end of the day, because it's less restraint on their part. They have less concerns. They risk less of the market, and really the variety out there gets smaller because what Games Workshop produce is Warhammer. Warhammer's good. Like, I enjoy Warhammer, but it's not the only thing I like. I like other stuff too. I like Batman minis. I like A Song of Ice and Fire. Okay, they're licenses. What games do I like that are not licensed? I like one-page rules. I like the gameplay of one-page rules. I like the sculpts of one-page rules. I like Carnivale. Carnivale is a ton of fun. I like Lunar. I like Moonstone. Those models are gorgeous. They're so whimsical. They're so beautiful, and they're so different from anything that Games Workshop are putting out, right? It's really important that we have this variety out there. Now, luckily, I think 3D printing is massive for the hobby because it's creating a ton of variety. I think there's a whole new business model being pioneered that isn't just Patreon. It's kind of is and it kind of isn't. And it's not just because of the consumer friendliness of Patreon. It's also the fact that consumers, hobbyists, are getting to design worlds with designers. Because it's like, do you know why video game companies are like, we got a live service, the same way the Games Workshop have got their live service, where it's like, every 3 months, we selling ya a box, buy the box, and off you fuck, right? That's what Games Workshop's business model is. That's a live service. No, these companies are doing a real live service, which is you're in the Patreon every month. As a result of that, you get access to stuff that's really cool, but also you get to help design the games. There's world building that's going on. You're taking polls. You're deciding which models are going out next, which ones the sculptors are doing, because they're really deeply entrenched and in touch with their communities. You look on My Mini Factory, some of the biggest companies on there, or biggest creators on there, like Beastariums, they are actually working hand in hand with consumers to build their worlds. That's so cool. And that's an actual innovative live service right there. But companies don't want to do that because live service is just a smokescreen. That's all it is. It's a smokescreen for recurring revenue. We want recurring revenue. They don't want to give a service. They want recurring revenue streams. They want you to constantly be dipping in and giving them money that they can depend on so that they can continue to pay out dividends, really. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's their only goal. John on Tabletop, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you very much. Players who want more niche games or smaller games should be encouraged to have 2 playable factions and champion those games, like I did with BattleTech recently. Here. I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Look, it's one of those things where if you want to be an ambassador for a game, which is what you often are. If you want to be an ambassador for a game, if you're really passionate about a game, like, you do have to kind of sometimes take that on the chin. You do sometimes have to take that on the chin. For example, I bought the Baratheon starter set and I bought the Free Folk starter set so that, one, I could recreate Stannis saving the wall. Sorry, spoilers, but, the Free Folk get taught to kneel. And I wanted to be there in that moment. So I bought the Stannis starter, the Baratheon starter set, and I bought the Free Folk starter set. So, and I let my opponent play with the Free Folk so that I could play as the Baratheons, and we played against one another. I did that because I understood that someone else, like, they weren't as passionate about the game as me. Now they are, though. Now they're gonna buy a Greyjoy starter set, right? But we had a lot of fun, right? Sometimes you've got to do that. Sometimes you have to Sometimes you've gotta do that. Sorry, I'm just seeing MLP saying, LOL, you sounded like Mickey Mouse there. You gotta, I'm afraid to say you've infringed on the copyright. Hars Barta does that excellently for their Patreon, says Santa Kara. Yeah, no, so I don't even know, like, all the creators. I would have to, like, go out and, like, really, like, look, but I think it's, like, really awesome. I love that. Maybe I will do a video on it at some stage. I really like to talk about it. Yellow Belly Top says, Corvus Belly with the Dargama campaign, for example. Yeah, I mean, look, there's different degrees of this. Some of those creators are like going like ground level building stuff. So if you're interested in any level of like world building, you can get involved in the Patreon and really help design it. And models come out based on what people are talking about, based on the continents, based on the world that is being made, which is really cool. Like companies like Games Workshop have practiced this. Corvus Belly did it. Mantic Games, for example, had a summer, I want to say Firefight is the skirmish game of theirs. I always get confused between the two. But they had one for their Firefight, for their skirmish war game. And there was like a summer event where the narrative was shaped based on that. And famously, of course, at a lower level, sort of at a smaller scale in terms of the impact on the world, but not in terms of the amount of people who were taking part in it, we had the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Terror campaign back in like the 2003 that Games Workshop ran, which was this world-spanning campaign where everybody took part in to try and determine the fate of the galaxy, because Abaddon and his 13th Black Crusade was on the march, here to finally break Kyria and invade the Imperium of Man and crush the Emperor of Man. And this was a huge narrative event where, based on games that players played against one another, it would determine what the future lore would be. Can you tell that I have a video that's midway through the script to talk about this? That was really cool, right? But it's not quite to the same level of like a live service that I'm talking about. When I mean like models are coming out based on what people are saying in these Patreon sort of like groups, you know, and that's super exciting. Like that's even beyond the Eye of Terror campaign. It's even beyond that. But I mean, like I love all of that, you know. I absolutely adore that kind of world building. I think it's so cool. Pixie says, oh my god, that Mickey Mouse impression. Screw YouTubers too, exec. I think you found your true calling. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, like this, I moonlight as the voice of Mickey Mouse. Fungazi says, I was talking to a shop owner this morning. He made a good point. They can only really keep selling the things that keep selling. If a mini range doesn't have new stuff, there's nothing to sell. No, it's definitely true. I mean, so Games Workshop is part of their release schedule. It does feel very relentless, but part of that is so that they can keep on flooding out minis to go onto shelves, like for sure. I don't think there's very many mini companies out there, though, that like suffer from not putting out enough product. Like, I think most of them put out a pretty substantial amount of product. In fact, a bigger problem is many companies who just cannot get their product onto the shelves. Like, for example, talking about A Song of Ice and Fire, like, I'm trying to buy some Lannister models at the minute, and I was on the Discord, like, chatting and stuff like that, and it just turns out that some of them are just not being printed right now. Lannister Red Cloaks or whatever, like, just aren't available in Europe, and it's like, oh, right, okay, never mind then. I guess I'm not buying those guys. I guess I'll buy some, like, crossbowmen or something. God, I love cream soda. Matt says, having two small opposing armies versus one super huge army of your favorite faction is going to get people playing against you way more. 100%. 100%. Here's my secret. I'm trying to tempt my dad into getting a game with me. I keep on, like, he's seen Carnivale and he was like asking questions about the factions and stuff. Like, he's not interested in this stuff at all. Like, this is not his place. Like, he is a very working class, like, traditional guy, but I'm like, hey, check it out, because he was really into Command and Conquer. He used to play skirmish games. He used to always play Red Alert 2 as America, paratroop loads of troops in and just sit there and then let the opponent, like, just the AI constantly rush into him. Played a lot of the Battle for Middle Earth as well, and I'm gonna try and tempt him in, I think, with a little bit of Game of Thrones, or maybe even pull out some of my, I've got some Lord of the Rings miniatures in storage. Maybe I'll take those over one day and be like, hey, maybe you want to play a game, right? Because if you've got everything created, it's so, you actually will, you might be surprised at what people are interested, like what people, first of all, who is interested in playing with you, and if you pitch it correctly, and secondly, how many people are interested in things that you wouldn't expect them to be interested in. Like, if you can, I bet, like, most local game stores, I would say, have a Discord these days. It's always worth putting out the punt, being like, is anybody interested, if I bring the minis, is anybody interested in a game of X? Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of the time, they will be, But what I do find often is that with adversarial games, people prefer to watch because they don't want to play like against you, because they don't like the idea of playing against you, for sure. That's why I really love co-op games. But I spoke about this in my 29 miniature wargaming tips video. Fungazi says, oh crap, a friend of mine was in that narrative event. Not thrilled with how it turned out in the end. Yeah. It was a wild ride. It was a wild ride. I'm gonna do a video on it. I'm really looking forward to talking about it on the channel. Louis says, you know, $5 of Perry, Bill, and Bo will give you 200 figures for about 88 quid. What could you do with that for a fancy human army based on those medieval figures? Exactly. Like, you can build all sorts of stuff. You could build like Oathmark armies and stuff out of that. Like, no problem at all. Matt says, I want to love Firefight, but the minis just don't do much for me. And I have a soft spot for Rallies and Age of Sigmar, so a Space Rat faction should make me jump for joy. It doesn't. I get what you mean, Matt. I get what you mean. Like, there's a lot of Magic Games sculpts that don't do it for me either, to be frank. There are some that do it for me, but there's a lot that don't. Like, I'm not really super enthralled by a lot of the sci-fi models. There's something about the poses I just don't like, or the details or something, or just the design direction. Actually, I couldn't really put my finger on it. I've never sat down and thought about it. However, that said, I love their halfling models. I adore the halfling models from Magic Games. Oh my god, I love them so much. I don't know what it is. There's something about them that just gets me going in all the right ways. It really does. Those halflings, let me tell you, a little small man. That's all Discourse wants. A little small man. Cream lemonade, says Waffles Enjoyer. No, I'm afraid not. Lemonade is just a generic term for any sort of soft drink. This is a cream soda, a very specific drink. Try again, Waffles. Andre says, we will have Evil Frodo. We will indeed have Evil Frodo. For those who don't know, it's the end of Lord of the Rings 2, Quest for the Ring Bearer, which is the new Lord of the Rings movie that's coming out. And it's Witch King Aymar has resurrected Sauron in the body of Frodo, because Frodo had the ring on for so long that a little bit of Sauron's soul was imprinted on him. Frodo has basically been kidnapped, brought from the west, brought here to Middle Earth. You know, the old gang, Legolas, one of the Hobbit dwarves, like whatever one, you can interchangeable. The son of Aragorn, Faramir, and all Sam, Merry, Pippin, and stuff like that. They've all gone out to try and find Frodo. They found him. Sauron is now in his body. Sam looks at him and goes, don't you recognize me, Mr. Frodo? Frodo looks up and says, I see you, and then, like, does a front flip, like Yoda. You know, like Yoda in Star Wars. He does, like, a front flip over Sam and, like, backhands Legolas, and Legolas goes flying, because he's got, like, the 10 rings of the elves or whatever, so he's, like, super agile. And also he can control metals, because he's got all the rings of the dwarfs. He can control metal with his mind now, like Magneto, and he shoots it everywhere. This is sort of stuff. It's this sort of stuff that you guys are missing on Twitch. You're not watching me on Twitch. You're missing out on this new movie, this hot new trilogy that's coming out. It's so good. It's a big fight, big send off at the end. Very emotional. Very emotional. The resurrected Saruman, who is a younger wizard who doesn't know that he's Saruman until he finds the Palantir. Then he's reminded, and he has a crisis where he's like, "Am I a goodie? Am I a baddie?" Oh, it's so good. Ada says, LOL, what the fuck, who wrote this? We did on stream. We wrote it. Burn it with fire, says Maxome. Don't worry. You see, what we've done is we've got Viggo Mortensen, and we have CGI'd his face into a scene where he's King Elisar and sends his son over. Otherwise, we couldn't get him. Like, he just wouldn't show up. No matter how much money we offered him, he just wouldn't do it. So we had to CGI his face. But don't worry about it. The fans will love it. They get a cameo by Aragorn? How good is that? Frodo the Evil Avatar, says Jer. Jesson says Lord of the Rings 2, Lordier and Ringier. It's Quest for the Ring Bearer, it's called. Lord of the Rings 2, Quest for the Ring Bearer. I want evil Sam. No, Sam isn't evil, because he settled down with Rosie at the end of the movie. They own the Green Dragon now. He runs a gardening business, she runs the pub, and they have a kid called Mr. Frodo. Frodo needs to snap with all those rings, says Waffles. He does. Lord of the Rings Endgame, says Dippy Man. Yeah, I think, like, what will happen is at the end of the second one, Frodo will have been taken over by Sauron, and he's, like, totally evil. And maybe one of them will kill him or something. I think that the son of Aragorn will, like, redeem himself. See, the son of Aragorn fulfills he goes with them, so it's like a new fellowship that are off trying to find Frodo, who's been kidnapped by the Witch King. The son of Aragorn will basically sacrifice himself at the very end because he's the one who's been tempted by Angmar, by the Witch King, into betraying the party. Like, he's been betraying the party actively throughout the entire movies, like the trilogy or whatever, because he lives in the shadow of Aragorn, right? He's the son of Aragorn. What songs will they sing for me? None at all, I wager. Exactly, you know? They won't sing any songs for the son of Aragorn. Aragorn is the one who killed the Dark Lord, and so he's grasping, he's looking for any way to make his mark, and so he sells out the party to the Witch King Angmar. But then at the end, he'll sacrifice himself to save Frodo. So, I mean, come on, how good's that? In the big moment, after Frodo has done all the Yoda shit. And then maybe they'll go back in time and, like, change stuff that happened in the original Lord of the Rings, and it'll turn out that the only way that Sauron could have been defeated was if they set off a bomb or something, like in the Tower of Orthanc. I don't know. Something like that. You know, we'll work it out. We won't worry about the scripts for the other movies until, like, we come to it. I'm sure that will work out fine. I'm sure that won't lead to any creative issues at a later stage. Yes, Leech says, can't forget Sheriff Merry and Mayor Pippin. Yes, of course. Merry is, of course, the sheriff, and Pippin is the mayor, and also runs a weed shop, basically. He's a head shop he runs. Because it's Pippin, come on. Genja says, you have just made me glad that Disney don't have the rights to Lord of the Rings. I have just found something about to be really glad about. Well done. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm so glad that my absolutely awful studio treatment of Lord of the Rings has made someone happy about something. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is the sort of nonsense that we get up to on Twitch. So if you're interested in this sort of silliness, yeah, you can check it out. It's twitch.tv/discoursgames. Eric says, I just want a bunch of pissed off hobbits to take over the whole world. Orcs, no problem. Slaughtered by hobbits. Men, no problem. They get all kicked in the nether regions. Not the hobbits, though. Hobbits are too dangerous. Well, I mean, so it's the Witch King, right? The Witch King, like, serves Sauron. It turns out that, like, he didn't get killed or whatever that time. It's, like, completely destroying a very beautiful, very serene moment in the original trilogy where, God, what's her name? Elwyn looks up and says, I am no man, and stabs him, right, in the face, and he dies, right? It's like a very powerful moment. And we're just gonna ruin it by saying, oh, but then he lived, actually. He was actually still alive. It was the Witch King. He still lived. Just because we need a new antagonist, and, like, screw it, you know, we don't care about the original movies. We're ruthless studio execs. We're all about making money right now. Symbiote Mullet, thank you very much for the donation. Says, my son just looked over my shoulder at the stream and declared that your chair has eyes. Enjoy that thought. The chair is watching you. Does it? Where? Oh yeah, like there. Oh my god, yeah, it does. Oh, well, thanks a lot for that horror show. I'm never gonna feel comfortable ever again. Thank you for the super chat, I guess. No, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Steven says, for best success, hire a different director and writing team for the second movie, then bring in the original director to fix the third movie. 100%, that's what we're gonna do. That's exactly what we're gonna do. Long bottom leaf, says Ada. Yes, perfect. I will be honest, I had to order a new mouse mat, and I ordered one that had the Lord of the Rings map. The map of Middle-earth, and I'm really excited about it. Jared says, I need new room for my resin printer so my entire house doesn't stink when I print. More than that, it's really dangerous. You shouldn't be around your printer when it's printing at all. Like, resin fumes are, like, super dangerous. You should be wearing a mask at all times. My dream is to have a little shed where I can 3D print things in. A little shed. I think that'd be really cool. Have a little room just for 3D printing. I'm really excited about that idea. Somebody says, my son is 4, by the way. The logic of children. No, it is. It's very cute. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that anecdote as well, Symbiote. I really appreciate that. Ada says, also get an organic vapor respirator for when you're working on it. Yeah, definitely. 100%. 100%. Ginja says, no, I am everywhere. Tolkien Society for the win, says Ginja. Well, it's kind of interesting, right? So now we've got the new Amazon TV show coming out as well, and I'm just kind of like, I really hope it's good. I just hope it's good, but I'm kind of nervous. Like, I feel like the stories that should have been told in Lord of the Rings have been told, really, to be honest. So I don't know what more stuff we're gonna learn. I figure we're gonna do it. Just go balls deep. Just do it. Just, like, go all in. Let's make it as shameless as possible. Lord of the Rings 2, Electric Boogaloo. Sauron's back, and he's pissed. Oh, there we go. So there are ill omens in the north. We've kind of went off on a tangent. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't know. YouTubers versus Games Workshop should be renamed to creating a sequel no one wanted or asked for. Use these grow tests to keep the fumes contained, says Eric. Yes, you can. I mean, 3D printing. I mean, it's kind of the main problem with 3D printing is printing it in your house. You got all these fumes and stuff like that. It's why I think that the real future of 3D printing is non-centralized, basically distribution, non-centralized manufacturing. So you can 3D printers in all these different local game stores who will be able to 3D print on demand. I think that is the future of 3D printing for this foreseeable future. I think that's how most hobbyists will engage with it. We're going to see more and more local stores offer 3D printing services. I think that's going to be really cool. I think that we need to see more sculptors, more creators create a model that can incorporate local gaming stores, right? That have commercial licenses for the printing of their sculpts. I'd love to see that. Like, some of them are doing it. Like, there are some companies out there who are doing it, but I would like to see more licenses coming out for commercial printing. I think that would be really cool. And I think that is for the foreseeable future of the future, except for whenever it's like in 100, 200 years and we're all like making Star Trek stuff. You know, the way like everything's just 3D printed in Star Trek. We're just all doing that. But by that stage, you know, Games Workshop will have eaten us all or something by that stage, because it made them slightly more profits. And because he's the son of Golem, he'd have to be ruthlessly good looking as a counter to his father being evil. Oh god. Oh, the son of Golem. Oh, wow. Okay, that could be really interesting. I never thought about him. What I want to get is I want to get Wormtongue in there somewhere. Maybe, like, they go back in time and Wormtongue, like, helps them out in some way. Maybe that could happen. That could be kind of cool. I want to get Wormtongue back. That could be really good. Maybe they have to help Wormtongue because they need to keep the time stream, like, on track. And so you get to see all the stuff that happened in Lord of the Rings, but from the perspective of time travelers. How about that? Wouldn't that be really cool? They have, like, a spinny wheel thing and an elf gives them it or something. It's like, we elves have always had this power, but we dared not use it for fear that it would cause untold evil effects. But to stop Sauron this time, I guess we're just gonna go for it. Here you go. Maybe that could be like that could be it. I think that'd be great. Are we not all up for this? I think we're up for this. The fans demand it. The Amazon series struck the wrong chord with me, to be honest, says MLP. I watched like a little bit of the trailer. I thought it looked okay, and I just left it there. I was like, you know what, I'll just watch it. I'll just judge it when it comes out. I don't really watch trailers anymore, to be honest. I watch trailers of things that I'm not sure if I'll watch, but otherwise, if I think I'm gonna watch something, I just don't watch a trailer of it. I've been spoiled too many times by like trailers. Anyone else remember the Batman v Superman trailer that was just like, hey, would you like to know what the plot synopsis of Batman v Superman is? And you were like, no, and they're like, well, here it is. It's like, oh, right. It's like a 4-minute long trailer. It's like showing you Doomsday. You're like, wait, hold on, Doomsday's in this thing? And they're like, yeah, boy. And you're like, oh, I wish I didn't know that. That would have been a really cool twist. My bet is that it's going to be about the same level of quality as the Hobbit movies at best, says Trencher. That is a dark analysis of the future of this. I really hope not. Lord of the Rings 2, Back to the Future. Yeah, maybe call it like the 2 time zones or something. The 2 time streams. The 2 times. Maybe, I don't know, like, it's something like that, right? The new Sauron, it's a Grey Mage. No, like, so, Saruman the Grey is reborn as a young guy, but he doesn't know he's Saruman the Grey. He kind of forgets that he's Saruman the Grey, and then he's a goodie, he's helping them try and find Frodo, and then he remembers that he's Saruman. He's like, oh my god, I betrayed Middle-earth. Could this happen again? I can never be around the ring. Stuff like that. That's how it's gonna go down. Hey there, Miscast! How's it going, dude? I hope you're having a good Sunday. That could be great. Because I am actually. I think it's a pretty good Sunday. It's been a pretty boring Sunday, having to write scripts and look up whether or not A Song of Ice and Fire miniatures are available to purchase. That has been a pretty sad time. Louis says if it's too woke, I'm changing sides. I don't know what that means, to be honest. Matt says, don't cross the time streams. And now we have a Ringbusters spin-off. Yeah. What's Ringbusters? What's Ringbusters? Okay, I'm just getting like... I'm not getting what you said it was, because this is not able... I can't show this stuff on stream, I'll say that much. I don't know what Ringbusters are. The new Sauron is Grey Mage. Ever checked out the Dark Souls table game, says YBFC. So I did actually. So I saw that the whatchamacallit, the Dark Souls miniatures game has recently come out, I saw, and it's from Steamforge Games. They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to like have a look at the minis and stuff like that, because I've spoken with those guys because I was part of the God Tier community, the tournament stuff there that they put on, and I said to them, sure, like send them on down, but I couldn't really guarantee any content around it because I'm not sure, like it's very like board gamey sort of side of things. I'm not 100%. I'm not too sure about that. The design of them is very Dark Souls, and I'm not sure if I like that. Like, I'm not sure if I really like the Dark Souls design. There's elements, like the gothic horror I like. I like the gothic horror of Dark Souls, but there were some things like the bow and arrows were like really big, and I was like, wow, okay, did not expect that. Although I did see the player characters, and they looked very cool. They were very like bedraggled. Yellow Belly says, it's a play on Ghostbusters. I guess I'm just too dumb to get it. Eric says, if this movie is going to be made in the 80s, the title will be something like Lord of the Rings, Ring This Mother Bleeper. Ring this Mother Bleeper. Dorky Dad says, Ghostbusters plus Lord of the Rings. Oh, okay. I got something else, guys. When I looked up Ringbusters, let me tell you, I got something else entirely. I got something else. And it was not an anti-hemorrhoid cream. Emil says, Dark Souls miniature game. That sounds exciting. Yeah, so it is Steamforge who did it. Oh, Waffles, Rip Guild Ball. It's so funny. Every single time that Steamforge are mentioned, I always hear, like, Rip Guild Ball. Like, that sent a ripple through that community. Let me tell you, there's always, like, at least one person who's like, Rip Guild Ball. Oh, dear God, we need a Guild Ball. Lord of the Rings, The Ring Awakens. I like that one. Yeah, I do like that. Rise of the Hobbit, or Rise of the... Oh God, what's King Elisar's surname? Does Aragorn have a surname? Did they do that at all? Rise of the Ring Walker or something. I don't know. Rise of the Ring Walker. Yeah. Oh, that's what they'll say. They'll be like, Frodo has become the Ring Walker. It'll be like Rise of the Ring Walker. Big Arrow goes burr, says Powerhouse of the Cell. I mean, that's basically 101 of that is 101 of YouTubing. It's all about big red arrows. For some reason, it works, right? I mean, I know why it works. People go on. So it's the same thing with the. You know, I pull all those silly faces on the front of the thumbnails, where I'm like, you know that. Like, I mean, the reason why I do that is because people click it more when I do that than if I don't. And I test this. I test this all the time. I'm always testing the data. And the reason for that is people get depressed about this. They're like, oh my God, people click that? How cringy. And that's not the reason. So the reason I suspect why people click these sort of like YouTube faces is because you have to do big expressions. It's not enough to do this. Like, no one's gonna click that. It's gotta be like a shocked face or like a big emotion. I'm letting you in on a secret here. I'm like peeking behind the curtain here. It's gotta be a big emotion. And the reason why I think that is because humans are empathetic creatures. Like, we empathize with one another. We're social creatures. Like, none of us are truly in a vacuum. Except for you. I see you there. You're alone. But apart from that person, like, we are a social animal. We are a tribal animal. Like, we respond to the emotions of others. And you gotta remember, the vast majority of people who are watching content on YouTube are on their phones. And they're looking at these little tiny images, and that's what they're making the determinations on. And all the YouTube thumbnail's meant to do is to try and get that person's attention and say, hey, maybe this is of interest. And so I try to match, like, the emotion that I'm showing with the emotion that I have in the video. You know, except for this time. This time it was, like, total clickbait. I was like, in the thumbnail. Although I guess in fairness, I was very mad earlier. So I mean, I've just kind of calmed down now. We're like on R2, 3, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Now we're all chill. We're relaxing now. We're all relaxing now. But humans are empathetic creatures. Like, we click on bigger emotions because that reads better. Like, whenever you are like whenever I'm talking to the camera, or whenever you're like looking at a picture, you have to like smaller, more subtle emotions are lost. They're lost in translation. They're just totally lost in translation. And I think I'm quite lucky in that I'm quite I guess some would call me expressive. Some would call me expressive. I've been called other things in real life, but I guess, like, I mean, this is just me. Like, this is how I talk in real life, right? I like, this is just who I am. Like, I'm sorry to say. Like, for those out there who are like, I hate her. I hate this girl so much. I'm sorry to say, like, this is me. This is how I am. And Blackjack Legacy can attest to that, because I was talking that guy's ear off at UKGE. But I think that reads better on the camera than if you're just kind of very dour and sort of like, you know, quite a subdued person. That doesn't go through as much. Eric says, Rise of the Hobbit. Is this some late night infomercial for hobbits and the male reproductive issues? I mean, I'd love that to be the case. Maxim says, oh my god, you won't believe this, blah, blah, blah. So this is the thing. Like, you're trying to create a hook, right? With the YouTube videos, you're trying to create a hook that people, like, are interested in. There's no point in me kind of creating a video that's like, what's up? I'm trying to think of, like, something that's really dull and really boring. Let's take a recent example. So I thought about this for the longest time. The most recent video I did, which was entitled "The New Games Workshop Summer Skirmish" or something like that, is horrifying, right? And I came up with that title. Like, I thought long and hard about what title I wanted to be. Originally, the title was going to be the Summer Skirmish event was oh god, I'm trying to remember now. It was the Summer Skirmish event. Was like not a damp squib, but something to that effect. The Summer Skirmish. Oh, that's what it was. It was the Summer Skirmish event. The Warhammer Summer Skirmish event was underwhelming. ... And terrifying. Right? That was originally the title of that video. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, do you know what? Like, why the hell would anyone click on a video that was like, this news is underwhelming? That's not what people want to watch. They want to watch me go, oh, this is kind of underwhelming. Like, obviously, I had done my opinion. Like, I knew what my opinion of it was, but I was trying to think of how to best present that to the viewer. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to drop that bit. Like, it doesn't add anything to the title. And the title is there to try and get people to click it, but while being accurate to what the content is. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to say that. Like, I don't need to say it's underwhelming. I say it in the video. I don't think anyone's going to care about that. I don't think they're going to, like, click in for that. I'd rather just say that it's terrifying. Right? Because I was and I am genuinely terrified by that, and it's just like that's just creating a good hook. Like, that's just I'm sorry to say, that is the reality of YouTube, and every single content creator that you know either does that or isn't successful. I'm afraid it's just like the business. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. There are lots of content creators who don't do stuff like that, right? There are lots of content creators who are like, I went down to the post office on Tuesday, and yeah, there we go. Done. That's it. Like, nothing, no, like, and I had fun, or you won't believe what happened here. Although I won't think I'll ever do a title that's like, you won't believe what happened to me on Thursday, unless I am. But like most content creators on YouTube, they create hooks. They create like what's called a clickable title, something that people will actually be compelled to click on. Unfortunately, it's just too competitive. Like, there's just so many people out there. The only way you can get away with not doing it is, one, if you have been around long enough, because you've acquired a bit of an audience, and that kind of self-fulfills itself, right? Like, if you've got, like, a big enough audience, you can kind of do whatever you want. Right? You can do whatever you want. Like, for example, Major Kill will just put out his, like, X described by an Australian every single time. And people click it because they know who Major Kill is, they want to watch his content. Like, if I ever got big enough to have, like, 100,000 views every single time, you bet I would love to be able to do, just a video that's titled, Sunday the 17th of July. Here's my thoughts. I would love to be able to do titles like that, because I would have to think about them. I'd just be like, here's the title. I could just work all on the content. Unfortunately, reality is, I gotta spend a lot of time on the titles. I gotta spend a lot of time in the thumbnails, because I want the videos to do as well as they can do. Leave my vacuum out of this, says Sinticure. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Ringbuster. Ada says it's like theater acting with a small thumbnail. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, it's just you're trying to be as big as possible. It's why I think it was in Greece, the acting, they would wear the masks that had these big exaggerated, because people were really far away trying to look at the stage. They couldn't see what the actors' expressions were like, so they wore these big massive masks in order to display it. That's all this is. Think about it like that, guys. It's just the tradition of Greek theater, and maybe you'll feel a little bit more, you'll feel a little bit more sophisticated about it. A Primal Battle Shout by Discourse Miniatures, says Scython Nalo. Yeah, I mean, also, guys, I have a little fun with my thumbnails. I'm gonna be honest. I do have a little bit of fun with my thumbnails. I'm not always 100. Shalkar, I'm not always being serious when I'm creating the thumbnails. Sometimes I'm just pulling a silly face because I'm having a bit of fun. I'm just having a bit of fun. My goal with the thumbnails is basically that they describe the content of the video. That's all I want them to do, really. I just want them to be like an attention grabbing and describing the content of the video. So you'll often see like a red arrow pointing to a thing that's like, it's about this. That's it, right? Rage discourse is always the best discourse, says Andre. I don't like to rage, though. You always say that. I don't like to rage. I like to just be really passionate and excited about something. Louis says, we are all relaxed. The ring has been busted. Matt says, why YouTubers come across far more animated in their videos in order to translate emotion better. Flat people seem uninterested and just don't get the views. It's very true. It's very true. Like, and effort, I think, comes across as well. I think lots of people, I think viewers respect effort, like, for sure. I think viewers like understand like when you have edited a video or when you've worked really hard to create like a compelling, interesting script. There's like a ton of work that goes on in the background, from like trying to think of the titles to trying to build up the script and stuff like that. Trying to build up the script. I mean, like, think about it, I guess. Like, to come back to our core topic, think about it. If you're a content creator on YouTube, and you're doing things like thinking really hard about a really interesting title, thinking really hard about an interesting topic that people are going to want to watch. You're like, I'm talking hours. Like, I'm not kidding here. Hours spent on this. You're spending hours on a script, writing a script. I'm basically describing my process. You're editing for days. It takes days to edit my videos. I hope everybody knows that. It takes days. Like 12-hour days to edit my videos. And that's why I can't do it anymore. That's why I had to hire an editor, because I couldn't do it anymore. It was killing me. It takes days to edit them. And then you're building a thumbnail, which takes like the better part of like an afternoon really to make a thumbnail. At least mine. Some people put a lot more work in than I do. I do mine's pretty cheap and cheerful. And you're spending like literally like the better part of like 4 days creating this thing, putting it out there, and it bombs. Do you know how like lame that is? Like to like spend all this time and effort and it bombs. Like, no one owes you views, but like it kind of sucks, you know? So you're gonna make titles that people will click, and you're gonna do things like, say, use Warhammer in lieu of Wargaming, because that way it will get more views. And like I mentioned in my video on YouTubers are killing Wargaming, which also could have been entitled, by the way, Games Workshop are killing Wargaming. I had to make a judgment call as to what way I wanted to name it. They like, the algorithm kind of screws you. If people don't click on your videos when they show up in their recommended feeds, then YouTube stops showing their videos, right? What's known as your impressions, which are the things that go out to people. They are impressions. Basically, when you go onto YouTube and you see like a bunch of different thumbnails, a bunch of different videos, and you could click any one of them, each one of those is called an impression. And if you click on those, then it's registered as a click, as a view, then at that stage, right? And there's a thing called the click-through rate. And that is, when your video is shown to people, what percentage of the time do they click it and watch? And if you've got a low click-through rate, it'll kill a video. It'll kill it. If people aren't clicking your video, it'll kill it stone dead. And it doesn't matter. Like, YouTube doesn't care about how much work you've put into it. It'll kill it. Like, it'll just be like, nope, it's over. Bye-bye. And so you got to take another bite of the apple next video. So, like, I want to spread the, like, I think that I have valuable information to put out there. I think I've got valuable content. So I want many people to watch it. Now that means I have to do a little silly face in the front of my thumbnail to try better describe the emotions that's within the video. I said go for it. I say go for it. Wacky face with caption. I did what? Yeah. Although I'm thinking about a video about the Chaos Codex. And it's a good one too. Not talking about all the bad things that they did, because a lot of the bad things they did are like gameplay related to Chaos, and I don't know enough about Chaos to really quite comprehend what is so bad about a lot of the stuff. So I'm not too sure. So I can't really talk about that, but what I can talk about is the lore update, because I'm actually a big fan of the lore update in Chaos. So I might do a video that's something like, I love the Chaos Space Marine Codex, because I really do. I really like some aspects of it, although it's really hard sometimes to read those codices and not be like, this oh god, this sucks. Like, the layout of this thing sucks. Maybe I'm doing another video talking about codices. I last talked about it like in November or something last year, and not very many people watched it. Maybe I'm due talking about codices again. Hey kids, not Binky the Clown, just me, says Red Green. Pixie says, I'm so jaded now the veil has been lifted. I'm sorry about this, Pixie. I'm sorry to have shattered you. Look, I'm having fun. I hope everybody else is having fun. Jubyman says, GW's Lord of the Rings would have Primaris Gondor troops and Nazgul riding jetpacks. Yeah, I mean, they would kind of like the Nazgul and stuff, because it's not like a thing that can't be copyrighted, right? The Nazgul are like, oh yeah, we can do that. And the big creatures that they fly on and stuff. They'd love all that. What is this evening's topic, Amit? We're talking YouTube, we're talking Warhammer, we're talking hobby, we're talking the miniature wargaming hobby. We're talking Lord of the Rings 2, Electric Boogaloo, actually. We're talking about the Lord of the Rings sequel as well. Louis says, you 270 people watching you right now. That's success right there. Why did I watch? It's your madcap way of communication. I like that. I get a good laugh at times. Well, I'm really happy. I mean, I try to make the videos fun, right? Because some of the topics that I'm covering are kind of lame. Like, it sucks. Like, I don't like that they happen. So I try to infuse a little bit of jokes in here every so often, try and keep it a little bit light. Like, I want people to have fun with my content. I want people to come out, like, having laughed at least once. You know what I mean? Because, God, like, the world needs it. Like, I want to entertain as well as inform. Avocado toast is killing wargaming. Oh, yeah, 100%. It's because all the millennials are spending all their money on Netflix and avocado toast. And they're not buying miniatures, those sons of bitches. They're not buying miniatures. How the hell the designer's gonna get paid if you're not buying miniatures, millennials? Come on, people! God, imagine if the mainstream boomer press discovered miniatures. They'd be like, these millennials are buying too many miniatures and not buying houses. That's why nobody's on the property ladder. You said a trend on that one, or there was echo, says G6. Yeah, there was. Like, there was other content creators that responded to it. It actually spoke to a lot of content creators. That's kind of who I aimed the video at, a lot of it. Was, like, at content creators. Because I wanted to open a dialogue about this idea that we all had to sort of put Warhammer and stuff in our titles. I wanted to just acknowledge it, put it out there. Let consumers know that this was the case. Because I heard content creators talk about this all the time, about how you have to put Warhammer in the title. It's, like, the only way. Like, this is something that content creators actually talk to each other about. Like, we talk about titles and how, like, the strategy in order to get views and stuff like that, and how it works, right? And you see trends, you know, you see things like Midwinter Minis or something, example, is building the Big Titan, right? Because these big project videos do really well. Same with Squidmars building the Manta, right? Like, these videos do well. Or you see the trend of, I built a single army in a single day. These big spectacle videos. They do really well as well. And you're gonna put Warhammer in the video titles. Content creators talk about this stuff to one another. Like, there are communities of content creators, and we talk about this stuff. And I wanted to put it out there and put it public and be like, look, this is a thing that's happening. Like, this is a thing that's happening. Like, content creators are aware of this. Like, we should chat about this. This should be open. Like, we should all be acknowledging that this is the case. Because only by acknowledging it can we actually come up maybe with solutions. Maybe people will be more inclined to check out other content creators who, you know, are covering other war games and things like that. It's the only way. Mr. Freed says, do you collect Warhammer Fantasy Battles or AOS? I collect both. Not actively at the minute. So I have an Empire army for Warhammer Fantasy. And I have a tiny Vampire Counts force and an even tinier Warriors of Chaos force. And I got a bunch of Skaven as well. And then for Age of Sigmar, I have Beastmen. I have a bunch of Beastmen for Age of Sigmar, and I have a bunch of Slaaneshi stuff as well. It's what I have for Age of Sigmar. But I'm not actively playing either game at the minute, although I'm kind of tempted by 9th Age. I've been looking into 9th Age for a video. So I've been kind of tempted by 9th Age. I've been looking into the rules and stuff like that. I hope you all are excited for it, because I'm excited to put out this video. I'm much more excited than the copyright/trademark video, which is a ton of work and effort. Instead, I get to talk about 5 games that I really want to talk about, which is a lot more fun. Let me tell you guys, I'd rather do videos like that. I don't want to talk about copyright. I would much rather be creating content talking about 5 miniature war games where you can use your Warhammer models in them. I'd much rather be making videos like that. Right now I'm making both, and one of them is much easier to write than the other. Louis says, nope, us boomers count the pennies. I count the pennies as well. Especially right now. Things are tight. Sexton says, no, I want avocado. Actually, I've never had avocado. What's my favorite Dreadnought design, says Romamuck. My favorite Dreadnought design is the classic Dreadnought. The old classic one. I've been looking, so this is really funny. I'm gonna break a few hearts. Here. I'm gonna break a few hearts. I've been looking at the new Horus Heresy, like not the new ones, but like, you know, the hard plastic versions of the resin models of the Horus Heresy dreadnoughts. And people kept on saying, like, I love this dreadnought. And I kept on being like, yeah, me too. And that's because the reason why I said this is because I thought we were all joking. Like, I thought this was like a big ironic thing. Like I just thought we were all like having a bit of a laugh. Like, yeah, sure, we all love it. I thought we were all kidding, but now I've turned around and suddenly everyone was being really serious. It feels like 2016 all over again. I'm like, what the hell? Like, everybody was real about this? I thought we were all kidding around. I thought we were all joshing about. It looks like trash. It looks awful. You got a little head poking out. It's like a little kangaroo. He's like a little pouch going, ooh. Hello. I'm here to enforce the will of the Emperor. How's it going? And everyone's like, this thing looks incredible. And I'm like, what? No, it doesn't. It looks so dumb. Oh my god. I'm so sorry to anybody out there that absolutely loves that Dreadnought design, because I know they're out there now, but it does not look amazing. It does not look great. It looks so silly. The contempt there. Yeah, it's just so silly. It's silly. The thing is, right, I would be more happy. I would be happier with it if it was like, if we were in the old school Warhammer days where like everything was meant to be very silly and like over the top and like dumb. But like we're not there anymore. Everything's really serious these days. So now you've got this little guy going like, oh, it looks like there's some heretics around here. I guess we best stop this this chaos insurgency. How's it going? You can imagine him like sitting there, like his eyes going wild, like looking around, like, hey, what's up? Oh, that's just Dave, you know? Oh, he lost his arms and legs. Don't worry about it. No, he's in a big robot. And we put him in a pouch because we thought it would be funny. It's what I imagine they were saying. We based it on a kangaroo. Kim says, I've been saying for years that GW is hurting wargaming. GW fans will tell you just play another wargame, but my only two choices are my local FLGS or 40k and AOS, or I just don't get the wargame. 100% Kim, I totally agree. I want variety in the miniature wargaming hobby. I want there to be a variety of games. And for a lot of people, they don't get that choice. Like, people say this as well, but the Warhammer stores, they're like, oh, well, Warhammer stores shouldn't have to allow you to bring miniatures from other companies. Because obviously they don't want to do that, because they're like a company. Like, it would suck for that. And it's like, yeah, but for lots of people, a Warhammer store is the only store they have where they can play miniature war games. So, whatever, I don't care. Like, they should be able to bring in the minis that they have. Like, like, whatever, they should be more lenient about that stuff, because people are getting games in. That's the most important thing. We want a wide variety of miniature war games. Absolute! A big miniature wargaming convention over in England. I think it's London, actually. And there no Games Workshop stuff there. Games Workshop does not go to this miniature wargaming convention, but it's relatively big. And what was there? A variety of miniature wargames. There was... Excuse me, there was a load of them. Actually, the darling of it was Joe McCullough, the darling designer of the channel. There was a lot of Joe McCullough stuff there. That's what the hobby would look like right now if Games Workshop didn't exist. It would be indie designers, would be the biggest ones, and you'd be getting plenty of those games in, I'm guessing. Although maybe the hobby would be smaller, right? That's the big question. Like, would the hobby be smaller if Warhammer didn't exist? Because we don't have this influx of people in from the video games, I should say, not the mini war games. Kim says, again, that people are so sunk cost fallacy, it holds them hostage. And yeah, I totally agree, which is why I'm creating a video that should be out next week, which is basically the 5 mini war games that you can play with your Warhammer collection, that you can play with your miniature wargame gaming collection. You don't need to buy any new minis. You can just take your Warhammer stuff and you can play them. And it's not miniature agnostic games as well. At least I don't think it is. It's not miniature wargame analysis. It's literally games where you can play with your Space Marines and it will feel like you're playing as a Space Marine, right? Like, it's not like, oh, I have I'm playing like with my Space Marine, but he's meant to be like a medieval knight. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's like games where you can actually build Space Marines inside it. Charles says, the one that got to me, I have good thumbnails and titles, but when you get to the damn video, the creator's so obviously just faking it. Spend their entire video quoting verbatim other creators. I actually don't know videos like that, honestly. I've never watched a video like that, I don't think. I sometimes cheat where I take what you guys say. So like I'll take for example, I did the one on oh geez, what is it? Oh god, the worst advice, I think it was, from Miniature Wargaming. I'm trying to remember now what video it was. But sometimes I'll take videos where like I'll go through your comments. And like I'll take your ideas and I'll be like, okay, what do I think about that? And I'll like talk about it in the video. Cause I find those interesting. Like I actually, because I watch content like that. There was a content creator called Wampa Lewis who did this for so I'm stealing content. There was this content creator called Wampa Lewis who did it called like your Crash Bandicoot opinions. It was like he's a Crash Bandicoot creator of all things, and he basically went through your most controversial Crash Bandicoot opinions, where he went through them, and I stole that idea. I was like, oh my god, this is an incredible video. I love this. I had a lot of fun watching it. I was like, I want to do this, so I did it. I did it myself, and it's that video. Confronting the most controversial Warhammer opinions is what it was called. And I had a lot of fun. with it. And I don't even care. I don't even care. Woohoo! Because honestly, like, some of the hardest stuff in this is actually coming up with ideas that are interesting, like the people would want to watch. Like every single thing I make, I'm like, would anyone want to watch this? Or like, why would anybody click this? Like, why would anyone care? And so it's all about trying to make people care about stuff, because I care about it. So I want other people to care about it too, right? I want people to care about the fact that like Warhammer has, like, this is why I use like it's killing wargaming, because I perceive it as this massive existential threat to wargaming. It's not like tomorrow people are gonna wake up and be like, oh my god, somebody killed wargaming, oh no, and then they're gonna kill me. It's not like it's not like that's happening. But what I perceive it as is that wargaming as a concept is dying. It's dying because why? Because we're all referring to Warhammer. There's no more wargaming, it's just the Warhammer hobby, and that's an existential threat to the hobby. So that's what I was, whenever I said that wargaming, content creators or YouTubers are killing wargaming, that's what I meant. That by us always referring to Warhammer, we're kind of killing the idea, the marketplace of wargaming. I think it's a pretty compelling title, because I wanted people to care. I wanted people to care about this the way I care about it. That's all it is. And that's what advocacy is, right? Like, that's what advocacy is. It's trying to make people, to compel people to care about things that you care about, to you know, and I present arguments in my videos. It's not like I'm just jumping onto it and being like, yeah, so how about that? Like, I feel like I'm adding something to the conversation whenever I do it anyway. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't always succeed in that, I don't think. Sometimes there's videos where I'm like, I don't know about that one actually, but usually it's hindsight. And I'm like, I don't know, it wasn't very good. But I'm always trying to create the best content I possibly can. And I say most content creators are. Most content creators are trying to create the best possible content that they can. Slay Queen Slay, says Slippy Tiger. Well, thank you very much. I shall indeed slay with a great sword. USA Libertarian says Battletech Bolt Action 1-page rules. Only 1-page rules appears on my list. There are 4 other miniature war games on my list that I don't think people are going to get. Because I think most people haven't heard of them. However, I did speak about at least one of them on the stream today. So I did mention one of them, and it's probably the one that you have never heard of. Larpbeat says, but sunk cost is irrelevant once you realize you have to buy new books and models to stay relevant in an ever-changing game. So that's how they get you, because they're aware that sunk cost happens. But how sunk cost affects you is, once you've sunk that cost in, it's much easier to continue on the treadmill because you've bought in the first place. Right? Like, because you've sunk your money into it, you're gonna keep going, because you're like, oh, well, I've already invested all this money. Like, what's another, like, $30? What's another $100? The idea of getting off the treadmill, even if it would, like, see, humans aren't rational, okay? Humans aren't rational. We're not rational creatures. We're driven by all these fallacies. We're driven by emotions. We're driven by all these other things that are not pure. We are not stoics, okay? We're not all sitting around being like, I am but a product of my own mind. I am in control of all my actions. We're not disciplined like that. We're not. And the fact that Pile of Shames exist should teach anybody that. Like, I would love to walk in to some stoic classes and throw down my Pile of Shame and go, explain that one, eggheads! Come on, boffins, explain that one! But discourse dismantles Western civilization before your very eyes. Lost a bunch of viewers there with that one. What was I gonna say? What was I talking about? Yes, sunk cost. It basically, even if it's more rational, even if it means that long term we're not going to spend as much money and we're going to spend less money on less products, but get more bang for our buck long term by like just basically going, I'm not playing Warhammer anymore. I'm dropping my Space Marines. I'm gonna move over to this thing. Even if that were to like long term be smarter, we're not going to do that because it hurts. It's like, no, but like, I've already put all this money in. I'm going to keep buying on this treadmill. And you might end up spending even more money. So you're losing more money than you otherwise would do. But that's just how, like, that's how human psychology works. Like, we are just creatures. We are but worms. Here we are. I present myself to you from space. Welcome. Maybe I should do this as a character in the future. Maybe I should come down as like I am a UFO man. I'm here to tell you how the space be. MLP Death Dealer says, I used to paint World War II miniatures. Awesome. I have a bunch of bolt action there that I need to paint. I have a bunch of bolt action I need to paint. Luckily, I think it's going to be really easy to paint them when I get around to actually painting them. Yes, Queen, slay your enemies as far I sell. Yes, give me like a big old Kodan sword. Patrick Buck says, I think meta chasers are often exploited. Competitive culture in the hobby requires you to constantly buy the next big thing. I've watched friends burn themselves out mentally and financially. Yes. Yes, indeed. I totally agree with you. I think that competitive culture in a lot of ways in this game, in these games, is really unhealthy. And I think it doesn't have to be. Like, I think that most people play competitively to some extent. I think there's more people who play competitively to some extent than narratively. Let's be honest, you know? Depending on what you classify narrative as. Is it when you describe, like, oh, I rolled a 1, I failed, oh, my guy falls over dead. If you're just narrating, I don't think it's quite narrative, but... And more people play competitive because more people want to win than not, right? And people who are like really competitive, who like really want to play, really want to win, and really want to win accolades and be really good at playing, they totally get exploited, and they openly get exploited. Like Games Workshop have acknowledged that they exploit competitive play. Like they acknowledged it in their survey. They know that that's the case. They know that that's the case. So I mean, I'm not disagreeing, basically. And I have seen people get burnt out as well. In fact, I got burnt out on competitive play. And it screws with you in a lot of ways. Oh my god, there's a cat walking along, like, you can't see it. But let me tell you, it's really cool. There's a cat walking around a very thin wire there. Holy it's like she's playing Carnivale or something. She's fine, she's making it. Okay. Anyway, but... It completely distracted me. I looked out my window. I was like, my god, what the hell is that cat doing? Yeah, so, look, end of the day, Games Workshop totally exploit competitive players. They exploit most consumers, to be honest, because they have a direction where they're trying to get consumers to spend a lot more money, but they're really honing in on competitive players. And you can see the entire design of codices are completely designed like this. I used to actually give Games Workshop the benefit of the design, the doubt. I used to think they were just incompetent. When it came to balancing. I thought they just couldn't balance. Like, they weren't very good at it. And I think there's still an element of that, but I think there is definitely a cynical side that's like, we gotta make new models good, otherwise people won't buy them. Like, we need to make them relevant. That's probably how they put it. They probably say, we need to make these models relevant, so err on the side of strong rather than weak. If I wanted to be an evil executive, that's how I would say it. But what that means is, make this overpowered rather than underpowered so people buy it. That's how I would, you know, but you're not going to say that. You can't say that. It's like selling power. No one wants to admit that they're selling power. You say things like, we want it to remain relevant. We want it to be relevant in order to make it a compelling purchase. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah. I think I miss my calling in life to be an evil executive. Maybe I should just be an evil executive. That'd be kind of fun, actually. The thing is, there's loads of money in evil executive behavior. There's loads of money in it. Maybe I should just do that. Yeah, just be like an evil executive in the future. I could be like I could be the body in a story or something. That'd be pretty neat. USA Libertarian says Star Wars Legion, except don't want yet another monolith who can screw us. I really enjoy Star Wars Legion. I think it's a really fun miniature war game. There was lots of there was actually news that came out. Like, I watched the Minstravaganza that AMG did. To be honest, I found that a little bit underwhelming as well, but I didn't do a video on it because no one cares. People who care about that are just going to watch Krabik. Fair enough, Krabik covers that stuff. He's built up an audience, people who just care about Star Wars Legion and Armada. Or Tabletop Oddity as well. I know about him, Tabletop Oddity. And he covered it as well. In fact, I watched his video covering it today. I was really grateful for that because I didn't catch everything. And I'm like underwhelmed by the new releases. Like, they're fine. But I didn't really have anything to say about it other than I think that the Dark Troopers are really weak. I think people are like overestimating how good they are. They're really weak, I think, in my opinion. I don't think they're very good. But anyway, half of Games Workshop's allure is the community, says USA Libertarian. Yeah, exactly. Though, like, it must be said that it does go Warhammer 40k, WizKids, Age of Sigmar, then Star Wars Legion, Marvel Crisis Protocol, or it's Marvel Crisis Protocol, Star Wars Legion. I can't remember which way around it is. I can't remember which way it is, but it's something like that. It's something like that. And yeah, so they're pretty substantially far behind, but it's up there, and it makes sense, right? Because Star Wars is a pretty big IP, and Games Workshop were terrified whenever Star Wars Legion was first announced. Oh wow, my little boom mic fell off. They were terrified because like this is like the IP that can take them down. Games Workshop love their IP. They're like, we're an IP miniatures, yeah. Books, yeah. IP, yeah. That's Games Workshop. Like they're all about the IP. They say it all the fucking time. And what happened? Star Wars came out with a miniature war game. Ugh. And do you remember the last boom the Games Workshop had before the world was shat on by Nurgle? It was the Lord of the Rings bubble. Everyone else remember the Lord of the Rings bubble back in the day, back when Lackey from Sorp got into the hobby. That was a massive bubble, and it was super popular. And I'm guessing the Games Workshop executives thought this could happen again. Thank you so much, Powerhouse of the Sale. Super Chat of $10 says, honestly, I just think y'all are too whiny. Games Workshop makes great designs at fair market prices for balanced games with well thought out rule sets, and y'all need to stop complaining. I'm guessing this is an ironic Super Chat. Honestly, I just think y'all are too whiny. GW makes great designs at fair market prices for balanced games with well thought out rule sets, and y'all just need to stop complaining. It kind of says a lot that on the, like, I read that and I presume that you're being ironic. I presume this is satire. I'm guessing that you are. And if you're not, why don't you super chat me and let me know? If you're not being ironic, super chat me and let me know. Let me see here. Andrew Duran, but thank you very much for the super chat, by the way. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Asmodee has 3 spots in the top 5 mini war games. Asmodee is huge. Asmodee, though, I mean, they got sold, right? I haven't heard anything since they last got sold, except for I think a bunch of money, there's like $1 billion or something like that, got put in behind the game Star Wars Legion. Like a ton of investment came into them, so that's pretty exciting. It's pretty, like, I mean, it's nice to see there's a competitor. It's a pity that it's coming from another massive company, but I guess, like, what else could be done? What else can be done? WizKids. $3 million for a box of kobolds. What a missed opportunity. Goobertown Hobbies had a really interesting video on this. He covered it really well, basically. Like, it knocked out, like, there was no reason for me to ever cover this, because he nailed it. It's just such a missed opportunity completely. Andre, with the $2 super chat says, wait, is he serious? I don't know. I don't know. I'm guessing not, but thank you for the super chat too. I'm guessing it has to be paid sarcasm, says Hurricane. I'm guessing so as well. Eric Davis says, as an evil executive, 20% of your pay will be provided in the form of coupons towards the company products. As an employee, you get a 1% discount on all products. Funnily enough, I do know someone who used to work for Games Workshop. And the reason they got fired was because they were running a website that was called, oh god, what was it called? It's Powerhouse of the Seal with the super chat says, I have no problem super chatting you. I put all these on the company card anyways. Well, I mean, thanks. Prove it though. I don't believe you. Prove it. Prove that you got no problem. I don't believe the company credit card. You couldn't put it on the company credit card. You wouldn't be able to, like, put super chats down as your company expenditure. You couldn't do that, Powerhouse of the Sale, I'm afraid to say. So I don't believe you. Why don't you prove it? Why don't you make, like, a ridiculous donation of some kind that, like, no individual would be able to put down? You wouldn't be able to do it, I bet. I bet you wouldn't be able to do so. Anyway, so the Games Workshop employee got fired from Games Workshop because they had a website that was something like 35% off Warhammer, it was called. It was like www.35offwarhammer, and you clicked into it and it was just Warhammer products at 35% off because he was buying them with his, like, employee discount for like 50% off and then selling them for 35% off online. And that was an incredible reason to get, how they found out was that he was buying more Warhammer than his wage would allow for. Like, that he was spending more on Warhammer in the store than he actually made. It's incredible. And he got fired. Which, I mean, understandable. I gotta be honest. It's pretty understandable. Unreleased script from Lord of the Rings, says Amit. Oh, Sam, I'm glad you're here, Sam. Oh, Mr. Frodo, you're the Lord. I can't finish that sentence. Andre says, do it! You're being called out, Powerhouse. Symbiont says, gladiators ready. 3, 2, 1, super chat! Thank you, guys. Wow, though, that is a blast from the past, Gladiators. Anybody else remember Gladiators? because I do. Actually, I've got a really fun story about gladiators. A lunch lady stole my gladiator toy and completely, completely like lost it basically. Between like she confiscated it and I came back to get it at the end of the day and she lost it. How lame is that? I lost my super chat. I lost my games workshop or my games workshop toy. Games Workshop stole my bones. I lost my gladiator toy. That sucks. But gladiators was awesome. That and Crystal Maze. Oh my god. You know what? If I could make people are like, oh well, you know, what would you do if Games Workshop were to be destroyed? You wouldn't have anything to cover. There would be no you need Games Workshop to exist. Firstly, I cover other miniature war games because we'd be talking about a variety of miniature war games. And secondly, I would just do Crystal Maze. I would just do a YouTube Crystal Maze with like miniature war gamers. Powerhouse of the Sale with the 69 euros donation. Will this prove that I am indeed GM's Workshop? Oh, I mean, to be honest, it's fair, but I think GM's Workshop could go higher, honestly. I'm impressed, thank you, but I still don't think you're doing it on a company credit card, because I don't think that any company credit card would allow you to pay for this, and that is a fair enough donation, but I don't think that would be like, because if you were charging on a company, there's no way you could do donations on a company credit card. There's just no way. Like, what company would this be? Apart from, I guess, GM's Workshop. But you haven't proven it to be just quite yet, Powerhouse. But I mean, I am relatively impressed, I will say. Thank you for the super chat, I guess. Thank you for the super chat. It's like a weird, very antagonistic super chat, but thank you. And I still don't believe you. Overboard says, with the upcoming GW WizKids collaboration, Magic the Gathering decks coming soon, do you see any future collaboration with WizKids? Love you, Discourse. Thank you very much for the donation, Overboard. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Look, so I think we got it. So I know that lots of people out there hate this. They hate this idea of this cross collaboration. Like, for example, you have the Magic the Gathering Warhammer cards coming out like later on this year. There's people out there who hate this. I'm sorry to say, you're gonna have to get used to it. Like, this is the future. It's gonna be all about cross collaboration. The cards from Magic the Gathering that have got Warhammer stuff on them is going to make absolute killer. It's gonna make a ton of money. It's gonna absolutely roast money. And there's gonna be more. This is only the beginning. I think we're gonna see miniatures. We're gonna see cross-collaboration miniatures. I think it might start with, like, maybe we'll see stuff like the Creative Assembly, like Total War Warhammer miniatures. Like, you know, they did a Legendary Lord for Total War Warhammer 2. Creative Assembly, the video game company, made that. And I bet we see a miniature for that. And then I think that might lead the way into future miniatures for like, maybe even Magic the Gathering and stuff. Because it just makes so much money. It just makes so much money. And they would be fools not to. They would be fools not to. The reason why they don't right now, I think, is because they view themselves as a niche hobby that basically is all about being like very boutique. And I think that when the smell of dollars will sort of win them over. Sorry, Slippy Tiger says credit card bounces. I don't think anyone's out there buying super chats on their company credit card. Like, there's no way. Like, I refuse to believe that. I don't think that's the case. Raptastic Paint says, I know some big streamers who write off donos and subs they make as a business expense. It's kind of weird. Huh, do they, Raptastic? I don't know. Like, I mean, I write it off as a business expense. But, like, what company? Like, what company would be able to do that? What company would be able to do that? Games Workshop would donate in GBP, surely. Ooh, very clever. Yeah. Amit says, collaborations are not always good. Remember when they mixed peanut butter and chocolate spray? I'm not saying that they're always good. I'm just saying that it's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. Do I see any future collaboration with Magic the Gathering decks? I mean, I just see it in the future. Like, I'm not saying it's good, because I'm not necessarily, like, on board with this. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, I don't sort of have, I guess I don't have like a principled stand against it. I've been speaking with Turnip Max on it actually, like a couple of months back. He's the creator of Turnip 28, and he like really detests it. And I was like, I don't know, like I don't know if I have a big problem with it. Ginja, thank you very much for the donation. Says, if I win Euro Million, I love where this is going. If I win Euro Millions, every 40k tournament will end in Crystal Maze. Extra crystals for the physicals, obviously. Probably wider doors needed. Oh no. Thank you very much for the donations. I'm telling you, like, I would love to do a Crystal Maze with, like, if I got, like, Brent from Gooberton, I got, like, Dino Hoyle, I got, like, Guy from Midwinter Minis, maybe get Squidmar, we put them in, like, the Aztec room and be like, dun 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 dun. Oh, I'd shave my head for it. I'd, like, go bald, and I'd wear, like, a disco ball jacket, and I'd be like, hello, welcome to the maze. Welcome to the maze. Write it off as product research. They put it down as marketing or client relations, says Raptastic. I don't know, I'm doubtful. Skins 40k says, once you get 40k Barbie dolls, it's going everywhere. Oh, 100%. RAV Dammit says, if they're a sole trader, maybe. I don't know. I don't... 6969. I think that's actually a satire. I think they're joking around. I don't think they misspelled Games Workshop. I think it was James Workshop. I think it was the case. I think it was James Workshop, and they put 69 euros. So I think maybe they did that on purpose as well, as a bit of a meme. So I think they are just being sarcastic. That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing they are actually just joking around. Waffles Enjoyer says, if GW made Chandra Nalaar and GS Balarim. Oh, who's that? Are they Star Wars characters? Which ones are they? Is Jace from the Dark Souls Star Wars? The Dark Souls Star Wars? Charles, thank you very much for the super chat. Says, if worst comes to worst, we can always go back to playing Little Wars. Yes, actually, you've reminded me. Thank you so much, Charles. You have completely reminded me of what I wanted to talk about. Oh, God, I never mentioned this. So, right, okay, I just want to put this out there before, like, the end of the stream, because I meant to say this earlier. Thank you so much for the super chat, Charles. You have, like, saved my life. So... There is a myth out there in this hobby that, like, Warhammer created mini wargaming. You see it all the time. Like, people are saying, like, well, the mini wargaming as it exists right now would not exist without Warhammer. And, like, yeah, to an extent, that's true. But, like, Games Workshop did not invent miniature wargaming. Like, miniature wargaming was around before the term Warhammer. Like, Warhammer is, like, this newfangled thing. It's a product within miniature wargaming. There was Little Wars, as you say. There was Kriegspiel. Austrian... oh no, so it was Prussian generals played one another in war games, right? Little Wars was created by, oh no, my head's gone blank. My head's gone completely blank. But, like, it's Little Wars. I can't remember his name. Oh god, he's... of course, H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells created Little Wars. H.G. Wells created Little Wars. Like, check it out, guys. Like, I mean, it's been around for a really long time. Much longer than... Games Workshop has been around. Like, this is not the hobby as we know it was not created by Games Workshop at all. GS is a planeswalker in Magic the Gathering lore. Okay. I don't really know a lot about Magic the Gathering lore, honestly. I have this. I can show you the extent of my miniature wargame, or sorry, my Magic the Gathering collection. I got some Nobby's nuts on top of it. And I got some Vatican models. This is it. Here is my Magic the Gathering collection. Do you like it? This is it. It's just, I bought a starter set once. And I got my ass handed to me in every single game I played of it. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's important that we remember that miniature wargaming was here before Warhammer, and it would be here after Warhammer too. We don't, like, Warhammer isn't the be-all, end-all. And you gotta remember, like, Chainmail, for example, which was the precursor to Dungeons & Dragons, was a miniature wargame. Dungeons & Dragons, by the way, is also a miniature wargame. You can just choose not to play it with miniatures and, like, engage in the in the theater of the mind, I guess, if you really want to. But, like, the game kind of falls apart whenever you do that. Southern says, yes, men have been playing miniature wars for hundreds of years. They have indeed. And, like, you can look at the board games from the past as well. It's all a bit of an extension of those two, you know. So, Slippy Tiger says, waiting for a Morphe-themed candle in the vein of Goop. Actually, like, I feel like I've had a stroke or something. I have no idea what the hell that means. Yellow Belly Tabletop says, H.G. Wells, yep. Garcia says, there was also Chainmail, which became D&D. Exactly, right? Like, we have been gaming in miniature wargaming for, like, much longer than Warhammer has been around. But for some reason, like, I actually hear people talk all the time about how Warhammer invented it. People say it was the first to market. And it wasn't the first to market. Like, Games Workshop originally used to sell D&D models. Warhammer Fantasy was created to give an excuse for the models that Games Workshop were already selling. That's it. Like, Games Workshop were selling models for other games before they were selling for Warhammer Fantasy. And then Warhammer, Warhammer 40k was invented after that for the sci-fi stuff. We're all getting old and don't remember anything, says Somberland. Yeah, we forget the legacies, right, that came before us. Eric says, Wargaming was around way before Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Yep. Kevin says, I hear Frazier invented Warhammer. Actually, it's the other way around. Warhammer invented Frazier. He originally showed up in a model in a second edition Warhammer. He came in back whenever the satire was still around, but the game was kind of getting solidified. The identity was getting solidified. He was a character. He was one of the Space Marine captains originally. He was a chaplain, because he was a psychologist, and he used to analyze the Space Marines after they were done stomping on the face of protesters. He would analyze them basically, and he would explain to them why they're fine, why they should feel fine. Later on, he was adopted into the hit sitcom Frasier, which then had the prequel Cheers that came out in 2007. So I'm just saying, like, this is just history here. That's all I'm talking about. Just talking about history. We must. There is a legacy here we must all keep to. Heckin' chess is a war game, says Larpbeard. It is. It's just a really bad war game. Imagine chess was you go, I go. Schizo40k says, found James Workshop YouTube. Yeah. We got him, boys. We got him. PlaySmash says, one could say that chess is a miniature war game. Yeah, it's just got really bad models. You're not allowed to paint them. You go around painting other people's models. They don't like that. Dolphy says, I could see GW trying to get in as the third-party producer of 5th edition models for Wizards of the Coast. They used to make third-party miniatures like for RuneQuest, for instance. Yes and no. So Games Workshop really do like pushing their own IP because they understand that it's the way to create way more money in the long term. Like, this is how you do it. You just create like a really compelling IP, and from there everything flows. Thank you so much for the donation, Andre says. So you're saying that your channel is an RPG channel, RPG hype. I mean, look, it's not an RPG channel, but I mean, between you and me, I have thought about starting a TTRPG channel. I don't have time right now. Everything goes into this, but maybe one day, if I was able to hire like 2 editors, maybe, and I had like gone full time, I'd be able to like maybe do a little side channel that was just like RPG stuff, because I actually have a lot of opinions on RPG stuff as well. I have a lot of opinions on RPG stuff too. I just don't talk about it very often on this channel because because this is a mini wargaming channel, so I try to talk about mini wargaming, and obviously Lord of the Rings 2, which is directly related with miniature wargaming. Crane Mail says Phil. Yeah, no, so funnily enough, like that's actually not about Frazier. So funnily enough, so for those who don't know, Crane Mail was listed after Niles Crane, right? Niles Crane. Niles Crane actually happened before Frazier. Frazier was in 2nd edition Warhammer, and he was a riff on Niles Crane. But they invented Frazier to be like their version of Niles Crane because they didn't want to use the same name because they were worried about copyright. So what they did was they invented Frazier, and then later on when the TV show came out, they put them both in, and they give them both distinct personalities. At the time, their personalities were a little bit amorphous. They were both very prissy. So Frazier was a lot more like Niles, and Niles was a little bit more rough around the edges in Crane Mail. It's fascinating. I would love to do some videos on it. Niles was corrupted by the Keeper of Secrets, Daphne. Yeah, no, so that happens in there. So you're thinking of, it wasn't Niles who got corrupted by the Keeper of Secrets. There was actually, that was Niels. And this was a Games Workshop XP, but this was after Niles and Frazier had come out in the TV show. So Niels was actually an XP of Niles Crane, the original from Crane Mail. It's really fascinating. Very convoluted history, as these things tend to be, but it's very fascinating. Yeah, the history, yeah, Kevin says this Frazier history goes deep. It does go deep. It goes very deep. Joshua, my first white dwarf had a diorama on the back cover that was a bunch of dwarves using a brontosaurus to help them build the castle wall. That is incredible. I absolutely love that. And I miss that white dwarf for sure. Andre says, sometimes it's a LARP. Yes, Garzini says, Andre, sometimes it's a LARP channel. Sometimes it is indeed. Once I get my own house again, I'm going to, well, I was in an apartment before, but once I get a house, once I get my property again, I will dress up some more, I think. And then maybe I'll do some stuff for the channel. But for me, I'm going to be dressing up a lot more. Cam says, I miss when Warhammer felt more RPG like now. It seems like a combo aura bubble simulator. So one of the interesting things about Warhammer, and I noticed it the other day when okay, so let me take this. I'll show you this thing. Okay, so This is my boomstick. Sorry, I had to say it at least once. This is the... Can you see it? Let me pull it back a little bit. Here we go. This is the Baratheon starter set, right? For A Song of Ice and Fire. Got this for £55, which was a really good price, which is why I bought it. It was a really good price. Zatu, by the way, they're selling it. They're selling... No, I got this for £70. I got the... I got this. I got the Free Folk starter. This for £55. Which is pretty good. You get like a bunch of giants and stuff. Get a bunch of giants, you get a bunch of raid leaders, total cards, you get everything you need to play, right? These are really good, by the way. I really like these. Like, these are what combat patrols should be. You should get, like, everything you need to play the game. And, like, a bunch of models, enough to play, like, a playable. Thing about these is, right, so the actual standard gameplay of A Song of Ice and Fire is about 50 points. Like, that's your average game. No, sorry, it's 40 points. And in these boxes, you get enough to make about 35 points. So you've basically got an army. You need to buy, like, one more thing, and then you're basically done. You're done. You've made some inefficient choices to get there, but not very much. So you buy like 2 things, you're probably done. You got an army, which is really cool. I really like that. I really like that. But, so, what I was saying was, in that box, you get like hero characters, right? And you can attach them in squads. And they add things. They've got like cards with special rules and stuff like that. But interestingly, none of them just add static things to the stats, like the way Warhammer would do. Like, so, I think Renly is special in that he gives a morale boost to people that he's in with, right? But Stannis doesn't. Stannis doesn't give a morale boost. If you attach the rightful king, Stannis Baratheon, first of his name, into like a unit of wardens, right? He's attached to them. He like has a special rule where he can like apply conditions to your opponent, but he doesn't like give you any stats. He's not a better fighter than like a random warden. You know what I mean? So they do that. They like give people utility. But in Warhammer, everything is defined by how well it can kill. Like, Warhammer is a very basic game design. It's all about who can kill. Like, how efficiently do you kill? So it used to be worse. They've gotten better at this. They've gotten better at adding utility to things. But everything was about how do you kill stuff. That is all that matters. Like, can you kill stuff super efficiently? Yes or no? And then you would pick things based on that. Less so these days. Now they've got like lots of bubbles, like lots of reroll bubbles and stuff like that never used to be the case. But yeah, so it's just very interesting in my opinion. I just find that really fascinating. And to be honest, it was weird. Like it was like GW Brainrot had gotten to me because I was like, hey, but Stannis is in this squad. How come I don't like? You'd think that he would give more morale, and then I was like, oh well, I guess Stannis wouldn't really give more morale. Because he's not like the most inspiring leader, except for those who really know him very well, because he's such a lovely person in real life. Skits for the win, says Rob. They will come back eventually. The skits are really tough. It sucks because I had a really fun idea for a skit for a recent video that I just couldn't do because I just can't. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not dressing up like a Dark Eldar and prancing around the kitchen in front of my mom. I'm just not going to do it, I'm afraid to say. But maybe whenever I get back to my own place, I will do so. Like the skits add a lot of, like they add like at least a day, and they add like a ton of thinking and stuff. They're like hard to do because the skits, I try to make the skits at least a little bit funny. Although I was never like touching the stars here. You know, I wasn't exactly winning any awards, I think, with some of those skits. But sure. There's a problem with Magic the Gathering, says Charles, and Games Workshop. I think 1 or 2 levels above is Hasbro Games. See who came from Hasbro talk about Inside Connection. Oh yeah, like, so this is the thing. If you look at the executives of a Games Workshop, you'll see Hasbro execs, you will see accountants, you'll see lawyers, you will see executives from companies that are completely unrelated to miniature wargaming, because they're not hobbyists. Like, I have heard Kevin Roundtree goes down to like the Warhammer world and like observes games or whatever, presumably so that he can determine which people he's going to kidnap and bring back to his secret lair to experiment on to figure it out what consumers want. But aside from that, like, I don't think that he's played like a huge amount of games. Like, maybe he has, right? But like, their job history has put them from places that are all about optimizing money. They're not here to like optimize fun. That's not their role, right? Like, that's what I like about private companies, because sometimes you can just be like, I want to do this thing because I think it would be fun, and that's like a much cooler thing to me than just being like, let's optimize for profit. Like, whatever. I don't care. I don't care about your profit. The only reason why I care about the profit is that I want you to be making enough money that you can continue to make fun stuff. But aside from that, I don't care. Like, that's not my role. That's not what I'm here for. Very Sound of Mouse says, morning discourse. Morning? Sure, I get good morning, opposite land. I'm guessing you're over in Australia. Rob says, I'm thinking of playing One Piece Rules Co-op against the AI. Is there any other systems like this, but built for it? Yeah, there is. Okay, so firstly, One Piece Rules does have AI rules. It does have solo rules, so it is built for it to an extent. But you've got Fallout Wasteland Warfare that has like a very robust AI thing. The campaign is a little bit janky. Like, you're gonna need to, like, it's really weird how they've done it. So you have to come up with your own missions, which is really odd. You've got to like come up with your own like idea of like what your campaign will be. But there's like loads of mechanics to support that. So there's like traders come like in between missions. There is like there's like inventories and stuff like that. There are loads of items that you can get to like equip your guys with. But you have to decide yourself. There's loads of stuff you need to decide for yourself. Like, when will new people come to your town? There's no one, like, when will new people come to your settlement? You just have to decide when that's the case. There's no like mechanic for that, which is really weird, right? But it's really designed from the ground up to be a solo game. So I would recommend that's a pretty fun game for solo play. There's Rangers of Shadow Deep, a solo game. You play as a ranger. You have like you create a crew of people who come with you into the Shadow Deep, which is like this part of the world that's like completely corrupted. And you're like a ranger. It's like almost like a TTRPG, but with a good combat system, and that's what it's all about. It's a Joe McCullough game. There is Stargrave, of course. Stargrave, Frostgrave, Joe McCullough game. You can basically there is a supplement for both of these, where you play. So there's like a solo supplement book, so you need to buy the supplement book, but then that gives you all the solo gameplay. In that, you're playing as for Frostgrave. It's a fantasy game. You're playing as a wizard, and you have like a bunch of mercenaries. You're going into this dead town, this dead like city called Frostgrave, and it's a frozen city that has loads of magical artifacts. You're killing monsters. You're fighting rival wizards. You're trying to get loot and gear. It's kind of like Mordheim in that way. Stargrave is just like that, but space. It's a sci-fi game. I think 5 leagues from the borderlands and 5 parsecs from home. Sci-fi, 5 parsecs from home. 5 leagues from borderlands is fantasy. It is a specifically from the ground up built to be a solo-based miniature war game. And what you do in that is you completely construct your dudes. You build up a crew. For 5 parsecs from home, you're building up like a spaceship crew, and you like owe money on your spaceship and stuff. So you're doing all these missions. The interesting thing about that game is that the actual scenarios are 100% randomized. So you randomize your scenarios. You randomize who's coming in to attack you. All you need. So what they recommend is that you bring in. You have like 10 models that can represent like a criminal gang, 10 models that can represent like security forces, and 10 models can represent aliens. I use Dark Eldar. I use some whatchamacalls them. Dark Eldar. I use some Genestealer cultists, and I'm going to use some War Games Atlantic models, and yeah, and then you just go into it like that. And then there's like monsters and stuff like that you fight. 5 leagues from the borderlands is the same thing, but it's like fantasy, and it looks really cool. It has like really interesting artwork. Off the top of my head, those are the solo games that I am reminded of. I'm just quickly casting an eye around my room to see if there's any other solo games that I have on me at this very moment. Relic Blade. Relic Blade has solo rules that's coming out for it. Relic Blade is like is a micro skirmish game. That might be worthwhile checking out. I haven't like looked. Relic Blade I'm just engaging with. I'm just checking out now. But those are some solo games you might want to check out. I'm trying to think. There's some other games. I don't think Rain in Hell has it. Oh, I've actually heard that. Oh god, I'm trying to remember. It's the Roadside Picnic game. It's the Roadside. Can you guys remember what it's called? It's the Roadside Picnic miniatures game. You might remember it as Stalker. Miniatures game. Not Infinity. Infinity doesn't have a doesn't have Zuna Alpha. That's it, Zuna Alpha. Zuna Alpha apparently has a supplement that's adding in solo play. That's pretty cool. I expect that in the future, I'm gonna guess the Silver Bayonet's gonna get one as well. That'll be kind of neat. So yeah, like there's a ton of them. Like they're coming out like at a rate. They're coming out at a rate these days. There's a lot of them out there, and those are the ones that I'm kind of excited for. Those are the ones that I have played, and yeah, a lot of them are really good. The Hive City health and safety crack me up, says Phil. I'm really glad you enjoyed this, right? Because I like doing those videos as well. Like I like doing those videos. I have a big fun. I have a big fun while doing those videos. I do those for me more so than anything else. Those are videos that I'm like, not many people are gonna watch this, but that's okay. Sometimes you just gotta do stuff for yourself. Sometimes you just gotta make some fun content that you fancy doing, and I do those. I did that one, and I did the Gene Stealer Cults one as well, that like even less people watched. But I had a lot of fun doing it. You'll notice by the amount of costumes in it that I had a ton of fun with it. Stannis the Manus, says Craptacular. Stannis the Manus, indeed. Put the sunglasses on. He's here to rule. Mike says, I thought Warhammer was defined by how much can we make the fan base bleed and suffer for our amusement. That is partly it, yeah. I really like mini war games, narrative campaigns, says Amit. Fair enough. I don't really watch like a lot of MWG stuff. Like I watch some of their stuff. I usually watch their Star Wars Legion content, honestly, more so than Warhammer. Scython says, good that you came over from your flagship, Mr. Rupert Gilliman. Also, I didn't try the solo player mode yet, but if you want to use your 40k minis, One Piece Rules might be the right game for it. Yep, and there's 4 more, and it's going to be in a video next week at some stage, maybe next week, the week after. So check it out. Subscribe to the channel in order to find it out more. In order to be around when that video comes out. Louis says, Slippy Tiger, Fruit War Pastels, 9 sweets for £22.50. Don't know what that is. Bruva says, do you wish me a good morning or mean that it was a good morning whether I wanted or not, or that you feel good this morning? Is that a morning to be a good on? Yeah. I just take it as like saying just like hello, basically. Just a polite way to say hello. Good evening from Athens, says James. Hello there. I have a cool little Greek glass. Well, it's blue and green, which you can't see. So whenever I do this, it's like you're looking into the stars themselves. Welcome to your doom. But yeah, I got a cool Greek mug. I'm a big fan of Greece. Big fan of it. Zone Alpha, yes, thank you guys. And Reign in Hell does have a solo expansion. Very cool. See, lots of them are doing it these days because they recognize that actually it's a really cool gameplay style. It's a lot of fun, actually. I'd really recommend it. Like, it is actually fun. Put on some music. Put on some thematic music. Get ready. Give yourself a night off and just go for it. Have yourself a game. Get out all your beautiful miniatures. Put them all out there. Put out down some terrain. You know, a lot of them are micro skirmish games, so you don't have to put out a ton of terrain. Just slap it out there and just like sit down and play and just see how it goes. Just give yourself the chance. And I recommend. I used to play a lot of Arkham Horror, the card game, solo, and I had a ton of fun with that as well. And it kind of reminds me of that, where you would just like give yourself a day and just like let yourself get into it. And actually, it's a lot of fun. It's a good evening. Pour yourself a little glass of wine or a big massive bottle of gin and just lean back and have fun. Yeah, it sounds like my Friday night, all right. Yellow Belly says, for solo, don't forget there are a ton of miniatures-based board games out there that allow you to scratch the hobby itch as well. That's very true. I bought into the Batman miniatures game. There was a board game that came out relatively recently, like last year, and I had a lot of fun with that. Although I did the Kickstarter thing where you play like a bunch of games and then put the 6 boxes that you bought in storage, and you're like, I'll play that again, I'm sure, at some stage. maybe one day. Work calls, gotta go. Goodbye, Dippy, goodbye. Rob Williams says, thanks, I take from this that 5 nouns from noun and grave and noun grave are things for me to investigate. Yeah, 5 parsecs from home. Sorry, was I too fast? You've got 5 parsecs from home, 5 leagues from the Borderlands, Fallout Wasteland Warfare, Frostgrave, Stargrave, Reign in Hell, now I'm forgetting what I said. Zona Alpha. I'm trying to remember what else. That's most of them, right? That's most of them. Relic Blade. If GW offered you to go to Warhammer World, would you go, says White Boy? God, you got me sweating. It depends. Do they want me to sign an NDA? Because if so, then probably not. The thing is, I've never been to Warhammer World. I would actually really like to go. I had a really fun video idea, which would be entitled, I just got banned from Warhammer World. That would be the video title. And it would be me asking for Kevin Roundtree. Because I'd just be like, I'd like to speak to Kevin Roundtree, please. Are you Kevin Roundtree? Because he doesn't have any pictures online. So I'm always fascinated by whether or not Kevin Roundtree is there. I just show up in a suit with like a microphone and be like, where's Kevin Roundtree? Is it true that he has raised the price of Space Marine 300% since 2002? Sorry, it's 900%. That would be a really fun video, but I don't think they would invite me there to do that because I would get banned. I would 100% get banned. The skits are what got me watching you. Well, thank you very much, Blackbeard. I'm sorry that I haven't done any skits lately. I hope to do some more. Whenever I get moved in, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it then. But I wouldn't sign an NDA with Games Workshop because there's a couple of things. Firstly, Games Workshop's NDA, I'd have to look over it. To be honest, I kind of be curious to see Games Workshop's NDA because I want to see what NDA they sent me. Because the last NDA they sent was was atrocious. But most people who get sent the NDA like have an intention to sign, so I don't think they would send it to me just for me to like shit on online. Basically. Almost missed this, says Alan. Oh, doe. Hope you're having a good one. Thank you very much, Alan. I am having a good one. I'm having a good one. Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad you joined me as well. I'm glad you joined me. Matthew Kelly says, but everyone has GW brought out a new Space Marine game you've got to spend $1,000 dues on. Yeah, that can be really tough. Tabletop and some wine. Yeah, tabletop and some wine sound pretty good. Rob Williamson says, I freaking love Lovecraft. Arkham Horror sounds like a great idea. I love the card game. I really do. I love the card game. It was from Fantasy Flight. I think they nailed it. 5 Men in Normandy for the World War II fans. Ooh, okay, very nice. There was one as well that came out that was very much like the old Kill Team, like not Kill Team before the last Kill Team. It's like Kill Team like 2007 Kill Team. If anyone else remembers that, the one that appeared in the 4th edition rulebook, that I really enjoyed. That was the Kill Team that whenever people say Kill Team, I still think of that. I still think of that old version of Kill Team. Dolpheus, if GW offered Discourse an NDA-free trip to Warhammer World, I would assume it's an assassination attempt. Yeah, I presume that, like, I'd walk in, it'd be like a trapdoor, and I'd fall into some boiling acid or something. Discourse with a cameraman asking for the GW CEO. That would be exactly it, Scython. I'd have, like, a cameraman there, and I'd be like, where is Kevin Roundtree? Where is Kevin Roundtree? All gas, no brakes. Andre says, I think you are already in the GW no invite list. I am pretty sure I am. I have been informed that Games Workshop know who I am and they do not like me. Sturat says, Kevin Roundtree isn't a real person. He was an identity created to get an extra paycheck but kept getting promoted because he never screwed up. I love that. He's a legal fiction. He's a legal fiction. Who is my favorite Greek god/goddess? Come on, it's no competition. It's Dionysus. Dionysus. Come on, people. Give me a hard question. It's gotta be Dionysus, right? It's gotta be Dionysus. That or Artemis. I've always been a big fan of Artemis. She's pretty cool. She's pretty cool. Dionysus, by the way, is the god of wine and prophecy and parties, and of course the big O word. He's the baller. Yellow Belly Tabletop says Arkham Horror LCG is an amazing game. Just biased. It totally is. It's so good. It's so good, Yellow Belly. I totally agree. It's an excellent game. Oroy says. Beautiful woman playing Warhammer. It'd be kind of stupid to not let her in. Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm guessing that I'm the beautiful woman. I'm going to take that compliment. I don't care if it was somebody else. I'm going to take it. Joshua says, sad panda that Arkham Horror LCG doesn't exist on Tabletop Simulator. Living card game. FSG doing us dirty. I don't want to jinx anything here, Joshua, but I'm going to tell you right now, it does exist. And I know where it is. And I have it, and you can't take it down once it's already out there. I don't think so. I'm just saying, it's there. It exists. It exists. Although if they have been trying to take it down, that really sucks because it's only because of that Tabletop Simulator that I started playing the game and I bought the entire collection. It's only because of that. So they're kind of doing themselves dirty a little bit there. GW would make you sign an NDA to see the NDA. Yeah, they would, right? Satisfaction. Should it be Ares, the god of war? No, I mean, no, like, Ares is okay. Ares is okay, but he was never, like, he was never, like, one of my big boys that I'm, like, a big fan of. Leather or latex? Latex. Sleepy Tiger says, I'm an Athena simp. Oh, very nice. Athena's good. Athena's very wise, you know, I'm a big fan of that. Got the oil thing going on. Infinite Hobby says, 5 Men is free on Wargame Vault. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. And that is a historical game, is it? Oh, is there any other historical game? Actually, I was just thinking. No, Lions Rampart doesn't have it, I don't think. Sidakira, I would highly recommend Hades by Supergiant Games. Masterpiece. Most of their games are. It covers the Pantheon. Ooh, okay. Very cool. Thank you very much for that recommendation. Hades by Supergiant Games. I will check that out. Oh, it's a video game. Oh, no. You got me excited there. I thought it was like a mini war game. I am aware that there are a few mini war games that cover like mythology and stuff like that, but none of them have really quite grabbed me. No, not really. The closest one is not a god one. It's actually a historical one. It's the Gangs of Rome, and the reason why I kind of like it is because it feels like Necromunda, but set in the Roman era, which just sounds really ridiculous. Dionysus, because in vino veritas, and very true indeed, Lloyd. Very true indeed. What will you do after you lose your interest in gaming, says Louis. I will never, I tell you, I have so much fun with games. I will never, ever, ever I will never lose my love of gaming. I absolutely adore games so much. It's the thing that I have been most passionate about throughout my entire life. It's the thing I'm still passionate about all these years later. I cannot ever imagine a world without gaming. I love it. I love it so much. I love this hobby. I absolutely adore this hobby. It's why I care for it so much. I want to stroke its little hair and say, don't worry, I'm not going to let Games Workshop get you. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I love mini wargaming, dude. I love gaming. Like, I do. So I do love all sorts of games. Like, I will admit that. Like, I don't just mini wargame. I have been doing so more so these days, but historically I've really enjoyed video games. I've enjoyed board games. I've enjoyed the Arkham Horror, the card game. And that was like my first real brush with card games. Like, because I never really got into Magic when I was younger at all, because I was just like, nah, I'm gonna get screwed if I play Magic. So I just never did. I'm trying to afford a Warhammer habit, which is like, like as a kid, you know, you're like, y'all got any more Warhammer? Yeah, it's really tough. So I never had time for Magic the Gathering. I mean, to be truthful, I couldn't afford Warhammer when I was younger. Yeah. So I'm just saying, I couldn't afford Warhammer when I was younger. It was very expensive. And I'm from a very, very working class background. I grew up in one of the poorest regions in all of Europe. So yeah, like I have a very hard time. Well, I had, like, you know, like when I was a kid, one Warhammer was enough, basically. Son of a bitch. I can't believe that kid who stole my goddamn Seraphim. God damn him. I had to play with 4 Seraphim for the rest of my life. God damn it. I must away. Night discourse and all, says Rob. Good night, Rob. Good night. Farewell, my discourse air. Slippy Tiger says, I bought the Gangs of Rome starter box. Never played it though. Yeah, I'm a big sucker for buying starter boxes and never actually really playing with them. That happens to me all the time. It's a real problem, honestly, truth be told. Truth be told. Travis says, the other LCGs are quite good. Roy, oh boy, says, you really belong on New Game Who Dis. You'd be amazing. What's that? New Game Who Dis. That's actually a really good name for a series. So I'm kind of annoyed, guys. I'm really annoyed at Uncle Adam. I'm gonna be honest. Can I like vent a little bit here about Uncle Adam? Can I do that? Can I do a little bit of a Games Workshop bit? Can I do like, not a Games Workshop? Why? God, I think of the word bitch and I think Games Workshop. Can I do a YouTuber beef? Can I make a YouTuber beef right here, right now? Can we do that? Can we do this, guys? Can we do a YouTuber beef? Let's see. Let's do this. Let me drink my soda. Let me drink my soda while I get ready to explain my YouTuber beef. We're gonna start some drama here tonight, guys. We're gonna start some drama. Let's do it. Everybody loves drama. Okay. Andre says, do it. Let's do it. Okay. Let's start some beef. So, Uncle Adam has really annoyed me. He's created some beef. He's created some beef with me. Because for the longest time, I was trying to come up with an idea for a series of videos where I could like talk about miniature war games that I enjoy, that I want to talk about, based on the kind of a riff on the WTFAs by Total Biscuit from back in the day. And I was like, how the hell do I present this content? How do I make it happen? Like, how do I make this content? And I just thought it was impossible. I was like, I just don't know how to present it in a way where I can just like talk about a miniature war game. And this son of a bitch Uncle Adam rides in and is like, just call it Why I Like It. Job's a good one. 29k views. Boom. What a... that's it? That's how you do it? Son of a... God damn it. God damn it. And now I'm like, fuck. I wish I had done that first. Ah! That's my beef. That's my beef, guys. I'm really annoyed. I'm so annoyed. I'm like, God damn, I wish. Oh, and he's talking about all the games I'd like to talk about. He's talking about all the games I like to talk about. It's not real beef. You might have noticed. It's not actual beef. It's just kind of, it's fun beef. It's fun beef. It's a little bit of drama, a little bit of fun drama. It's not real beef. I've liked all his videos on it. It's been really good, and I'm really annoyed because I'm like, damn, I want to do that. I wish I could just do videos that were like Why I Like It and get views. I really wish I could. Oh dear. Just beef, says Fire Silent Mouse. Yeah, I miss TV since Insecure. Me too. I really do as well. He was great. He was great. I loved his work. Perilous says, the Might of the Toy Empire has joined this live stream for the greater good. Hello, Perilous Fighter. Hello, the Might of the Toy Empire. I love your work. I'm a big fan. USA Libertarian. Why I Like It too. Yeah, but I feel like I'd have to, like, I don't know. Like, I would be too nervous to do a video called Why I Like It. I feel like Uncle Adam has been around for so long that he's like acquired this audience so he can do stuff like that. Like back in 2012, you didn't need to, it wasn't so competitive. Like you could do a video entitled like, what's a plastic model? And people would like click it and be like, it would be sweet. You didn't have to think about it that much. You could just be like, why a window is good. Like what's a window or whatever, you know, and people like would click it en masse because they're like, I fucking love content. There's no fucking content about miniature wargaming. And so they click it, right? It didn't matter what you did. And I'm not saying that like Uncle Adam like phones in his content or anything, but what I'm saying is that like he started like a long time ago, and he has created loads of videos, and he has built up this big audience who like are willing to listen to him talk about stuff, right? Because that's how it works. You build up an audience, and he's done that. And so he can like create videos that are like, why I like this, and people are interested in hearing what he has to say because they know him, because they're interested in his opinions. So he can do that, and I can't, like, because I won't, like, I just won't get very many views if I do a video like that. It's just the way, it's just different. So it's just like, damn, I wish I was around like 9 years ago, or even 4 years ago. It was a lot less saturated for sure. You gotta get up real early in the morning and get ahead of Uncle, says Cynthia Carrera. Yeah, 100%. Why I like it too, yeah. Snooze you lose. It's not beef, it's beyond meat, says Waffles. It is indeed. It is indeed. I think it's really good though. Like, Uncle Adam is one of the content creators who has for the longest time been covering other games. Which has been like a super valuable part of the hobby. He's like one of the few content creators out there who is not associated with the Games Workshop brand. Like he covers, like he's been covering skirmish indie war games since forever, which is great. That's exactly what we need in the hobby. That's exactly what we need in the hobby. It's what I'm trying to add to as well. I'd like to collaborate with him actually. Like just thinking aloud. Like I'd like to collaborate actually with him. I don't know what on though. This is not Warhammer, but on One Piece rules. Well, I did that on Andre. I actually did that video. I did that video. It's this is a better Warhammer. It's because yeah. Very Silent Mouse. Discourse likes. How about Discourse says check it out? How about that? Discourse says check it out. Because I mean I would like to spotlight games and stuff like that I enjoy. I would like to do that more often. I like to encourage good behavior as opposed to just simply critiquing bad behavior. Like I would like to actually talk about good behavior in the hobby and games that I quite like. Like for example, I'm looking to spotlight Carnival at some stage because I think that they do a really good starter set that's really affordable and comes with everything you need, including terrain. It comes with everything you need, including like all the terrain and stuff. And I think that's awesome. I think that's really good. It's really awesome. You can compare it against the Games Workshop stuff that comes with like a little bit of terrain and like 2 gangs. The starter set comes with like the rule book inside, comes with 2 complete gangs. So you've got 2 complete gangs. That's it, you're done. You have terrain and like boards, because Carnivale uses canals. So you've got like boards that you put down on the ground, and you've got buildings to put on, and you're sorted. And it's £75, and you get everything you need. You're done. There's nothing more to collect. Like, you can buy more stuff if you want, but that's it, you're done. I really want to spotlight that. So I'm thinking about reviewing Carnivale this month or next month. Specifically, contrasting against Necromunda, because for me, basically, at this stage of my life, if someone says, do you want to play a game of Necromunda, my response will be, why? And then if they say, because it's a skirmish game, I'm gonna go, let's play Carnivale instead. Can we play a good game, please? I'd like to play a good game. And so I will recommend that we play Carnivale. Because I love the setting of Necromunda, but let me tell you, the more games I've played, the more and more I've been unimpressed with Necromunda. What a game that... Oh God, maybe I have to do a review of Necromunda. Maybe it needs a review. It needs a review, I think, Necromunda. I think somebody needs to go through Necromunda and point out all the bad stuff about that game. Especially someone who loves it. Like, I love that game so much, in theory. But I just can't get it to work. I've arbitrated campaigns. I have played in campaigns. And that game, Necromunda, I'm afraid to say, it's not good. It's not a good game, guys. Like, it's not. And I think that if anybody who, like, only plays Necromunda is like, I love Necromunda, I implore you, play a different skirmish game, and you will quickly realize that Necromunda is a very convoluted mess that requires a ton of work on the part of hobbyists to actually make functional. Yeah, there we go. Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games is great too. Yes, Klavik, he is. I really like Ash, and I love that he puts out videos covering all sorts of mini war games. I think that's incredible. I actually watch. He's the guy. So people are like really into like mini wargaming, MWG, right? People really like that stuff. My favorite battle report content creator is Guerrilla Miniature Games. My favorite style of battle report is where you've just got the camera and you're just looking at the board and you're just playing. I love that because it makes me feel like I'm there at the table playing watching the game be played. That's what I want when I'm watching a battle report. I don't want to feel like I'm on some narrative journey or that like the story is being told to me about what happened. I want to just see what happens, as if I was standing there at the local game store. Because I really love watching games happen. I love games. I just want to see games played. And I just want, like, something that puts me as close to the action as possible. That's all I want. So I love Guerrilla Miniature Games stuff. I'm really big fan. Colin Welklin says, agree, Ash from Guerrilla covers vast variety, but he does a lot of GW stuff. He does. He covers, like, everything, right? He covers, like, everything. And you see, like, even the GW stuff does the best on his channel. It just is. Joshua says, just built my first Beastmaster crew for Carnivale. Beastmasters. Oh, the doctors. Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah, good luck with those. I'm building, like, a Vatican force at the minute. I'm really looking forward to, like, getting them on the table. I played, like, some 3-player games over the weekend. Not this weekend. Last weekend, I played a bunch of 3-player games, and man, I had an absolute blast. What I would recommend is that you look up online. There is a army builder. There's like a gang builder. It's like Carnivale the game, and you can look that up and look up their stats there on the unit cards because, because by the way, all the stats and stuff are free. You don't need to buy any codices because like they're in the 21st century and or haven't monetized the idea of rules, or at least to the extent of like they're selling a codex for every gang. But you look up Carnivale the game, jump on the gang builder and use those stats, because what I found was there is a lot of older stats being these days, and the game used to be a lot less lethal. The game's more lethal now, and it plays better as a result with these new stats. Units are easier to kill now. They're not like it's not like you're gonna die in a single shot, but they are easier to kill. So it's got a nice balance. I think I will talk about this in the video. God damn it! I'm gonna review it at some stage. I'm gonna review it. Is Carnivale campaign based like Necromunda? It looks more like Kill Team, kind of build a squad and just fight battles, says Deke. Yeah, so I mean that is the big difference. So it is more like Kill Team where you pick units, so there's not as much customization. There's just not as much customization for sure. So the reason why I compare it to Necromunda is not because of the campaign stuff. There are other games that do that campaign stuff better, like Open Combat, for example. It's not the campaign stuff that makes Carnivale like Necromunda. It's the core gameplay experience. So with Necromunda, right? So Necromunda has this myth of that you're gonna be like running around gantries, firing at each other from like with vertical heights. You're falling off the side. People are running up and kicking you over the side of them. You're like falling to your death. People are like, falling into vats of acid, and people are like hook lining like up there to like get to you, to like melee you and stuff. It's this kind of like idea of what a Necromunda game is. Everything's wacky and crazy and like roleplay heavy. But in reality, most Necromunda games devolve into you run to cover, you shoot at one another, someone dies, then the bottle happens, you run away. Or like you run over to get into melee, you charge me, you can't quite make it, you land into melee with me, and then you don't get the attack because you used up all your actions, now I attack you, right? Or you get shot, you roll really badly, you die. That's kind of Necromunda in a lot of ways. And you've got to like do a lot of interpretation, a lot of dancing around the rules. Oh, well, this means that, this means that. There's other problems as well. Like, for example, the level up in Necromunda is one big example I was thinking about the other day, where with every single level up, you get like you roll on a table for a trait. And like every single, like agility has like a certain list of traits. Ballistic skill, like shooting has a certain list of traits. It's been like a year or so since I played Necromunda, by the way. There's a bunch of traits. And you roll on this table. And so on the table, there are 3 meh options you just don't care about. There is one really bad option that actively like just you do not want this option, and there is one incredible option that's overpowered as hell. You need this option if you need to roll this option. Every single tree is like that. It sucks. So as a player, you've got to be like, well, what if we roll the really shitty option? Do we just ignore that, or what happens? And then like, why are you playing the game? Like, you're trying to fix this goddamn game. Excuse me, guys. Cream soda, you know what I mean? It goes straight to the belly, I guess, the lungs. Does it? Where's a burp come from? I don't know. It's gas, isn't it? Stargrave is a wonderful Warhammer, says Param. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's basically in the core gameplay. That's Necromunda, right? That's the idea of Necromunda. But in Carnivale, what happens is, if I play a game of Carnivale, all that stuff I just talked about happens. You jump from rooftop to rooftop. Here's like a typical game. Here's stuff that happened in the last game I played in. A priest climbed the roof of a building and charged a giant fish monster and got eaten. Then a guy charged my priest on top of this roof, a different priest on top of the rooftop. Oh no, sorry. It was even funnier. So I was playing a 3-way game. I'm the Vatican. I'm playing against the Guild, who are like the mob, the mafia. This is set in like 1795 Venice. I'm the Vatican, the Catholic Church. I'm playing against the mob, the Guild, and the Rashar, who are like Dagon. They're like Call Cthulhu, right? They're Cthulhu monsters. They're from the waters. The board is like a bunch of buildings and some canals, like river canals, because it's Venice. So there's like gondolas and stuff like that you can row. Which you can row, by the way, and it's really valuable to do so. And the game is all about ascending buildings. Like, it's basically Assassin's Creed, the miniatures war game. You're, like, climbing buildings and jumping down on top of people and stuff like that. There's, like, the ability to grapple people, and it's really important. For example, the Rashar, who are, like, these fish monsters, they are really slow on land, but they're really fast in the water. And they can fight you in the water. They have aquatic weapons. Like, their claws can be used in the water. I can't use my sword in the water. Or, God forbid, I'm in a suit of armor, and I automatically start taking damage because I'm drowning when I'm in the water. And so what they do is they want to grapple you and like throw you in the water and take what's known as the drown action. And they want to just start drowning you in the water. And you're like, no, let me out. Let me out. So you've got to like fight one another like in the water and stuff. I climbed a building. My opponent, the Rashar, teleported a guildsman who was their opponent. It was a 3-way game into the middle of my guys. The guild guy climbed up in the building to attack the priest. I tried to grapple the guild guy to throw him off the building. I was like, I'm gonna chuck you off the building. Because if you fall, you take loads of damage. I failed the grapple check. I fumbled it, which means it was a crit fail, which means he got to grapple me instead. So I charged him, ran at him, tried to grapple him. He grappled me and threw me off the building. And I went flying and landed on the pavement and died. Oh man, it's so good. It's so good. And the thing is, right, so if you jump off a building and land on somebody and stab them and hit them, you get like -4 penetration. You're like, it's really good. It's like really good. So you're incentivized to do that. And there's all these like little subtle rules in the game that makes you want to like run around. So for one, there's no charge action. If you end your movement in base contact with somebody, you can hit them for free. It's just like you get a free hit. It's called an attack of opportunity. So you don't have to like run charge, or you don't have to run, like you don't have to run and melee somebody. You can like run, now you're in base contact with somebody, you can attack them for free. That's how it works, right? So you're really incentivized to be mobile. Secondly, you can jump, right? Jumping is a thing, and you have to roll to see how far you jump, which means that oftentimes you're trying to jump gaps of buildings, and you're like, oh dear sweet Jesus, I really hope I fucking make this, because otherwise you might fall. You might fall and really hurt yourself or die. But you're gonna do it because you can get around and do these massive jump attacks whenever you do it. It's a lot of fun. And the when you jump as well, if you jump and you land on something, you get a free jump. You can like chain your jumps. So if you like jump onto like an object, then you can jump up onto a building. Do you know what I mean? Like you can chain your jumps. So it's all about mobility. It's all about running around. It's all about throwing people off of rooftops. It's all about trying to drown people in the river. It's all about trying to grab people in plate armor and push them into the water because they can't swim and they're like, oh, I can't swim. I can't swim. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's that chaos. It's that sense that you are playing with the environment, and the environment really matters, is what really put me in mind of what Necromunda wishes it was. And that's probably what I'll call the game. This is probably what I'll call the video. This game is what Necromunda wishes it was, because Necromunda ostensibly is about those things. It's about using the environment. It's about blowing people up. It's about kicking people off gantries. It's about trying to drown people in vats of acid, you know, and goo. Like that's what Necromunda kind of wishes it was, but it really doesn't do that. Like the rules don't support that design. The rules don't support that type of gameplay. The gameplay ends up into being just like who can shoot who. That's it. And that kind of sucks, because I feel like the setting of Necromunda demands a more dynamic game than that. And was Ash Wastes the expansion to make? I don't know. Like I do want to run over people with my car, but unfortunately, the rules are in a $300 box set, so as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist. I want Necrovale. Necrovale? I don't know Necrovale. Camo says, Arvandas' lore videos are great. They are, and Arvandas explicitly covers games that are not Games Workshop. So if you ever fancy hearing a bit of lore for a wide variety of games, check out Arvandas. Yeah, definitely. Check out Arvandas. Arvandus. He does lore on a bunch of different games. Efren says, pretty biblical to get eaten by a giant fish. It is pretty biblical. Yeah, this is, look, I want to show you this model. Check out this model. He's almost painted. I just need to do the base. This is my choir boy, or my altar boy. He has a little incense. He's a censer bearer. He's a little altar boy. That's it. He's just a little altar boy, and he like follows around the church, the priests, and his stats are rubbish. He's great. I love him. I love my little altar boy. Plus, you get to do dodgy Italian accents because it's set in Venice. It's a lot of fun. You can, so the altar boy, he like gives a bonus to everybody around him. So you want to keep him safe. You want to keep him safe. But I should say there's like magic and stuff in this ending. It's like a sort of alt history kind of setting where the church killed the second coming of Christ. Yeah, so it's heavily implied that basically a guy comes to Europe in like in the 1790s and can do magic. And he comes to the church and he's like, hello, I can do magic. And then the church kidnap him. And the Pope learns magic from him, and then as soon as they learn magic from him, they kill him, and the moment they kill him, the sky opens up, and demons come down. The sky opens up, and all of Europe and all of the world are, like, rocked by, like, flash floods and, like, all these biblical events, and it's like, whoops. The Rome itself, so the Vatican gets destroyed, they have to relocate the Vatican to France. So, yeah, it's a really interesting setting. It was written by Gav Thorpe. For those who like Mordheim, it's the same guy who wrote Mordheim, and a lot more other stuff too. Gav Thorpe wrote it. So it's a really interesting setting. I really enjoy it. It's very different. Scython says, did you already try the 1-page rules Age of Fantasy Regiments rules on the table with your Imperium force? Are you mainly just focused on reading into the 9th Age? I'm reading into the 9th Age at the minute, Scython, because I'm doing this for a video. I've been looking into the 9th Age. Yeah, so I haven't, it hasn't been 1-page. I haven't really played much of the 1-page rules Age of Fantasy Regiments at all, honestly, because all of my models that use that sort of like Count of War basin and stuff like that are all in storage at the minute. Woo! Love me some cream soda, let me tell you. Let's see. Efren says, you want to keep the choir boy safe. Safe. Sussy priest discourse. Oh, do not worry. There were plenty of jokes made at the table. Klavik says, does the small Carnival rulebook come with an army list stuff, or do you have to get the big one for that? It's not like that. So how it works, so if you just type in Carnivale. Okay, let me actually do this. Let me do this. Oh, let's do this on stream. Ooh! Oh, let's do this. Okay. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Let's go to Carnivale, the game. So we're gonna go here. Woo, look at this. This is it. Here's the factions, and say we're looking into, I don't know, let's pick the Vatican. This is it. This is all the, you click them. Here's the rules. That's it. You get it for free. There's nothing, there's like character abilities here. You probably can't see it because I'm like, woo! You can see the character abilities here. And, yeah, you got their stats there. Boom. There you go. You can see, there's little altar boys. You can see how many points they are there. No, flipping to the back of a codex to find out what the points are. Because you're worried about alienating the 3 people who still use power. Yeah, so here you go. I bought some of these guys, by the way, because they're crazy. They got flaming swords. Look at this penetrate. -5. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, they've got flaming great swords. Yeah, so that's it. Like that, there's no, you don't have to buy anything. You can get the game resources. God, I should be like the spokesperson for fucking this game. Here you go. You've got the quick reference, rulebook. Rulebook's here. Bada bing, bada boom. That's it. Like, you don't need to buy anything. Though the starter box is so good because it comes with everything you need. The starter box comes with the buildings, and it comes with the terrain, and it comes with a physical rulebook, which is always nice. Although the physical rulebook in the starter box is a little bit out of date, you'll probably want to use the Blood on the Water expansion, which has updated the rules, make everything a little bit better. And yeah, that's great. There's also, if the £75, I think it's £75. If that starter box is too expensive, they do a smaller starter box for like 35 or 45 pounds. That comes with less models and less terrain, but it's smaller. It's a smaller buy-in. So if you just want to try the game, you can play that. That's cool. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, I think that there are better ways to get people into miniature war games than selling massive box sets every couple of months. I don't know about you, but I think that that's the case. See, other companies have to try really hard. They have to try really hard to get people to play their games. That's the thing, which is awesome. I'm not sponsored, by the way, by TT Combat at all. I've just been playing it. Discourse shilling for the Carnivale Industrial Complex. There it is. I'm sorry, guys. Eamon Gameplay says, greetings, a friend recommended your channel to me. I don't know if you're allowed to say, but what is your opinion of proxy makers? Highlands Miniatures, Lord of the Print, the evil one. Proxies are a long storied tradition in this hobby of proxying miniatures out for others. I think it's fine. Same with like what, a Games Workshop gonna stop me if I decide that this is a Space Marine and I'm gonna play with all my paint pots? Like, no, of course not. Like, I think it's fine. I think it's cool. It's more variety for miniature hobbyists. Go for it. Nemo No Name says, talk Infinity to us. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about Infinity. I have Infinity Code 1, I want to say. I started painting some of the models. I started painting them like, I actually started painting Arianda or something like that, they're called. They're like the most traditional soldier guys. I started painting them like GDI from Command & Conquer. I started giving them like the yellow kind of gold sort of scheme. And because my opponent was going to paint his in Nod, and then we just kind of got caught up in some other games. It just happened. We played like a couple of games, kind of okay. So here's the thing, right? I'm kind of worried about this for Frostgrave. I don't like the D20 as a die. I'm not like a big fan of D20 myself, so I'm sort of like a bit like, ooh. But yeah, like I'm more than likely at some stage going to play a bunch of Infinity because it's kind of like inevitable. It's like the heat death of the universe. It's a coming. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I've got like so much stuff going on. See, I can be enthusiastic about stuff. I like it. Everyone keeps saying I'm a furry. I am not a furry. Ariadna, I like them not because of the werewolves. I like them because they're the most like a normal soldiers. I actually don't like the aesthetic of a lot of the Infinity models. I'm not like really into that like anime sort of look. I'm not really into that. I went for the ones that were like the most like, I'm just a fella with a beret. I like that. That's the vibe I'm into. Down with GDI, we fight for gain. Yeah, peace through power. That's what I've always said. Nemo says, I know what you mean about the D20, but Infinity has a very interesting system. It does. And everyone who plays it extensively has like a very good things to say about it. Like they have very good things to say about it. So definitely, I totally get what you mean. Yellowbell says, it's your game. A lack of freedom to play how we want is a major infringement by any company. Want me to buy your stuff? Make it appealing to buy. Don't bully me into it. Totally agreed, Yellowbelly. I totally agreed. It's all about, so entice me, you know what I mean? Seduce me. Make me want it. Make me want it. Don't like tell me I have to have it, because then it's too needy. I'm like, no, I'm afraid not, actually. You gotta do it slow. You gotta do it slow. Infinity is pretty cool, says Kevin. I like the LF high-tech, says Andre. I mean, like, horses for courses. Like, I don't think the models look really good. Like, the models are very good. It's kind of like that objective versus subjective thing that I was mentioning earlier with miniatures design, right? Like, objectively speaking, I think Infinity models are really pretty. Like, they're very beautiful. They're very finely sculpted. But in terms of subjectively, I just don't really like the vibe of them. Like, it's just not for me. Lloyd says, I have a cold can. You do Nurgle ritual to heal me real quick. No problem at all, Lloyd. Good luck. Nemo says, I also like the 2d10 of the Silver Bullet way more than D20. Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. I agree with the Silver Bayonet. It moved to 2d10. I much prefer that. I'm gonna say this much. This is me committing some heresy here. You're gonna burn me in front of the Lord of Light R'hllor. You're gonna burn me, but I like the D6. I'm sorry. I know that it's not very granular. I know that it leads to swingy stuff, but I like the D6. The D6 is convenient. The D6, this might be because I like grew up in the D6. It's like whenever you grew up like in a cargo cult or something. Like, okay, I get it, right? I get it. The D6 has problems, but I like the D6. And the reason why I like the D6 is because everybody's got a D6, and I've got a ton of D6. And I can just always crack out more D6. I like a D6. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Although I do like D10s as well. I will admit that much. Silver Bayonet, that's the name. Yes, Nemo, yeah, it is. Funnily enough, Silver Bayonet is also the name of a chip-based war game set in Vietnam. Set in Vietnam, of all things. Which is really weird. It's like, I feel like the Silver Bayonet game from Joe McCullough probably earned the name Silver Bayonet. It felt more thematically appropriate or so, I think. Heretic, says Andre. I'm sorry. Oh my god, I just watched a massive number of people leave the moment I said that. We lost 20 people. There we go. See, you never know with this thing. You never know with this whole content creation luck. You never know what will do it. It's like I've been running around saying latex Dionysus all night. Everyone's like, yeah, sure, sounds good. And then I say, I like a D6. They're like, get the fuck out. Get out of here, you deviant. I'm sorry, Discourse, but we can't be friends anymore with that D6 attitude. I'm sorry, I like the D6. This is like a sectarian conflict. There's gonna be wars over this stuff. Battletech 2d6 for everything, says Travis. 3d6. Okay, here is a spicy opinion. 3d6 is the perfect bell curve. Everything should be 3d6. We should settle our lives on 3d6. We should like determine everything via 3d6. That's what we should be doing. Everything should be 3d6. D6 is OG. I agree. D6 is indeed OG. 20 left. You rolled a crit. Wow, guys, look at the time. It's like almost 10 p.m. Y'all caught me out. I usually try to stream like for a couple of nights. This is because I don't want to look into more copyright stuff. I don't want to do more research. I'm like, can I have tonight off, please? But I have to record my video tomorrow. Otherwise, it won't be out for, what, Sunday today? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the next video. Every 4 days. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to work on that. No, I'm not gonna work on that tonight. Maybe I will. I don't know. It's really late. It's getting 10 p.m. GURPS is 3d6, says Mark. Indeed it is. It is indeed. And that might be why I love it so much. Because GURPS has perfect statistical chance in things. It's got a brilliant curve. You're consistent. If you're good at something, you're likely to succeed at it most of the time. And then every so often, like a freak chance you'll feel. Or a freak chance you'll do really well. I like that. Good morning, Paul. No Twitch today, says Andre. No, I'm afraid not. Though I did install... So, here's something, guys. Tell me if you're interested in this. I installed Age of Reckoning, the Warhammer MMORPG, Let me know if you guys would be interested in watching me play some of Return of Reckoning now that it is back. Scython, thank you so much for the donation. No, human, we have to research Earth. It's our Tiberium. All your Earth are belong to us. Translated from Scrin. Notification, Motherships inbound. Oh god, dude, I love that. I love the Command & Conquer 3 storyline. I thought it was really good, where Kain tricks the Scrin into invading Earth by tricking GDI into using the ion cannon on the Temple of Nod in Sarajevo. I think that was like really clever. Like he blows up all the Tiberium. There's so much Tiberium, it makes the Scrin think that humans have been finally extinguished by the coming of Tiberium, and they arrive to collect it and then realize there's humans there. So good. Kain, what a magnificent bastard. But thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm glad you were along. I missed the start, says Silent Mouse. Oh, you just missed all the ranting probably then at that stage. Yellow says, randomization system does not matter as long as you understand the mathematics of your system well during game design. Yeah, I agree with you. There's like a compelling argument out there that cards are just better than dice. There's like a really compelling argument out there for that, but I'm not really for it because I do think the dice are just inherently funner to roll, which is like a really big problem. I think dice are just inherently funner to roll. One of the things I like about the A Song of Ice and Fire miniature war game is that you get to get the fun of dice because you're like, you roll dice to determine whether or not you succeed or fail in a task. You know, when you attack somebody, you're rolling like 7 dice, you know, and 4 ups, you hurt someone. It's like the Warhammer system. But you also get tactics cards, which influence the battlefield, and you draw those randomly. And yeah, so you've got like a deck of cards as well. I'm always a big fan of a deck of cards coming in. Do you know what it is? It's stratagems, but good, is what tactics cards are. Imagine stratagems. Imagine there was only like 10 of them, or 7 of them, and then 3 added by your commander, and double of each. So there's kind of consistent. You've got a deck of 20 cards, and you know, like, and they're like half of one card, or half, you know what I mean? Like, it's like 2 of each copy of each card, and you drew them, and you could activate them, and like the point cost of models weren't built into the idea that you could always do that stratagem at any time based on a resource that you slowly gained, not only at the beginning of the game, but also during army creation as well. Oh god, I got a lot of sorry guys. Discourse got negative Nelly again, I guess. I'm sorry, I can't help it. I can't help it, because I see other games do all this stuff way better, and it really annoys me, because there's better ways to do these mechanics that they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to achieve certain objectives, and there's better ways to achieve those objectives, if you get me. If they would just take some inspiration from other games, and they weren't so beholden to their wacky way of doing things, really. Like, I'm seeing the Demons Codex, there's a leak out saying that they, at the beginning of every round, they have to roll 8d6, and then they acquire points based on how many successes they get on, like, this roll. That's, like, how many points they get, and then they refresh every single turn. It's just like, dude, why the hell is this the mechanic? Like, this is such an onerous mechanic. It's so lame. It's not thematic at all. It sucks. It's just a lot of dice rolling at the beginning of every round. It's not fun at all. Thanks for the stream discourse. Well, thank you very much for coming, Scython. I do it for you guys, because if you didn't show up, I would just be like, oh, nobody wants to watch. I guess I won't do a stream. So thanks a lot for showing everybody. I had a lot of fun. I had a blast. And I hope that guy who claims to be from Games Workshop, I hope he shows up every other Sunday. I do a stream, so not next week, but the week after. Though I will probably be streaming throughout the week. I will be streaming on twitch.tv/discoursgames, and also I will be like doing more videos and stuff like that. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And yeah, I'll catch you guys, I guess. Yeah, no, sorry, I was gonna say that I hope that James Workshop guy. Well, I mean, he's gonna have to prove it next time as well. So in 2 weeks, you best show up. Got him. Thanks everybody. Thanks so much. Even James Workshop. Yeah, Vinny, my Twitch does have over 500 followers now. It feels really cool. It's really cool. I'm thinking Twitch like super easy. It's gonna be really casual. If you like this content, I think you'll like the Twitch stuff, to be perfectly frank, because this is what we do, except I'm playing a video game while I rant. So I will catch you all next time. I'll see you later on in the week. And I hope you have a good week, guys. Sundays are awkward because Mondays are beckoning, and I hate Mondays. It's kind of why I do my streams on a Sunday, because I hate Mondays. So it's like a nice thing to look forward to at the end of the week. Thanks everybody, and I will catch y'all. Bye bye. I gotta click something here. I don't get to do my. Bye-bye!